What's up, Wizards? It is Dev from the place, ready to speed run through all of high school. We're going to finish in a year and a half. It's going to be all right. International Baccalaureate? What does that mean? I don't remember. It's been a long time. But anyway, we're going to speed run through Strixhaven tonight, and here's some ground rules. Everything from 0 to 10 when we rate cards is on, is capable here. I don't know what word I was looking for. We're rating cards from 0 to 10, and you mostly know the rules here. 5 is actually like a decently playable card. We're rating for basically every format here. If a card's good in Limited, I'll say that. Card's good in Standard, I'll say it. Card's good in Commander, I'll say it. But we're giving a kind of, baseline rating to all the cards tonight. I do think Strixhaven will have a higher than average score. This seems like a pretty solid set, and we're going in color order this time around. We've been doing like alphabetical order to kind of keep it fresh, and, we get a rare every now and again or whatever. But I think color order is probably better for people trying to skip through the video and know this card I like is in this color or whatever. So we'll give this a shot. We keep trying different things when it comes to the speed run, but we'll land on something we like. Eventually, we've only done like 40 of these. Let's go ahead and get into it. If you're ready to start the timer, I too am ready to start the timer. Ajani's response is 5 mana, 4 and a white for an instant that destroys a creature but costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped guy. Seen a lot of stuff like this. I'm just going to give this like a baseline 4. I think it's a decent removal spell, but stuff like Ride's End and other spells that exile eclipse this right now. Antiquity's on the Loose is 3 mana, 1 double white for a sorcery that gives you 2/2/2 guys. And if you cast it from anywhere other than your hand, you put a +1/+1 counter on all the spirits you control. It gives you 2 spirit guys. You can flash this back for 6 mana, and I think it's kind of okay in like the mono white tokens deck with Caretaker's Talent and stuff, but I still don't know if it's quite there, considering you're playing Caretaker's Talent, Enduring Innocence, and a couple of other 3-drops that may eclipse this again. I'll use that word. Should have used it for lore when eclipsed, right? Didn't use it a single time. It's dumb. But I tend to like stuff like this, a little board in a box, decent after a sweeper, decent in the late game, I guess, so I can't hate it, but I'm still not going to give it more than like a solid right out of 5. I think this is very close to something, but at the end of the day, it seems bulkish to me, but I'll reward it a 5. I think that cards like this have done stuff in the past. I don't hate it. Ascendant Dust Speaker I'm going to give so many better cards like a 4.8, but still, Ascendant Dust Speaker that's part of the joke. That is part of the joke. This is a 5 mana, 4 and a white, 3/4 orc cleric with flying. When it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on another creature you control at the beginning of combat on your turn. Exile up to 1 target card from any graveyard. So this is supposed to work with all the lower hold stuff that wants cards removed from your graveyard. That's not too bad. I do like the +1/+1 counter on another guy, but this is obviously just a limited playable card. So I'm going to give this like a 2.9. I do like that you can hose other graveyards with it, but it ain't that big of a deal. Daydream is kind of cool. This is a single white mana for a sorcery. Exile target creature you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it, and flash back for 2 and a white. So just a blink spell you can cast twice is pretty good. I don't absolutely love the sorcery speed, but still a blink spell you can cast twice. Excellent. So good for Limited and all these decks that want you to target creatures. Good with ETB triggers, obviously, and there's a fair number of them in Limited too. But I could see this. There's already like a blue-white blink deck in Standard that plays Splash Portal and a couple of other things, and having something you can dump into your graveyard with like a Steam Core Scholar or something else with a decent ETB trigger that allows you to discard cards. They're pretty popular to play in those decks. And then still having access to it later in the game, not a bad play. So don't hate this. I'm actually going to give this a solid 5 as well, right? I hate to be a coward, but I don't think this is any better than a 5, but I really don't think it's any worse either. I think a blink spell you can cast twice is pretty good. And yeah, as people in chat are pointing out, Daydream plus Prepared to reset prepared creatures and stuff. Not a bad call for Limited either. I think it's great in Limited, actually. I really do. Really, it kind of Prismari wants you to cast instants and sorceries. Bang. This lets you do it twice. Lorehold wants cards to leave your graveyard. Bang. This does that. Swivel Quill wants you to target creatures. Bing bong. This does that. So a lot of play on this card in Limited, and no matter what guild you choose almost. But next is Dig Site Inventory. This is a white mana for a sorcery that puts a counter on a creature you control and it gains vigilance till end of turn. You can flash this back for a white. Another good card for all those decks that want you to target creatures in Limited, right? But just a solid card. I thought this card existed. I thought this card was called Honor in Standard. That card is 1 white mana for a counter on a creature, draw a card. I, for some reason, thought that card flashed back. It doesn't. That would be insane. This does, but doesn't draw the card. Do you see? Flashback on a +1/+1 counters actually okay, you know, depending on your Michelangelo deck in Standard might like something like this, especially if you do want to do some spell slingy stuff, but that all kind of seems like it's not going to happen. So I don't think this card is great outside of Limited, but I will still give this like right at a 4.2. I think that this is borderline playable depending on what deck you're in. But next is Eager Glyph Mage, 4 mana for a 3/3 cat cleric. When it enters, you get a 1/1 flyer. You know, it's very limited. We'll give it a 2.4. Elite Interceptor is a white mana for a 1/2 human wizard that enters prepared to cast Rejoinder. This is 1 and a white for a sorcery. You can tap or untap a creature, draw a card. This just came out today, as did a lot of commons and uncommons from today. We got like 100 of them this morning. We'll do a video on the best of those, but we'll see a few of them every now and again. This is kind of fine, again, and limited. It's a 1 mana guy that can draw you a card and like disrupt tempo and stuff, only at sorcery speed, but still. It's not bad. Again, target stuff. You want that. Commits a crime sometimes. I think that some of these things that are meant for the Silver Quill Guild that target creatures specifically are pretty good with crime. From the Cowboy set. And I just want to point that out, but I don't think that this is destined for too much Standard play, to be honest, but 1 drop that draws a card could be worse. I will give this a 4.1. Emeritus of Truce. Here's an Emeritus, everybody. 3 mana, 1 double white for a 3/3 cat cleric. When it enters, target player creates a 1/1 flyer. Then if an opponent controls more creatures than you, this creature becomes prepared to cast Swords to Plowshares. You know what that does. So I've seen a lot of people misreading this, thinking that you have to give the token to your opponent. You don't. You can give the token to yourself. It's totally fine. I mean, totally acceptable to do that. At which point you're basically choosing, usually, between 3 mana for 4 power on 2 bodies. Some of it flies. That's not a bad deal. Or the ability to cast Swords to Plowshares later. And in cases where it's a little bit later in the game and your aggro or tokens opponent or whatever has, 5 creatures on the board and you only have 1 and you cast this, you can give yourself the token and still cast Swords to Plowshares, which is pretty dope. So I don't know, man. I think it's okay, but I still don't think that it's, Swords to Plowshares or anything. So I'm going to give this a tentative 5.2 because anything that casts Swords to Plowshares, you have to respect a little bit. And, it's a couple of dudes on your side of the board when you need that. I'll take it. But we'll look at Innis, Debate Moderator next. 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 1/1 legendary human cleric. When Innis enters, exile up to 1 other target creature you control. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Next end step. The beginning of your end step, if 1 or more cards were put into exile this turn, Innis gets a +1/+1 counter. So again, I've said this really maybe in Katramos, cares about stuff going into exile, but maybe not. Either way, this does work with Warp and flashback. When you flash something back, it goes into exile, and a bunch of other effects and stuff. So it's kind of cute. If you have, oh my goodness, the black hole from Edge of Eternities, the whatever it's called. It costs 4 mana and in black. Whenever a creature whenever a creature you control dies, you can exile a creature an opponent controls. It works with that. You're exiling your opponent's creatures, and this is getting larger, all that stuff. So cool thing, but obviously it's meant to blink your own dudes, reset, prepared again, and limited and stuff. But a solid guy. All things considered, I like him. Give him a 4.35. Sophera the Super Void. Thank you, chat. That's why I have a chat. Appreciate you. Next is Erode. This card's good. A single white mana for an instant. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card. Put it on the battlefield, tap, shuffle up. So Path to Exile that doesn't exile, but also hits planeswalkers. So not strictly worse or strictly better than a Path to Exile, but still a pretty phenomenal removal spell at instant speed. In Standard, you might even hit an opponent that just doesn't have basic lands, but presuming they have something they can get, yeah, you're going to give him ramp. It's not great, but it's a single mana at instant speed. It's insanity. I think there's some spots where this is better than Get Lost, especially considering it costs 50% of what Get Lost costs. The difference between 1 and 2 mana is massive. It really is. People need to understand. The difference between 1 and 2 mana is crazy. The difference between 2 and 3 mana is a giant gulch that is impossible to cross. But for 1 mana, I got to give this like a 7. I think this is just a solid best removal spell we've seen in a while. Yeah, shame it's rare. Agreed. Shame it's rare. I 100% agree with that. Path to Exile is an uncommon. Swords Plowshare is uncommon. This is a rare. Silly stuff. But next is Graduation Day. I like this card. A single white mana for an enchantment with Repartee. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that targets a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. I just like this. like cheap removal spells, Tragic Trajectory, +1/+1 counter on a guy, Shoot the Sheriff, +1/+1 counter on a guy. Maybe every now and again I cast a pump spell or something, something like that. And I put a +1/+1 counter on a guy. It does seem like this could get pretty good pretty quick. I just hate that it doesn't work with auras or enchantments. It itself is an enchantment, so it would go super well in those decks. But as it is, I still think there's probably some commander stuff this could go into. I'll give this a healthy 5.1. I think there's stuff for it to do out there in the world at some point. Group Project over here. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a sorcery that gives you a 2/2 spirit guide. You can flash this back by tapping 3 untapped creatures. So this is a free spell. And free spells you have to respect a little bit, but I don't have to respect it that much. I'll give it a 3.9. But I don't necessarily put this past seeing some play in something really, really narrow, but I imagine it's a deck that has to fill its graveyard really fast, but also have a bunch of dudes. So that sounds like Insidious Roots or something, but it's not on color and it's not high impact enough for that deck. So I don't, when you flash it back, it doesn't count as a creature leaving your graveyard, which is what Roots wants. So even in the deck that it looks like it might go in, ideally it doesn't go. So I'm not too sure. It obviously goes in lore hold piles, I guess, because you're getting a bunch of tokens and stuff theoretically in that deck. And you want to put cards in your yard with like discard and mill and whatnot. It's like maybe, but I still don't think it's high impact enough for like the most optimal version of what lore hold is trying to do. So even then, 3.9, I'm not a huge fan. Next is Harsh Annotation. Decent-ish removal spell, kind of reminiscent of Stroke of Midnight, but only hits creatures. 2 mana for an instant. Destroy a creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 flyer. So, shame that gives it a flyer. Do like the art on this. Big fan of the dolphin. But in any case, this is kind of hard to judge because it's just removal spell, And even then, I think we have better choices. Like, you're playing this, you're playing Get Lost. Get Lost. Every day. All week. So hard to say, but I'll still give it a 4 because I think that, especially in Ages Past, this would have been playable. But Ages Past, it would have been like a 6, right? But I don't think this is competing with Stroke for slots in Commander or anything. It's just a decent removal spell. You'll probably play it in Limited. Honor-Bound Page is 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 3/3 cat cleric with first strike that enters prepared to cast Forum's Favor. A single white mana for a sorcery. A creature gets +1/+0 and gains flying until end of turn. So Hill Giant with first strike, got the right creature types. I like me a cat cleric. And I guess the best thing about this is that in Limited, it targets something, right? You need bodies, but you also need to target things in these decks that want you to target stuff, right? And they have elegantly solved that problem with a bunch of creatures that come with spells on them. And I like that. So bread and butter kind of card in Limited, I think, for these Silver Quill decks and maybe even beyond. I'll give this a 3.2. Is that right? Yeah, 3.2. Informed Inkrite is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/2 human wizard with vigilance and repartee. Whenever you repartee, you get a 1/1 flyer. Again, pretty good with, little removal spells. Tragic Trajectory or Stab or Requiting Hex or something, and I get a 1/1. That's good. That's pretty good value, dude. I have to say. But it's hard to judge because I still don't think that it's like Young Pyromancer or Third Path Iconoclast. I don't think that every spell you cast, it's not. Some of these things will say like whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Some are more restrictive. They say whenever you cast an instant or sorcery. But now we're funneling even more down, we're getting even more restrictive with it has to target a creature. And that is probably a little harder than it seems, right? But I don't know. A deck full of cheap instants and sorceries that are, able to target your own guys and maybe some, removal, whatever. If this dude creates 2 flyers, I think he's crazy. So I think the card's very good, both potentially for Standard, seriously. But also obviously in Commander, really. So I'm going to give this our first pretty high score, I think. I'm going to give this a 6.3. I think it's a very good card. I really do. Next, how many of these new cats go into the cube? Not many. There are some outside of white that I think go in the cube. I do like this one that we just looked at, though. Ink-Shaped Demonstrator is 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 3/4 Elephant Cleric with Ward 2 and Repartee. Whenever you Repartee, this guy gets +1/+0 and gains lifelink till end of turn. Again, like fine limited card here, but no action outside of that. I like that he's an elephant. I always like these guys, but I'm just going to give this like a 3, right at. I like the ward. Interjection is a single white mana for an instant. A creature gets +2/+2, gains first strike till end of turn. Really good combat trick. First strike is fantastic on a combat trick like this. Usually you see this in red, right? But not bad in limited for sure. Targets a guy too. That matters. Single mana, that matters. Instant speed, that matters, right? But still, it's just a normal combat trick. So I'm going to give it a 2.3. Joined Researchers is 2 mana. This is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric wizard with first strike. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent has more cards in hand than you, this thing becomes prepared to cast Secret Rendezvous, a card we've seen before. 3 mana for a sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3. Not a huge fan. Was never a huge fan of Rendezvous. I like the art, right? But as far as the actual function of the card, I'm not like a huge fan outside of Commander. And even in Commander, I don't know if this one's great, but I do like that you can load it up like multiple times in a game. And in Commander, I think you might have a chance to load this up like 3 times. Like you cast Secret Rendezvous once, unload your hand after you do that, and then you target a different opponent with Rendezvous. Or like somebody's more likely, you still have 2 other opponents, right? There's someone still more likely to have more cards than you, right? So I don't hate this, and I think it might be better than it looks, but I'm still just going to give this like a 5.3. And I know that sounds kind of high to some people. Some people will think I'm high for giving it that high of a score. But again, I think being able to load this multiple times in Commander fairly easily might be really good. So I'm going to give it some love. Recursive Intrigue, thanks for the 1,000 bits. My goodness gracious. That's so many bits. Wow. Thank you. Owlin Historian is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 2/3 bird cleric with flying when it enters Surveil 1. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your yard, this guy gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Hell of a common here. Way better than a Windrake. Just it's at the start of it. You get a cool enters trigger and an extra point of toughness. And it can attack as like a 3 or 4 power flyer on some turns for just an initial 3 mana. That's pretty good. For a common, that's pretty good in limited. Love the art too, for what that's worth. He looks very joyous is all I'll say. But I'm going to give this like a 3.3. I think this is like, especially in limited, this is the common you're looking for in white. Not but one of them. Practiced Offense is a rare though. 3 mana, 2 and a white for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. Target creature gains your choice of double strike or lifelink until end of turn. Flash this back for 1 and a white. Okay, so speaking of better than it looks, which I said about a couple of cards ago, Secret Rendezvous card. Yeah, this is all right. I don't know if it's worth running in your aggro deck, especially considering some of the other effects we have access to, but I don't know, dude. I still can't hate this. It flashes back. That means you don't have to actually cast it in the first place. You just pitch it or mill it or something. And then later in the game, when you have a stout enough board, bang, everything gets a little bit larger. It sucks that it's only one creature that gains the lifelink or the double strike, but it would be busted if it was all your dudes get +1/+1 counters and double strike. But double strike is pretty scary. That is a pretty scary ability if you have a trample or flying guy or something. So, hate this card. I'm going to give it a 4.6. I think it's really close. Primary Research is 5 mana, 4 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters, return a non-land permanent card, mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. At the beginning of your end step, if a card left your graveyard this turn, draw a card. So the turn it comes into play, you get some value, and then you get some value. The very same turn, it does 2 things. The turn it comes into play by drawing you a card and also reanimating a thing. But for 5 mana, I'm not sure that it's very good. Even in Commander, where turn after turn, this is kind of a Phyrexian Arena effect, it's drawing you a card reliably most turns. I don't think this is good enough for the Lorehold deck, considering, after Soul Rings and removal and cards you have to play, Swiftfoot Boots and blah, 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 you probably only get 40 slots in this deck. And I don't know if this is the right power level. I don't really know. But altogether, I think it's a neat card that I will give a 3.6 to. I really, no, actually, I'll give a 3.9 to this. I'll give it a 3.9. The only thing that makes me not like this is the ridiculous 5 mana cost on this. That's a lot, but I do like the fact that it gets back any non-land permanent. I mean, you can get some good value off of it, but we'll have to see. I'm not convinced at all, which I'll say about a few cards tonight, but 5 mana is a lot. Quillblade Laureate, the best fencing ace I may have ever seen, except for maybe Swiftblade. But maybe even better than that, actually. Laureate is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 1/1 human cleric with double strike. This creature enters prepared. It has 2-fold intent. 1 and a white for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+0 and gains double strike till end of turn. So Just having double strike on a stick, right? The ability to gift something double strike is actually really dangerous. It's so good. I do like that you can cast it on like herself and she'll just deal 4 damage that turn. I think that's actually pretty relevant. You know, after Wraths, or if you can give her a form of haste or any other buffs, you know, she might be able to get through for 6 or something. So actually, I think this is a really good fencing ace. Fencing ace with a good spell stapled to it, sure. I'll take that all day. So I'm actually going to give this like a 4.7. I think this is very, very good. But will it be like the cornerstone of a mono white aggro deck anytime soon? Probably not. Probably not. Let's be honest. Rapier Wit over here is 2 mana, 1 and a white for an instant. Tap target creature. Tarp target creature. If it's your turn, put a stun counter on it, draw a card. Just a fancy little piece of work for limited here. I do like drawing cards, but I'm not going to give this more than a 3.5. Tapping a creature is not very high impact at all, is it? Rehearsed Debater is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 3/3 Djinn Bard with Vigilance and Repartee. Whenever you do that, this guy gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So like a pseudo prowess on a 3/3 Vigilance in white, in a color that doesn't usually get like all the prowess in the world. You know what I mean? But that's cute for limited, but I'm just going to give it a 2.9. Restoration Seminars, 7 mana, 5 and double white for a lesson. It's a sorcery. Return target non-land permanent card from your yard to the battlefield, and Paradigm. So this is the first time we're seeing this in the speedrun. You exile this spell. After you first resolve a spell with this name, you may cast a copy of it from exile without paying its mana cost at the beginning of each of your main phases, your first main phases. That reminder text is a mouthful, dude. So you cast it every turn, right? Untap, upkeep, draw, cast this spell every turn. That's pretty good considering what the card says. It's not bad. I think that in like a fun little control deck, this might be standard playable. We've seen 7 mana win conditions in control decks, but usually they win the game on the spot. This doesn't do that. So I'm not too sure. In Commander, it might even be too slow, but just based on pure power level, I'm going to respect it a little bit and give it a 5.4. The 5.4 is pretty good. It's not bad. Shattered Acolyte is okay. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/2 Dwarf Warlock with lifelink. Pay 1, sacrifice it, destroy an artifact or enchantment. So it's a Cathar Commando or something like that, whatever that card was called. But it doesn't have flash. It has lifelink. That's to work with some of the themes in this set. Makes perfect sense. But still, I think that the other card's better. The one with flash is better. But that doesn't really make this card worse necessarily. I'm still going to give it a 4.8. This card's been playable before. I could see it being playable again. Soaring Stone Glider is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 4/3 Elephant Cleric. As an additional cost to cast it, exile 2 cards from your yard or pay 1 and a white. It has flying and vigilance. So 3 mana, 4/3 flying vigilance. You have to exile 2 cards from your yard, which can be very easy to do. Super duper easy to do, I think. So cool card, but is a 3 mana, 4 power flying vigilance, is a 3 mana almost Sarah Angel good? Is it good enough for standard? I don't think so. I really don't. I'm sorry. I know. I think you have to be really good at 3 mana in standard. I'm not sure this quite cuts the mustard, baby. But that said, I'm still going to give this a 4. Still going to give it a 4. Dumbo, yeah, a flying elephant. True. Why didn't I catch that one? Let's just see. This is my job, and I didn't catch that one. Perfect. I think it's cute, though. I think it's cute. I'll give it a 4. Just because it's a Sarah Angel. Spirit Call Enthusiast is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 3/3 Cat Cleric. Whenever one or more tokens you control enter, this thing becomes prepared to cast Scroll Boost. 2 mana for a sorcery. 1 or 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 until end of turn. So neat in tokens decks, but how good is it really in tokens decks? I like that you can give +4/+4 effectively for 2 mana. That's not bad. But again, why sorcery? People in the chat have already a couple times tonight been like, why sorcery about the cards that they cast? I kind of feel that about this one too. But in any case, fine limited card, 3.1. Stand Up For Yourself is also fine limited card. 3 mana, 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target creature with power 3 or greater. And I won't be writing any more essays for you either. So this is just again, decent removal that you probably won't be playing in standard. 3.9. Stirring Hope Singer is a house. This is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 1/3 bird bard with flying and lifelink and repartee. Whenever you repartee, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Daddy-o. So that's not bad. Right? This could be a bust. You know, this is one of the cards that I fear the most, that I have clocked as crazy, that is actually completely sane. Just a very normal card, actually. So I want to give this a fairly high score. Yeah, each is the key word, right? All your guys. But how many guys you got? How many guys you got? You know, and to that matter, if your deck has a bunch of guys in it, how many instants and sorceries that target a creature does it have in it? You know? How many times am I actually triggering this guy? And how many times can I reliably have like 2 other dudes on the table? Right? But even if you don't have any other dudes on the table and you just like remove an opponent's creature, well, you got a 2-power lifelinker now that flies. That's pretty good. You know? Yeah, Silver Quill makes tokens and stuff. Might work in the Boros decks. It could, but I worry about how it competes with like Cosmonaut Zenith and to a degree Sage of the Skies in the 3-drop slot. So I have some doubts. I have some personal doubts about this card, but I'm still going to give this a 6.4, and here's why. Not only does it have potential in Standard, but I think this is a Commander banger. I think this bangs. Like the lady that Ricky Martin is singing about. She bangs in Commander hard. Extremely hard. So, yeah, seems potentially great in Feather. Yeah, there's a few decks, Mavinda, right, that this seems unbelievable in Commander. So, yeah, it gets a high marks for that, if nothing else. But we'll see it better in Standard. I think it's all right. Stone Docent over here is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 3/1 Spirit Chimera. You can pay a white and exile it from your yard to gain 2 life and surveil 1. Okay, you know, a 2 mana 3/1. And all it takes to get it out of your yard and gain the life and get the surveil is a single mana. Again, I like these things that are like pitchable. They're pitchable, they're millable. You don't care if you mill them into your yard. And if you do mill them into your yard, they're almost like a low impact spell in your hand. And that's pretty cool, man. Like this for only 1 mana triggers all the lore hold stuff, you know. It's pretty good, but it also triggers like Witherbloom stuff that wants you to gain life. And for that matter, any mono white stuff that wants you to gain life, this will trigger pretty easily too. But I don't think it's good enough to go in like mono white life gain decks. I just like how this does stuff for different archetypes, and it's not necessarily embarrassing to put in your deck in the first place. So cool stuff. I come from an age of Narcomoebas being really good. It's like a 2 mana 1/1 flyer, but if you happen to mill it into your yard from your deck, you just play it. You just freely play the card. And I've always loved stuff like that. Dread Return, you know, you flash it back by sacking 3 creatures, reanimate a creature. Love Dread Return. So stuff that you can just like throw into your yard and then use later, I'm always a huge fan of. And this seems pretty good, but I'm still just going to give it like a 4.1, which is higher than I really want to grade this. Seriously, much higher. But I think 1 mana is a steal for what this could potentially be doing in terms of triggers and stuff. Summon Dromedary is the spirit camel in the set. 4 mana for a 4/3 vigilance. You can pay 1 and a white to return it from your yard to your hand at sorcery speed. That'll trigger all the lore hold stuff. But in limited, I think this is a crazy uncommon. Seriously, man. Like, this is a 4 mana 4-power guy with a keyword ability that never dies unless it's exiled. It's super good, man. It costs 6 mana to loop it. And you can't like get it back at the end of your opponent's turn, right? The activated ability is sorcery. But I still think like having a never-ending creature is always fantastic, especially at pre-release. You know, in sealed, a stout body like this that actually gets in for damage and blocks and stuff and can come back so good, man. So I give this a limited score of like 8. It's like the white uncommon, baby, to my mind. But just in general, I'm going to give this card like a 3.8. It's not super good, but you know, I like stuff like this. I really do. But next is Banishing Betrayal. 2 mana. We're in blue, by the way. 1 and a blue for an instant. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Surveil 1. Just fine. Just a fine magic card. We'll give it a 3.9. Brush Off is, I've had a lot of discussion about Brush Off this season. 4 mana, 2 double blue for an instant. The spell costs 1 and a blue less to cast if it targets an instant or sorcery spell. Counter target spell. So for 2 mana, you get counter target instant or sorcery spell, which I've had a few people tell me is like, this is strictly better than Negate. I think, no. Negate, you're thinking of Spell Pierce, I think. Are you? I don't know. It's Negate targets non-creature spells. So enchantments, artifacts, planeswalkers, battles. I don't know. So I think that the fact that this isn't strictly better than Negate means that Negate will still be the sideboard card people choose to use. So I kind of want to brush off this card. But it is like a main deck Negate, right? Like if you have the 4 mana, you just counter anything. But if you have 2 mana, usually protect a creature or something like that, you know. So I think it's okay. I mean, it's a counter spell, so I can't rate it too low. It's like a playable counter spell. But I'm going to make some people angry here because I've seen how some people feel about this card this season. And just give this like a 3.9. I really don't think that it's like anything special. I really don't. But Campus Composer is up next. 4 mana, 3 and a white. 3 and a white? We just went through all the white cards. I'm probably just used to saying the white mana symbol. 3 and a blue for a 3/4 Merfolk Barb with Ward 2 that enters prepared to cast Aqueous Aura. This is 5 mana for a sorcery that makes a 3/3 with flying. So 2 bodies on 1 card and limited. That's almost playable for sure, but, you know, 3, right out of 3. Chase Inspiration is a single blue mana for an instant that is Dive Down. This card is just Dive Down. It's creature you control gets +0/+3 and gains hexproof till end of turn. Dive Down's a fine card. 4. Sure. Deluge Virtuoso is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 human wizard. When it enters, tap a creature an opponent controls. It gets a stun counter. And it has Opus. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. If you spend 5 or more mana to cast the spell for Opus, this guy gets +2/+2 until end of turn instead. So Frost links with prowess. That's pretty good in limited too. For a common, that really isn't that bad. But I'm just going to give this 3.5. Limited playable. Divergent Equation is crazy. This card's good, man. Double X and blue for an instant. Return up to X target instant and or sorcery cards from your yard to your hand. Exile Divergent Equations. So attempting to be Recall to a degree, but it doesn't make you discard cards like Recall did, which is really good. But yeah, I think at instant speed, this is wild. Savage Magic card, dude. Go out on a limb here and give this a 6 and stop there. I don't think it's much better than a 6, but I do think that this is one of playable in standard control decks. I really do. And I think it's almost playable in Commander, depending on what you're doing. But I think in standard control decks, this is way better than it might look to some people at first glance. I haven't really heard anybody talking about it, but the card's crazy, I think. The card's good. Idaho CRX paying forward the gifted sub from Tempest of Thought, or to Tempest of Thought. Thank you much. Oh, and Josh Gom, thanks for the prime sub. 51 months. Dang. We had some, James Nemo was 69 months earlier. I just didn't make the YouTube video, so I wanted to point it out because it's very nice. But yeah, Equation I think is a good card. Put it that way. Did I rate this yet? Yeah, I gave it a 6. Echo Casting Symposium, 6 mana, 4 double blue for a lesson. It's a sorcery. Target player creates a token that's a copy of a creature you control. Paradigm. There's probably reasons you would target someone other than yourself, but you probably target yourself 90% of the time, realistically. This is probably okay, but it's also big, dumb blue mythics, probably not playable in standard, whatever. So I'm going to give this a... Paradigm cards are just good, right? You have to just respect them. I'm going to give this a 5.1, but no more. No more than that. None more than that. Ooh, here's the guy. Emeritus of Ideation, currently the most expensive card on pre-sale in the deck, in the set. About $65 for this dude. Is he worth it? No. Emeritus of Ideation is 5 mana, 3 double blue for a 5/5 human wizard with flying and ward 2 that enters prepared to cast Ancestral Recall. Ancestral Recall. Whenever this creature attacks, you may exile 8 cards from your graveyard. If you do, this creature becomes prepared. That's kind of Treasure Cruise when you think about it. It's a little bit Treasure Cruise after you cast your Ancestral Recall. Guy is good. I think he is probably pretty decent, dude, honestly. Compared to the other 5 mana options that Control has in standard, you know, it is Shiko, people playing that has an ETB trigger. The secret to this is that it's not 5 mana. This card costs 6 mana, for sure. If you play this on 5 mana, you're a dope. You play this with the 6 mana up, so you can go ahead and get your Ancestral Recall. And at 6 mana, I think the card's crazy. I really do think the card is fine at 6 mana. But what do you give this? You know, like it's not like busted. This card is not broken. So chat, here's your chance. Here's your chance. We always add like a good 60 seconds to the speed run when I ask chat, but it's worth it. I want you guys to stay involved. Rate Emeritus of Ideation. What do you think this card is? And the thing is, I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to rate it while still talking about it. And then I'm going to rate it before looking at your scores. Because I can see people accusing me. It's never happened, but I can see people accusing me of being like, oh, he's just cribbing from chat scores. Nah, I don't want to do that. So I will not be a coward. I will give this card a score. I think Also, don't want to affect chat scores with my own. I think that this card, remember that I think the highest score we've given out tonight is like a 6.4. I think that this card is a 6.9. No, I don't. I think this card is a 6.6. I think this is a very good Magic card. But I wouldn't say it's, well, yeah. I'll do it. 6.9. You know, yeah, draw 3 cards is too good. It's too good. What are you guys saying over here? 5.85, 3.97 on control, 5 elsewhere. 5 mana, kind of like a Hydroid Krasis if you look at it sideways. Yeah, I was kind of going to go there with it. Procrastinate Dragon, I was kind of getting there with it. 3 because I don't like blue. 6.5, good in Commander Blink. Yeah, maybe. I was going to get to Blink as well. 5.4, 6.9, just nice. Yeah, going to go with a 6, it's just good. Maybe a 6. Arcanus the Omnipotent in 2026. You know, I distinctly thought of Arcanus, but wasn't going to say that. This doesn't have to wait to tap. You just pay a mana. That's so good. It's really good. The Ancestral Recall to a degree, because you drew 3 cards, also helps fuel your graveyard to re-prepare this, because, you know, you draw 3, you'll cast those spells, you know. I like that. A 5/5 Flying Ward 2 for 5 mana is a good rate. Let's not forget that. A 5 mana 5/5 Flying Ward 2. Fine rate. I think the card you compare this to in Standard is actually Meringue River Regent. Because you pay 6 mana for the creature version of that. It's a big fat flyer. It's got a great ETB trigger that affects the board state. This doesn't do that, but it does kind of have Meringue River Regent's like adventure mode on it or whatever, you know? In that it has a mode that draws 3 cards. But, you know, if you wanted to, and it's not even an adventure mode, you have to like shuffle it back into your deck or whatever when you cast it. This is like getting a huge flyer and being able to draw the cards all at the same time, and that's pretty good. It just is. So I think the card deserves like a 6.8, like in that neighborhood. That name is dumb. 55 months. Thank you very much for your subbage. Quantum Riddler's better. Whew. And that might be the card you compare this to, really. Imagine how good it is alongside Riddler. Think about that. But I'm sticking to my guns, though. I think it's 6.8. This card is probably like, once it's out, it's kind of really tough to deal with. And even if you can deal with it, they probably already drew 3. So like mini Atraxa, you know, you think about it that way. It's kind of a mini Atraxa. People were ramping into Atraxa all the time. And this costs 1 less mana and is easier to cast, really. Color-wise, too, than Atraxa. So, through that lens, I think we actually have a freaking banger. So, I think the card's very good. Encouraging Aviator is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 bird wizard with flying. Whenever it attacks, it becomes prepared to cast Jump, the Van Halen song. A single blue mana for an instant creature gains flying till end of turn. You should know what Jump does. It's been around since ABU. Card is really good and limited. So again, strictly better Windrakes I'm a fan of. So I'm going to give this a 3.3. Essence Scatter is Essence Scatter. Really cool art, by the way, by Elliot Lang here. I like it. But what do you give Essence Scatter? Essence Scatter is like a 4.1. Exhibition Tidecaller. Oh my god, you hate it. A single blue mana for a 0/2 Gen Wizard with Opus. Whenever you Opus, target player mills 3 cards. And if you spent the 5 mana, that player mills 10 cards instead. So that's great. I can't wait to play this card. This might be, in terms of Standard, there's a lot of Commander cards I can't wait to play in this set. It's actually what I'm like most interested in ordering is the Commander stuff. But as far as Standard stuff, this is probably the card I can't wait to play the most. Boy, this card looks crazy, dude. Look, like Ruin Crab is whenever I get a land into play. Hedron Crab, whenever I get a land into play, right? That's bad enough. And there's plenty of ways to, like, you know, fetch land or go search for 2 lands because of a spell or something and like make those cards really good. But I think it's much easier to go like, okay, Exhibition Tidecaller on 1. Opt on turn 2, you know, cast 3 more spells on turn 3 or whatever. It is super easy, and you're just getting crazy mills. You get 2 of these in play, you're going crazy. And if you can cast something with 5 or more mana, you know, if you can figure that out, 10 mills, my God, like it goes hard with like Syncopate, you know, like Syncopate counter that unless you pay 4. Ooh, and also mill 10. Ooh, can you mill 10? Ooh, it's just so stupid, dude. No, we don't hate this. Well, good. Again, I found my people then. I love this card so much, and I'm actually going to give it the highest score so far. I might give this a higher score than the Emeritus of Ancestral Recall. It's just so irritating. It's just super irritating. Yeah, going crazy with the cheese whiz on this one. Decimate people in limited. Yeah, honestly. That's a true dat. Tide Collar, dude. Tide Collar. Oh my good. 7.5. That's just, it's the number that's been in my head the entire time. I think that Emeritus of Ancestral Recall is probably the more like dangerous standard card that we might be like looking at, especially after rotation. But this card is just crazy everywhere. I'm telling you, this card's like Pioneer playable. This card's so good. So yeah, 7.5. This is fantastic. Sounds right. That's game. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Singularity Rupture. That's hilarious. Flow State is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 of your library. 1 goes into your hand, the rest on the bottom in any order. If there's an instant and a sorcery card in your yard, instead put 2 of them into your hand, the rest on the bottom in any order. So when I first read this, I thought it was and or sorcery, but you have to have both. You have to have an instant and a sorcery card in your yard. That makes it way worse than I thought it was, but still pretty good. I don't think it's too hard to put 2 cards in your hand with this, so I'm going to give it a 5.1. If it were the card I thought it were, it would be like a 6.6, but instead 5.1. I still think it's halfway playable. Fractal Anomaly is a single blue mana for an instant. Create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X counters on it, X being the number of cards you've drawn this turn. What a neat card. They went crazy with the design on this. Just what a good idea for a card, you know? I think, too, that people have pipe dreams of making it an 8/8 for 1 mana. And, like, it could happen. There's setups in Commander where it could happen. And even if it's a 1 mana 3/3, I guess that's kind of fine, you know? In a set with Brainstorm guy, Ancestral Recall guy, you know, like, maybe it could be pretty decent. But I don't want to put too many chips in this basket. I'm going to give this, like, a 4. Seriously. I want it to be so much better than that, but there's a part of my brain that's like, don't trust it, you know? I do like the instant speed, but I still don't trust it. Fractalize is X and a blue for an instant. Till end of turn, a creature becomes a green and blue fractal with base power toughness, each equal to X plus 1. So you're telling me for a single blue mana, I can target my opponent's creature and make it a 1/1, right? I can do that. It's pretty good. Target one of my own guys too, I guess, some of the time. And there's ways that you can, you know, proc Opus with this, you know, and fulfill the 5 mana condition, which is something to look out for in limited. But mostly I like this as a combat trick in blue that's just like, oh, your guy's a 1/1 now. Whoops. That's kind of cute, but it's only cute. I'm going to give this a 3.6. Harmonized Trio, dude. This I like more than... I seriously think this might have a shot at being way better than the Ancestral Recall guy. This is a single blue mana for a 1/1 Merfolk Bard Wizard. You can tap it and tap 2 untapped creatures you control to prepare this creature to cast Brainstorm of all things. It's like an Ancestral Recall, but technically worse. But you know the tricks, like use a Evolving Wilds or something to shuffle away the worst 2 cards in your hand. You can still do that in Standard. It's fun. This card's good. This is a 1-drop that casts Brainstorm, so I'm obligated to say this card's fantastic, actually. It's not too hard to have other creatures on the table. So, I'm going to give this the same thing I gave Archmage or whatever, Emeritus thing. I'm going to give this a 6.8. Seriously. Yeah, you guys think so too? Yeah. Oh, this is horrible? Are you talking about Harmonized Trio or Fractalized? I don't think Harmonized Trio is horrible at all. But then we had another person come in and say, like, a lot better than Recall guy. So people are, at least a couple of people seem to be split. I don't think this is horrible at all. Not even, what? You know? Like, you can prepare it on turn 2 fairly easily, you know? So I like that about it. I don't love it later. You know, if you play it on, like, turn 4, it doesn't seem as good, but at least you have the creatures to prepare it on the next turn. And you can cast the Brainstorm even if it's tapped, you know? I think there's a lot of setups with this. It's only 1 mana. It's only 1 mana to cast this guy. It's wonderful. You probably won't cast Brainstorm till turn 3. Like, I understand that, but it's still Brainstorm. And I think anyone who would confidently make a claim that this card is horrible probably has the experience to have played against him with Brainstorm a lot, right? So I'm not... Like, I was about to fix my mouth to be like, in case you've never played against Brainstorm, like, you have, you know how good Brainstorm is. I think this card's pretty phenomenal, dude. I'm stick to my guns again. I'm going to give this a 6.8. I really think this card's fantastic. I really do. Think about, is it Warden of the Inner Sky? That guy. He lets you tap down artifacts too. I understand that, but that guy's like tap down up to 3 untapped creatures you control or artifacts or whatever, and he gets a +1/+1 counter, and then once he has enough counters, he gains flying or whatever he does. That card saw a lot of play. That card still sees a lot of play on the arena, you know? And it's, my point is that card has proven that it's very easy to tap down 3 things in total. And so I think that this card could be just bananas. I really do, dude. I like this guy. The 1-drop Merfolk from Ether Drift is better, Lord Bias. The guy that like kind of casts Brain Geyser, you know, like you can play like double blue and X and draw cards or something and put counters on all your Merfolk. I don't think that guy's better. You have to pay 5 mana to draw as many cards with that guy. I don't know, dude. I think that they go together well. I think they go in the same deck. You know, that's not bad. Chittering Hobo, thanks for the 2 years, 24 months. Thank you, my man. Appreciate that. It's like, I think this card's good. But anyway, that's enough. Homesickness is up next. 6 mana, 4 double blue for an instant. Target player draws 2, tap up to 2 target creatures, put a stun counter on each of them. You know? Just, I don't even know if that's a limited card. I do like drawing 2 at instant speed, but 6 mana is a lot. I'm just going to give this like a 2.2. I don't particularly like it. I think people are ignoring synergies with casting spells. The spell materializes from nowhere, doesn't take a deck slot. Yeah, I think those are important things to point out. You're playing 4 copies of Brainstorm in your deck without actually, like, you're playing 8 things. And this one card allows you to play 8 different things. It's a real thing, you know, like a spell that doesn't take up a spell slot. You can play a creature, but it's still a spell. Like, that's important. That is. Hydro Channeler is up next. 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 1/3 Merfolk Wizard. Tap for a blue to cast an instant or sorcery only. Or pay 1 mana and tap it to add a mana of any color to cast an instant or sorcery. So fix your mana to cast instants and sorceries. That's probably actually kind of important for making sure you can get like all the different colored houses that you want to get in, you know, into your deck. And casting instants and sorceries is so important in this set for a few different houses that this is probably a pretty decent card, man. So in limited, I give it a decent score, but outside of there, I'll just give it like a 3.5. We've got a lot of these. There's been a lot of these in Magic. Jadzi, Steward of Fate, is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/4 legendary human wizard that enters prepared. And when it enters, you also draw 2 and discard 2. It casts Oracle's Gift. This is double X and blue for a sorcery. Create X00 green and blue fractal creature tokens. Put X +1/+1 counters on each fractal that you control. So this is cute to blink and cast Oracle's Gift over and over, but I imagine in some games you cast Oracle's Gift even once, it's kind of a surprise, you know what I mean? Like, if you can cast this for X = 2, then you get 2 2/2s for 5 mana, right? If you can cast it again, things get much, much better if you still have those fractals left over from the first time you cast it. So I'll say that, but it does seem like a lot of work, you know? It seems like so much work, but it's decent value on the front end, but we have better cards in Standard that give you this exact same value on the front end. So I'm just going to give this a 5, right out of 5. I think that it's very solid, super solid, but I actually don't think you're going to be casting Gift like that often. I really don't. Also, can't be duressed. Hey, that's a really good point. Like, Intimidation Tactics just got way better, you know? Card I already hate. Why does Intimidation Tactics exile? Why does it do that? Landscape Painter is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Merfolk Wizard that enters prepared to cast Vibrant Idea. 5 mana for a sorcery, draw 2 cards. Kind of Mold Drifter vibes in some ways. You know, I don't hate it in limited, right? I like 2 mana, 2 power guys that do something later, and this is good at that. Also, this will trigger all of your Opus stuff that cares about casting fat spells and whatnot, so keep that in mind. But, you know, outside of limited is mostly what we're rating for here, so I'll just give it a 3.3. Next is Mana Sculpt. Is it a trap or is it apt? This is 3 mana, 1 and 2 blue for an instant counter target spell. If you control a wizard, add an amount of colorless equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell at the beginning of your next main phase. Everybody, is it mana drain or mana ain't? I should have said mana pain, but I feel like mana ain't is better, really. But which is it? I think it's harder to control a wizard than you think. Not just every control deck is going to control a wizard. I do think it goes well with all those little guys from Final Fantasy. You know, the 0/1s that want you to cast non-creatures. Those are cute, but ultimately, mana drain that costs 1 more makes it harder to be mana neutral, right? But honestly, mana drain never had to be mana neutral. Like, even if mana drain only adds 1 mana to your mana pool, it's still just free mana, you know? Like, free mana is crazy. So I don't want to disrespect this card. I think even fixed mana drain is pretty good. But I think some people are reading this and they see it, they read it, they know it's there. In their brain, they know that if you control a wizard line exists. They just want to, like, gloss over it. Like, oh, yeah, if you control a wizard, sure, I got a wizard. It's like, I don't know how easy that's going to be, man. So that said, I'm still going to give Mana Sculpt a 5.7. I am. I think this could be standard playable in the right builds. If you do have enough creature or wizards, especially if they're important enough. And obviously, it's just cancel. If you don't control a wizard, it's still just cancel. And if the spell is important enough to counter, you'll just do that. Like, for a cancel with upside, this is pretty good. So, mana is always fantastic. You will find a way to use it. I promise. You always do. Even as a control mage, you know, oh, I have to use mana on my main phase, bro. Like, trust me. You'll find something to do with it. The card I think is good. And in Commander, where like your commander is a wizard, it just goes in all those decks. Every deck where your commander's a wizard and you're in blue, you play the card. So I think that really boosts the score a little bit. But 5.7 is as high as it's going to go, and I think it could probably go higher. We'll see what this card does. Mathemagics is going on. This is a double X, double blue for a sorcery. Target player draws 2 to the X power cards, and then it gives you a reminder text so you don't look like an idiot at the table. So I'm pretty sure 2 to the 6th power here, which costs a lot of mana, but I think it's 14, right? I think it's 14 mana to cast 2 to the 6th power. Just kills your opponent. You find a way for 14 mana to happen, your opponent's dead. So, cool. If you find a way for, well, 2 to the 5th, oh, is that 16 mana actually? Am I wrong? 2 to the 5th, 10, 11, 12. Right, 12. So 2 to the 6th is 12, 14. Okay, yeah, I'm right. I was right all along. So 12 mana is 32 cards, and that could still kill them. It could still kill them pretty easily. So finally a way to win with 14 mana. A tool-themed deck. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen, What Top Life. A tool-themed deck. Yeah, you can pull off the Fibonacci sequence. You got to listen to Vicarious to really understand. This is this is a meme card, honestly, but it can kill your opponent, so you have to respect that a little bit. I will give this a 4. It draws a bunch of cards, but I think it's mostly a joke. Matter Bending Mage is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 human wizard. When it enters, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. Whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, this creature cannot be blocked this turn. So you can return something you control, that's interesting, to your owner, to its owner's hand. To re-prepare it, maybe, something like that. Or you can just throw, another one of their dudes back in their hand. You can get tempo off of this, which is cool. So I like this this version of a Mana War effect. It's not too bad. I'm just going to give it like a 3.4. At this point, these effects aren't amazing, even in limited. Muse Seeker, I really like. This is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 1/2 elf wizard with Opus. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card and then discard a card. Unless you spent 5 or more mana on the spell. So, draw a card whenever you cast a mana value 5 or more spell. Otherwise, loot. Looting is still good. On a 2-drop, like looting whenever I cast an instant or sorcery, it's still fantastic. So I think this is commander playable in spell slinger decks, and I think this is pretty good, honestly. Don't get a ton of effects like these. So I'm gonna actually give this like a 5.5. I'm so serial. I think this is kind of sleeper territory, but only really for commander. I don't think this is a standard playable card. But I think that the commander players that like is it Spellslinger, take a look at this. Take a look at me now. It's just an empty space. It's a pretty good card. Muse's Encouragement is 5 mana, 4 and a blue for an instant. You get a 3/3 blue and red elemental with flying, and you surveil 2. At instant speed, I guess we're kind of talking in limited, but I'm still just going to give this a 2.5. Orisa Tide Choreographer, 5 mana, 4 and a blue for a 2/2 legendary merfolk bard that costs 3 less to cast if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater. When Orisa enters, draw 2 cards. All right, so again, Mold Driftery vibes, you have to have a pretty huge team in order to get the 3 mana mode. Well, the 2 mana mode, yeah, the 2 mana mode on this. Massive team, but maybe it can only be 2 guys. You know, maybe you have like 2-5 toughness dudes for really cheap. Draw 2, not worth it. Just not worth it in standard at all. So I'm going to give it a 3.7. I think this card's worse than it looks, but blinking it seems fine. Pensive Professor. Now we're talking, baby. Again, though, it doesn't look anything like the Professor. I think they missed the mark. 3 mana, 1 and double blue for a 0/2 human wizard with increment. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on this creature, draw a card. I think that this should probably read like whenever its increment ability triggers. Whenever 1 or more +1/+1 cards are put on this creature due to its increment ability triggering, draw a card. But no, just anytime any counters are put on it, draw a card. It's crazy. That's so good. There's like so many ways to put counters on this guy in Commander that it's insane. Even in Standard, I think there might be a lot of ways to put or move counters onto this guy or whatever. It doesn't only trigger once each turn. Like, dude, that's pretty good, man. Like, I think this is a dope little guy. And he's really easy to trigger his increment because he starts at 0 power too. So just like almost any creature this side of Ornithopter is going to trigger this guy's increment. You draw a card. Fantastic. Fantastic, dude. 6.5. 6.5. Just going to carry games in Commander, though. Like, I honestly, let's go 7.2. I'm serious. Better than Archmage of Emeritus, dude. I think this guy just carries games of Commander so hard. And I know there are other creatures that kind of do stuff like this. They carry games of Commander. And he's mono blue. Some of the other dudes like this are like Simic or whatever. Mono blue dude that does this. Absolutely insane, man. Absolutely insane. Procrastinate. Wait, isn't there a massive octopus butt that costs blue or 1 blue? Yeah, it's the legendary octopus in the set that got Joke Legends. It's like a 2 mana 0/8. So you could draw 2 off that lady that draws 2 if you have a team with 10 butt. You could, but it's still, then you have to play that card in your deck. You know? Procrastinate is X and a blue for a sorcery. Tap a creature, put twice X stun counters on it. Really interesting removal here, but kind of stops it interesting and never actually makes its way to good. You know what I mean? I'm just going to give this like a 2.8. I don't love it. Quick Study is Quick Study. 3 mana for an instant speed, draw 2. It's just strictly better divination because it's instant speed. It's fantastic. Everybody loves it. I'll give Quick Study a 4.4. Next is Run Behind over here, which, by the way, Quick Study's been standard playable in the past. Just goes to show you that a 4.4 can be standard playable. Run Behind is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for an instant that costs 1 less to cast if it targets an attacker. Target creature's owner puts it on top or bottom of their library. So 3 mana effectively for this ability. Nothing we haven't seen before. Decent removal again, like a 2.9 though. You know. Sky Coach Conductor. This is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 bird pilot with flash, flying, and vigilance that enters prepared. Apparently all the 3 mana birds in the set are 2/3s. This has all aboard. It's an instant. Exile target non-pilot creature you control. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control immediately. This card's good. This card's good. At 4 mana, this can just save one of your dudes. I think that's cool. You can do weird blocking stuff with it at 4 mana as well, which you kind of like, you know. But altogether, pretty sick. This is one of those creatures that kind of illustrates why sometimes an enter the battlefield trigger is not always the best thing in the world compared to this, right? If this was an ETB trigger, just save a guy, that'd be one thing. But with this, I can let my opponent swing in, play Sky Coach Conductor, block with Conductor and another creature I control, and then use all aboard at instant speed to blink the other creature I blocked with. Do you see? I couldn't do that if it was an ETB trigger. So there are cases where an ability like this is better than an ETB. So I really like this guy. I love it in like blue-white tempo with Aang and Aven Interrupter. You know, you got kind of a bird thing going there. Just altogether really, really cool. I think it's standard playable. The flash helps out so much. I want to give this card a pretty good score, dude. I'm going to give this a 6.6. I think this card is fantastic. I really do. Spellbook Seeker is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for a 3/3 bird wizard with flying that enters prepared to cast. Careful Study. This is a single blue mana for a sorcery, draw 2, discard 2. In case you've never seen Careful Study. I popped for this one when I read it earlier. This is part of the common dump today. And it is common. You can play this in Pauper, which I think is very cute. A 4 mana dude that casts Careful Study for an extra mana equates to a 5 mana 3/3 flyer that immediately casts Careful Study. Is how you'll usually play this. But anything that casts Careful Study, I'm a pretty big fan of. Even if I have to pay 4 mana for it, I'm still kind of a fan. So I'm going to mark out for this card a little bit and give it a 4.2. I think that just because it has Careful Study on it, we have to respect it a little bit. Careful Study is good as hell. That's a good card. Tester of the Tangential is 2 mana, 1 and a blue, for a 1/1 Gen Wizard with Increment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you can pay X. If you do that, move X +1/+1 counters from this creature onto another. So 2 mana, 1/1 Increment. And we have an Experiment 1 that costs double the amount Experiment 1 costs. I really want to like this. I really do. But I kind of can't. I don't love that I have to like pay mana to move counters and stuff. But obviously there are fun tricks with that. You got a Pensive Professor. Just move counters onto him every turn, draw cards. Pretty fun. But ultimately, I think this is mostly just limited playable, and it's probably just not quite good enough to see play outside of there. So I'm going to give it a 4 just because I really like it, but I don't think it's as good as it wants to be. Put it that way. Textbook Tabulator is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 0/3 Increment creature. It's a frog wizard. When it enters, Surveil 2. Did you come from Blueborough, buddy? You look like you came from Bloomburrow. For your studies. But yeah, cool ETB trigger, I guess. And Increment's fine. It's easy to grow as well. But bread and butter common and nothing else. I'll give this a 2.6. Wisdom of Ages is 7 mana, 4 triple blue for a sorcery. Return all instant and sorcery cards from your yard to your hand. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Exile Wisdom of Ages. We have our commander spell of blue. I mean, there's been a couple of big commander things. You know, their paradigm spell is pretty commander coded. But this is the one I think in blue for commander. But I'm still going to give this a 6. And I think it's only playable in commander. Maybe some standard madman will figure something out, but I don't think so. I think in commander as a big dumb spell that you play to kind of help close the game out, it's pretty good, but it might be too much mana. It really might. So that keeps it from being like an 8 or something, just in the game right now kind of spell. But I will give it a 6. I think it's really, really strong in that environment. I really do. But next we're into the black cards. Adventurous Eater is a card I really like. 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 3/2 human warlock that enters prepared to have a bite. It's a sorcery for a single black mana. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature and you gain 1 life. Okay. Incredibly limited playable. So limited playable. A single mana to trigger all of the infusion stuff in Witherbloom. That's fantastic. And then a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, or just target creature. Again, for 1 single mana, works really well with all the Silver Quill stuff. So, great. That's really good and limited for a common. But outside of that environment, I don't think it's very good at all. So I'm just going to give this a 3.2. Arcane Omens is 5 mana, 4 and a black for a sorcery. Converge. Target player discards X, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. If you can mind twist them with this, go for it. But I think it's mostly a trap. 3. Arnon, Deathbloom Botanist. I've joked this is my new fiance. Ellis O'Cour, she's around, you know, she's hanging out. But Arnon though, Deathbloom Botanist, 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 2/2 legendary vampire druid with Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control, power or toughness 1 or less dies, target opponent loses 2 life. You gain 2 life. So it's not each opponent, which kind of sucks for commander, but I'll still take it, dude. This is a really fun, like, Pauper EDH commander, I would say. I'd say this is like the Pauper EDH commander of the set, except for maybe one other. But in any case, I love this little lady right here. We're going to have a lot of fun together. 2 life to 2 life. So this works really well. I'm going to say in standard, but I don't mean it. I don't think this is standard playable, but think about this with like a Voice of Victory on turn 2, you know? Voice of Victory on turn 2, swing with voice next turn. You get a couple of 1/1s, they die end of turn, and you deal, 4, you get 4 worth of drains. Not bad. With Mobilize, this is fun. But again, like as a commander in the 99 of Aristocrats, we're going to get real acquainted real quick. I'm going to give this card a 6 just because I love Blood Artist effects and I am very biased towards them. Card's probably more like a 4.8, but I love stuff like this. Seriously. Next is Burog Banemaker, a single black mana for a 1/1 Frog Warlock with Death Touch. You pay it 1 and a black and it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. All right. I love 1 mana 1/1s with Death Touch. Specifically, in limited, I just think they're almost always playable. And the fact that it can pump, which is something that black creatures used to be able to do all the time, and they kind of slowly lost the ability to do. The fact that it can pump is just a mana sink. That's good gravy in limited. I'll take it. I'll give this a 3.1. Cheerful Osteomancer, 4 mana, 3 and a black for a 4/2 Orc Warlock that enters prepared to cast Raise Dead. Raise Dead. You know what that does, right? Just quintessential magic spell. It's a 1 black mana sorcery. Return a creature from your yard to your hand. So probably mostly worse than Gravedigger, but do note that Gravedigger does not literally cast a spell, right? Like this will trigger all your stuff that cares about when you cast a spell, right? That's kind of cool. And if you're playing like some sort of Mardu thing at pre-release, all the lore hold stuff will care that a creature card left your graveyard. That's kind of neat. So this is very limited playable. Raise Dead effects and Gravedigger effects in general are always playable and limited, I think. I don't think that rule has changed. It's a body that gets you a body back. What else do you want? So I'm going to give this a 3.3. I think it's good there. Cost of Brilliance is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target player draws 2, loses 2, and you put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. Cute. I mean, it's Painful Truths plus a +1/+1 counter, so it's just better than that card. You know? That means I have to give it a 4.1 because Painful Truths is sometimes playable in Commander. Seriously, it's not bad. But next is I would never visually guess in a million years that that's an orc. I guess I can see it. On sheer velocity, answer, I can see it. Pre-release going to be sick. Yeah, I think this is actually going to be the best limited environment in a really long time. This looks like a phenomenal limited environment to me. Next is Decorum Dissertation. 5 mana, 3 double black for a sorcery speed lesson. Target player draws 2, loses 2, and it has Paradigm. So you cast it every turn. That's pretty good. You can target your opponent if you need some black burn to their face. I guess that's cute, but you can also target yourself, obviously, and just draw a total of 3 cards every turn for a number of turns. This has a small chance at being standard playable, but I don't know if you want to be losing the life, dude. I really don't. That said, 5 mana is pretty cheap. As far as these Paradigm effects go, 5 mana is pretty cheap. And I don't want to completely discount this card. I really don't. I think it's pretty fine. This is... And yeah, I will point this out too. Paradigm is a may. You may cast a copy of it from exile. But at the same time, like, if you get to the point where you're not casting it anymore, that's awful. That sucks. But I still think this card's pretty good. I'm going to give it a 5.5 just because drawing a couple extra cards every turn is crazy. It's so good. You can't deny that's very good. The Dissection Practice is a black mana for an instant. An opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Up to 1 target creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn, and up to 1 target creature gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Skullduggery with a drain on it, basically. I like this card. Again, in limited, it meets at the interseas of Witherbloom and Silverquill. It targets stuff, but it also gains life. All good. It's in Prismari. If you're playing Grixis, it's an instant that you cast. So cool stuff, man. Good for limited, but not really any more than like a 2.8. Emeritus of Woe. This is the newest Emeritus. We have not covered it on the channel yet. She looks awesome, by the way. You can't see her behind my big fat head, but in case you haven't seen this card yet, she's so cool, dude. Good job by Jody Muir here. This is a 4 mana, 3 and a black for a 5/4. Remember that power toughness. That's a big PT. 4 mana for a 5/4 vampire warlock that enters prepared to cast Demonic Tutor. Just cast Demonic Tutor. At the beginning of your end step, if 2 or more creatures died this turn, this creature becomes prepared. So not only can you Demonic Tutor, you can Demonic Tutor again. And again. And again. It's wild, dude. I think that in standard, you have to untap with this probably, or you can just cast Demonic Tutor on a 5/4 for 6 mana. And like, honestly, 6 mana for a 5-power creature that immediately casts Demonic Tutor is pretty good. That's pretty good. I really don't think it's that bad. The body is what matters here the most, dude. A 4 mana 5/4 is not terrible. That you can live with a 4 mana 5/4. Seriously. So I like it, man. If you cast this on 4 mana, your opponent like kind of has to kill it like immediately. If they don't kill this on your or their next turn, like, I mean, go get anything. And like in blue black, you just go get a counter spell, don't you? I'm just going to search my library for a counter spell. No, you can't do anything. Just seems pretty good to me, man. I think this could be pretty standard playable. There are good 4 mana options in black. We've got Elegy, the 4 mana 4/4 lifelinker that draws cards and make tokens. That guy's awesome. So I'm not like super sure, but this card is good. I can say that with confidence. And I can't say that with confidence about all the Emeritus. I really can't. But I'm going to give this like 6.7. Seriously, I think this card's really fantastic, dude. Tutor is crazy. Like, you just tutor. And the fact that you don't even, they let you load it. Like, they let you load this card back up. They let you load the card up. Well, that's crazy. That's insane. Like, if the, here's a line to think of. If the spell I demonic tutor for is a removal spell, then it's pretty easy to proc this, isn't it? Like, it's pretty crazy in my opinion, dude. Like, okay, demonic tutor for a 2-mana removal spell. And then, okay, shoot the sheriff your guy. Like, tutor up, shoot the sheriff, shoot your guy. And then tragic trajectory your other guy. That's a total of 5 mana for that play. And you load this back up. And that's not Christmas Land. That's like super easy, dude. I think this is good. I think this is really good. Bottom line. Because Stone Cold said so. In the Hunt is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a sorcery. It's an edict effect. Target opponent exiles a creature or planeswalker they control with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Brutal edict effect. I got to say that. Not only is it not just sacrifice, it is exile. They never get it back ever. But it can also hit planeswalkers, and it's also greatest mana value. This is a wonderful edict effect. It really is, man. Better than the average, I would say, because usually edict effects are sorceries. You can't really ding it too much for being a sorcery. I'm going to give this card a 5, like right at. I think this card's somewhat playable. I think Shoot the Sheriff and Bitter Triumph are better, which is kind of what is affecting the score downwards a little bit, but I still say you respect edict effects like this when you see them, dude. That's a fantastic edict. Eternal Student is up next. I like the flavor on this a lot. 4 mana for a 4/2 zombie warlock. Pay 2, 1 in a black. Exile it from your yard to create 2 1/1 flyers. How good is that, actually? I can't help but think that's actually okay. Like, seriously, man. 2 mana for 2 1/1 flyers, and all I have to do is mill this into my yard or like pitch it or something like that. Brother, sister, I think it's not, it's like deceptively okay. So I'm going to give this a 4.5. Like, card has the most accurate flavor text. I know. It's one of the reasons I love this card. It's a zombie. She's a zombie. And she's entering her 50th year of graduate studies. I think that whoever had this idea deserves a raise. Let them make more Magic cards. Because what a wonderful... Well, if a zombie went to a Magic school, they could go forever. It's like, yeah, good, man. We pay you to think about stuff like that in the shower. That's why you get the probably medium bucks to work at WotC. Anyway, I think this card's actually good again, like at least a 4.4. Foolish Fate is, again, good art here and fun flavor text. 3 mana for an instant. Destroy a creature with infusion. If you gain life this turn, that creature's controller loses 3 life. So 3 mana, unconditional, instant speed, destroy a creature, easy to cast, not double black, blah, blah. Good removal spell, but, no better than a Hero's Downfall or something like that. So probably no real standard play, but ridiculous and limited. I'll give it a 3.5, if only for that. Forum Necroscribe is 6 mana rather. 5 and a black for a 5/4 troll warlock with ward, discard a card, and repartee. Whenever you repartee, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Do you understand? Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature, reanimate a guy. You get what this card says, guys? This is priced out of standard play at 6 mana, I think. I'm pretty sure. But this text box is insane. This is a crazy text box. Whenever I cast a removal spell against your guy, I get to reanimate a dude. Are you insane? Are you out of your mind? Magic designers? Are you crazy too? I want to believe, but 6 mana, yeah, same. Like I said, 6 mana is beyond the pale, for sure. But if you can, maybe you reanimate this guy. Okay, let's put it this way. Reanimate this guy, and then, are you ready for this? Reanimate a second copy of this guy with this guy's ability, okay? And then, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that removes a guy, you just go crazy. You reanimate all your dudes. I don't know. It's even got the ward on it, too. Like, they're kind of teasing you to play it. Hey, it's got ward, discard a card. That's pretty good, right? 5 power. Like, they're really pushing me towards it. But I think what this actually is just a finisher in Limited for the Silver Quill. Because it is. This, trust me. This is absolutely, like, all your little dinky dudes that just have, like, a spell on them that costs 1 mana, pump spell on one of your guys. Like, you cast one of those and suddenly it just reanimates a creature. It's ridiculous and limited. That's crazy. Play this at pre-release. Very good black uncommon at pre-release. But Trident Commander, I don't know, like that's a crazy text box. I'm gonna give this guy a 4. I'm serious. I don't see it. Sorry, dude. I'm telling you. Remove your guy and get a dude back. That's crazy. And if by the way, once this is out, they can remove it, sure, but if they want to, they still have to come down a card. I like it. Grave Researcher is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 3/3 Troll Warlock. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1. Then, if there are 3 or more creature cards in your yard, this creature becomes prepared to cast Reanimate. Just good old-fashioned Reanimate. A single black mana for a sorcery. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control and lose life equal to the card's mana value. I do think this is unplayable in Standard. I do. This isn't even one of the guys that you can play the spell the turn it comes into play. You have to wait until it triggers at the beginning of your upkeep. So unless you can find a way to flash it in, EOT or something, it's going to be tough. And it's honestly going to be kind of tough to have 3 creatures in your graveyard too. Like, it gives you a surveil, but maybe Overlord of the Balemerc on turn 2, this guy on turn 3, Reanimated guy on turn 4. But even then, I think that it's kind of, you're asking a lot. I think you kind of are, So yeah, it's in the name. They're trolling. Yeah, it's right there in the creature type. This could be cute. But again, I think it kind of stops at cute. I'm going to give this guy a 4.4, and that's only because he can cast Reanimate. You have to respect that some. Last Gasp is Last Gasp. It's existed a lot. 3.5 for Last Gasp. Lecturing Scorn Mage is a single black mana for a 1/1 human warlock with Repartee. Whenever you Repartee, this guy gets a +1/+1 counter. Pretty good. Cool looking lady too, for what it's worth. I like her hair. But yeah, I mean, in your basic Repartee deck, this is the one drop you'd be hoping existed, so they made it. I don't know how good it makes it in terms of score, but I do think it's pretty easy to cast spells that target stuff, so this could easily be like a 1 mana 4/4. You know what I mean? Like Gilft, a grandmod like on first turn. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. It really is. What dot life? You're on a roll tonight. But yeah, I'm gonna give this card like a 4.8. I'm serious. I think it's pretty good, dude. Yeah, new champion of the parish. Like, looked at through that lens, yeah, like a 5.4. She could get pretty big pretty quick, Especially if you're targeting her with stuff. Like, she gets big. Leech Collector is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 human warlock. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn, this creature becomes prepared to cast Bloodletting. Single black mana for a sorcery. Each opponent loses 2 life. That's really neat, actually. That's cute. Whenever you gain life for the first time each turn. So Bloodletting is sorcery speed. So that kind of sucks. But like in Commander, you could gain life, cast Bloodletting, and then on your opponent's turn, gain life again to load up Bloodletting, right? And then on your turn, cast Bloodletting, gain life, cast Bloodletting. Dude, I like this. I don't think it's good. I don't think this is standard playable, but like, as a life game payoff, this is like made for me. This is exactly what I like to do. Like, I gain life, you lose life. I gain life, you lose life. This is me. My personal score for this card, which I don't remember reading this afternoon, must have come out in the common and uncommon dump. My personal score for this is like an 8. I love this. But on first read, I freaking love this. I hate that it doesn't interplay prepared, but it's easy enough to gain life. Like, it enters play, you have a Hinterland Sanctifier, you gain life, it immediately does enter prepared in that case. So, whatever. I like this a lot, dude. Like, too much. I like this way too much. Just a 2 mana 2/2, right? But it costs, I love it though. I can't help but love this, but I'm just going to give it a 4.1. It's probably like pretty bad, but I like it. Just the right amount of annoyance. Yeah. My actual real life cousin, Jason. Thank you. I agree. Masterful Flourish is a single black mana for an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 against indestructible until end of turn. These cards are always good. Black gets a bunch of these and they're always decent. 4.4. They're just good. Playable cards. Melancholic Poet is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 elf bard with Repartee. Whenever you Repartee, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. These are the exact cards I like. This is never going to win the game by itself or anything, but boy, I love stuff like this way too much. And it's a common. You can play it in Pauper and Pauper EDH and stuff. That's cool. I love it. 3.9 though. I can't pretend this is a good card, but this is the kind of stuff I pop for like every time. This is my magic. Mozio Vane's New Dane here. So this is another, just like Valentine, you want to rhyme every word in here. They're doing this on purpose. You know that, right? They're doing this on purpose. Mozio Vane's New Dane. 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 2/1 legendary bird, skeleton warlock. Sick creature types. And he looks awesome too. For what it's worth, he's the coolest looking person in the set for sure. This is a 3 mana 2/1 flyer. When it enters, create a 1/1 pest creature token. Whenever that token attacks, you gain a life. Infusion. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, return up to 1 target creature card, mana value X or less, from your yard to the battlefield. X being the amount of life you gain this turn. This is kind of an evil version of the Selesnya Aerith from the Final Fantasy Commander product. That one wants you to gain life and then you reanimate creatures and stuff. But that one is like, if you gain some life, put a creature back into your hand. If you gain like 7 or more life, reanimate a creature. This lets you reanimate whatever you want, so long as you gain that much life. So this will let you reanimate like 2 drops if you gain 2 life, 3 drops if you gain 3 life. Fantastic. That's really, really good. Especially as a commander. I think in your command zone, this is probably pretty fun. And in the 99, this is crazy too, of like any, black, green, black, white life gain. I love it. Love it, love it. Don't know about standard playability. I really don't, but that infusion ability is pretty good. It's not bad, for sure. So I'm just going to give this a 5.85. It's kind of a personal favorite, and I do think it's kind of powerful, but I don't think it's overpowered by any stretch. But I do think it's powerful enough to want to do some stuff with. Poisoner's Apprentice. 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 2/2 Orc Warlock. Infusion. When this creature enters, if you gain life this turn, a creature an opponent controls gets Grasp of Darkness. -4/-4 till end of turn. Gaining life, you really need gaining life in your limited deck to be pretty reliable for this creature to be more than just Scathed Zombies. So I'm a little wary of it, but it's probably pretty good. It's probably dang all right. So I'm going to give it a 3. Postmortem Professor is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 Zombo Warlock that can't block bars. Whenever this creature attacks, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. Pay 1 and a black and exile an instant or sorcery from your yard to return this guy to the battlefield from your yard. So never-ending dude, so long as you have instants and sorceries to feed him. That should be easy enough with removal spells and stuff. I like him with stuff that gives your creatures haste, like an enchantment that gives all your dudes haste. So he immediately comes in for the 2 and a drain. Not bad, but I think this guy's just not bad. I don't think he's that impressive at the end of the day. So I'm just going to give Postmortem Professor like a 4.2, Pox Plague, I'm still not convinced by. This is 5 black mana for a sorcery. Each player loses half their life, discards half the cards in their hand, sacks half the permanents they control of their choice, round down each time. So, sack half the permanents they control. They'll probably have to come down on some lands. They probably will. There are going to be some of aggro opponents, though, that you say sack half your permanents and they just sack all their lands and keep like 4 creatures in play and run you over, They have the ability to do that. Some poxes for small pox that forces them to sack lands. This does not do that. So 5 mana is probably a bit too steep, to be honest. Can we rate Pox Plague? Sure. The most disappointing card in the set, says Lord Bios, but Passing Goodnight wants to rate it. Okay, rate away, chat. Rate Pox Plague. Tell me how you feel. And don't let my rating if you think this card's good, let me know. Because this is an interesting social experiment. I want to know how other people feel about it. We already know that Lord Bios doesn't like it. But I guess I'm with you on that. But maybe other people like the card more than I do. I don't know. I think there's something about it that could be a little dangerous. Again, like as potential land destruction, it's cute. People having to discard like 3 cards sounds pretty bad. But on turn 5, are they going to discard 3 or are they going to discard 1? And if they have 3 cards, they only discard 1 card. So -1. 1, fun to cascade into. 3.6. 1.5. I'm usually a total optimist for big dumb spells, but this looks unplayable. Yikes. Yeah, Pox feels against modern Magic design philosophy. Well, because it's not like crazy. 2.1. I think in Commander, right? You're casting this and everyone's losing 15 or something. You know what I mean? Like 10 or 15. That's fun. At least there's that, You're probably discarding 8 cards or in total from people's hands, Like, that's not bad, but Still, I don't love the card, and I wanted to, and I heard there's going to be a pox, so I'm a little disappointed. Everyone, I don't know if I'm going to be as harsh on it as some people in chat have been, but 6.2, I think you could build something fun. Yeah, pass and good night with the high score on this one. Yeah, I think you could probably build something fun too, but I'm still just going to give this card a 4.9, kind of an honorary 4.9. You know what I mean? Not quite a 5. I think the land destruction is the best part of it. I'll say that one more time. Pull from the Grave is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a sorcery. We've seen this card, I believe. I think. Maybe we haven't, actually. Have we? Pull from the Grave. Sounds very familiar. No, Secrets of Strixhaven. That's it. Huh. Well. All right. I have to F11 and then F11. All right. Pull from the Grave is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your yard to your hand. Gain 2 life. So draw 2 and gain 2 life. That's sorcery speed. It's not that simple, but these cards are okay and limited, especially considering this one can gain you life for the Witherbloom infusion stuff. And, importantly, Dina on the card. I always love to see Dina on any Magic card. I'm going to give this like a 3.4, you know. These effects are okay. Rabbit Attack. This is 2 mana, 1 and a black for an instant. Paul Oakenfold and Rabbit Attack. No one's going to get that joke. 1 and a black for an instant. Until end of turn, any number of target creatures you control each get +1/+0 and gain when this creature dies. Draw a card. Now that is an interesting card. I got it. I do. I get it. Well, more people got it than I thought. That's good. But in any case, this is cute. Mobilize. Yeah. Ren Matthew. Mobilize is a cute one. Very, actually. I like that a lot. The more I think about it, the more I like it. But just think, obviously in response to like Day of Judgment or some other sweeper, this is this is pretty good. Draw a card. Come on. And in like certain combat situations, it can be fantastic too. It's instant speed. Let's go. I think this card is pretty good. I really do. I'm going to give this, dude, I'm going to give this like a 4 point. No, not. I'm going to give this, This card's good. Very situational. Might rot in your hand. I'll say that. But I still like it. I'm going to give this a 4.6. Higher than some other cards tonight. Let me say that. Ral Zarek is currently the second most expensive card in the set, and I don't really think that it deserves that, to be honest. This is 3 mana, 1 and double black for a 3/3 legendary Ral, Planeswalker. +1, Surveil 2. -1, any number of target players each discards a card. -2, return target creature card mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. -7, flip 5 coins. Target opponent skips their next X turns, X being the number of coins that came up heads. So it takes 5 turns from playing this theoretically to get to the ultimate. So the ultimate's right out. Let's not even look at the ultimate when evaluating the card. It does have 4 abilities, but it has 3 abilities that you will reliably actually use. The -2 is pretty good. It leaves it on 1 when it comes into play, but it does protect it better than any other mode. And so if you want a creature to block for it on an empty board, that's your best bet right there. Can also get like Oculus back, right? So that's pretty cute for like Oculus decks and stuff. There are certain things this can reanimate that are really nice to reanimate. The -1 probably just says target opponent discards a card. Neat that in Commander, you can make everyone discard a card, but that's not that much better than like Davriel, the 3 mana Planeswalker. And you can, of course, discard a card if you want a Madness or Mayhem or Flashback or whatever you're doing, you know, Reanimation, I guess. In a Reanimator deck, you can play this on 3, -1 it, and then reanimate something on the next turn, which is not too bad. And then +1 Surveil 2 is sure. It's not draw a card, but it's not great. Let me just throw that. It's not great, but it's not bad. This is worse than Liliana of the Veil. Is that controversial? This is worse than Lily because it doesn't remove a creature. It gets back a creature, as somebody in chat just said, kind of the anti-Lily. I think this is worse than Lily. And Lily was somewhat standard playable, you know, especially in the arena. You see her all the time. So I think that in the game state that you usually find yourself in on turn 3, Lily is the better card, right? Like being able to wipe a creature on turn 3 and them not have any creatures left is crazy. It's just, that's the best way to protect Lily. I think it's better protection than just like get a random guy back from your yard. If you even have a guy in your yard, you know? So I don't love this Planeswalker. I really don't. So yeah, Lily's borderline playable. And yes, worse than Lily. Agreed. So I'm going to give this like a 5.6, which is still like a good score. I don't think it's like a bad Planeswalker, but I don't think it's like amazing either. Like Lily, I'd give like a 6.5. Like Lily's fantastic. This I think is not significantly worse, but worse enough that it's like down a whole letter grade. You know what I mean? So I think it's good. But I think it's just good and not like amazing or anything. Certainly not like, rule modern for 3 years, like Liliana of the Veil, A Scathing Shadelock is up next. This is a 5 mana, 4 and a black for a 4/6 Snake Warlock. At the beginning of your first main phase, this creature becomes prepared to cast Venomous Words, a single black mana for a sorcery. A creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains Death Touch till EOT. So no standard play, obviously, but in limited, this is pretty decent, man. Like you get a spell every single turn. I don't think there's anything else in this set that says just every turn prepare this guy. And not only does it prepare every turn, but the thing it casts is a single mana. Really doesn't get in your way. You know what I mean? Like you can probably still cast the thing you drew that turn and still cast Venomous Words. And now it's just like +2/+0 and Death Touch every turn reliably. Not bad. Really not bad. And you get to target something every turn for your Silver Quill decks. You get to cast a spell every turn for the Prismari decks. Like it's better in limited than it looks, but still 2.8. That's all I can really give to it. Scheming Silvertongue, among my favorite cards in the set. Personally, kind of like it. This is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 1/3 Vampire Warlock with flying and lifelink. At the beginning of your second main phase, if you gain 2 or more life this turn, this creature becomes prepared to cast Sign in Blood, 2 black mana for a sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards, loses 2 life. So I'm going to say that I like this a lot more than the Black Paradigm card, because that card costs 5 mana, whereas this card costs just 1. And I think it's pretty good. I think it's easy enough to gain 2 life. I like that it enters. It doesn't enter prepared, but I like that it's easy enough to prepare. A Hinterland Sanctifier or some other effect like that, plus it getting through for lifelink. It's good that it has lifelink. And you can effectively Sign in Blood like every turn, and that's busted. I think that this could be standard playable. And as good as I think the set is, especially for limited, I haven't said a lot about standard playability just yet. But I think that this is on a short list of cards that could be. Not a whole lot of incredible black 2-drops. I think Bob is probably better, Dark Confidant, among a couple of other things, but this is close. I think that turn over turn value, this probably is really, really good. In the right deck, obviously. So I'm going to give Silvertongue a 6.1. I think that it's really good. It's really, really good. Send in the Pest is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a sorcery. Each opponent discards a card. You create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, whenever this token attacks, you gain 1 life. Normal card. They get to pick the card they discard, and you get a body, so I guess there's that, but nothing special on this. 2.5. Sneering Shade Rider is 5 mana for a 3/3 Vampire Warlock with flying. When it enters, drain 2 from each opponent. Each opponent loses 2, you gain 2. Cute, but that's all it is. I like how much black burn we're getting in the set, but this is a very normal Magic card. 2.4. Tragedy Feaster, 4 mana, 2 and double black for a 7/6 Demon with trample, ward, discard card. Infusion. At the beginning of your end step, sack a permanent unless you gained life this turn, which should be easy enough, but notice that this doesn't gain life in any way. It just assumes you gain life, Probably okay in the Unholy Annex deck. If it has a home, it's in that deck. Otherwise, I just don't love these like huge dudes that don't cost that much. I'm not a big fan anymore, so I'm going to give this a 4.85. I think it's pretty solid, but we'll see if it gets there. Olna Alley Shopkeep is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 2/3 Goblin Warlock with Menace and Infusion. It gets +2/+0 as long as you've gained life this turn. Again, super normal, 2.1. Wander Off, 4 mana, 3 and a black for an instant. Exile target creature. Incredible Elliot Lang art. Just really pause for a moment to take in how good. My head is always covering art that's amazing. So we're obviously in the belly of some sort of whale, and there's like fungus growing in here, but there's also plants and like little pops of red and blue color. Just gorgeous. There's purple and orange used in some of the coloration on the right side of the card. That's beautiful too. Just a really pretty Magic card, but overall, again, very normal looking removal spell here that I'm going to give a 3.6 to. Withering Curse is maybe the best black card in the set. Very likely. Withering Curse is 3 mana, 1 double black for a sorcery. All creatures get -2/-2 till end of turn. But if you gain life this turn, destroy all creatures instead. So a Damnation that just costs 3. A Wrath that costs 3 as long as you're able to gain life. I think it's fairly easy to gain life. So I don't think this card should have been mythic. I think this card should be rare. I think that this card being mythic is an abuse of the mythic system. There's zero reason for it in my mind. It doesn't feel mythic or anything, but in any case, I still think this is one of the better black cards in the set. I'm going to give this a 7. Right at a 7. We're going to Ancestral Anger in red. We're in red now, everybody. This is a reprint. A single red mana for a sorcery. Target creature gains trample. Gets +X/+0 till end of turn. X being 1 plus the number of cards named Ancestral Anger in your graveyard. And you get to draw a card. So there's a chance that in draft, you can draft 5 of these. I feel like I say this at least once per speed run, but do remember at your pre-release that if 5 of a common happen to be in your sealed pool, you can play all 5. There is no 4 of limit in sealed or in draft. If you draft 6 of Ancestral Anger, you can play all 6 in your deck. So keep that in mind. It's a cute card. Always has been. I like that it draws a card for 1 mana. That's cute. I'm going to give this a 3.9. Always been a fan. Archaic's Agony is 5 mana, 4 and a red for a sorcery with converts. It deals X damage to a creature where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. Exile cards from the top of your library equal to the excess damage dealt to the creature. This way, you can play those cards till the end of your next turn. This card's 5 mana. It's terrible. Potential, couple of cards worth of value or whatever, but 5 mana is too much. It just is. I'm going to give this a 3.1. Artistic Process costs 5 mana as well. Sorcery speed, choose 1, deals 6 to a creature, or it deals 2 to each creature you don't control. Or you get a 3/3 flyer that gains haste till end of turn. So a lot of cool modes on this, but again, it costs 5. These couple of cards we're looking at, last couple of cards especially, they cost too much on purpose so that they can trigger the opus stuff that wants you to play like huge spells. That's cool and limited, but it translates to a bunch of cards in red and blue that aren't super playable in standard, and I think that's what we have here. Although the one-sided Pyroclasm's neat. Blazing Firesinger, you guys seen this one yet? Whew. Hold on, let me take a sip of the potion. Okay, Blazing Firesinger. 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 2/3 dwarf bard that enters prepared to cast Seething Song. 3 mana, 2 red instant, add 5 red mana. 5. This is an uncommon. This is an uncommon card. Rate this card, chat. Rate it. Rate. Blazing Firesinger. Is it good? Is this good? We're talking about standard and commander and whatever. But is this card playable? Is this card playable? Rate this card for me. I want to see it. I want to see it all. I want to see it in front of my face right now. I want to know. Rate the card. Rate this card. Oh, rate this card. Oh, wait. That's a lot of ratings. All right. So we got a 1.5. All right. A 5. A 5.8. Great and limited bad elsewhere. 4.5. 4.5. A 5. Okay. Turn 4 Seething Song. Okay. But then what? Something cool. Distinct. You gave it a 5.5. Riff Raff 3.4. We got a 3.25, a 4.5, a 4.75, a 5. For the mana it gives you, it does give you 5. Ratings out of how many? 10. That's all. You're what's odd life with the ultimate troll. Thank you. A 5.9 from I'm the Deuced. Yeah, I think the card's good. I think the card's good. I'm going to give this a 5.7. I don't think, good with Displacer Kitten. I mean, combos with a ham sandwich, but yeah, good with Displacer Kitten. This is good. I think it's pretty good, dude. It's a good card. It's kind of just the 2 mana 2/3, so be wary of that. It's just a 2 mana 2/3. If you cast it on 6 mana, it pays you back not even all the mana you cast. So keep these things in mind. But it's Seething Song, dude. It's Seething Song. I mean, you guys know how good Seething Song is, dude. And yeah, for Commander, you play it too. So I'm going to say at least 5.6. I mean, at least 5.6. I don't know how standard playable it is, but dang, dude. Seething Song. Seething Song makes me pop, like hard. Sorry. Charging Strife Knight is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 3/3 Spirit Knight. With haste, tap it to discard a card and draw a card. What a serviceable magic card. It's a spirit for all the things that care about that. It's a knight. I like a red knight. That's cool. But I'm just going to give it a 3.4. Just right at. Choreographed Sparks are rare from the common dump today. You don't see those every day. 2 red mana for an instant that cannot be copied. Choose one or both. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. Choose new targets for the copy. That's why it can't be copied, because you just copy. Copy target creature spell you control. The copy gains haste, and at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice this token. So you do get the sacrifice this token mode that everyone hates, but being able to copy either a creature or an instant or sorcery is really good, man. Commander players love cards like this for good reason. And the Paolo Parente art is always welcome. I like Paolo. But yeah, I mean, these spells are popular for a reason. They're fantastic in Commander. And I think if we gave them a chance in Standard, they'd be all right too, especially at instant speed. That'd be fun. But and they have to be instant speed. But like instant speed copy a creature is fun. But yeah, I think it's actually pretty cool, dude. I think copy a creature spell. You have to copy a creature spell. But yeah, I'm still going to give this like a 5. I think that these are good. Oh, look, it's Fork again. Yeah, at this point, Fork is, ain't nothing but Fork at this point, I'm still going to give it a solid 5. Dual Tactics is a single red mana for a sorcery that deals a damage to a creature. That creature can't block this turn. You can flash back this for 2 mana. That's it. That's the whole card. Just, a little limited piece for flashing stuff back, taking cards out of your yard with Lore Hold and blah, blah, and whatever. So I'm going to give this a 2.4. Emeritus of Conflict. Some might say the best Emeritus. 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/2 human wizard with first strike. Whenever you cast your 3rd spell each turn, this creature becomes prepared to cast Lightning Bolt. You know what Lightning Bolt does. As a lot of people pointed out, probably because I didn't. And as I've said before, every little thing that's very obvious that I don't point out, the whole comment section will light up. When you do cast a Lightning Bolt with this, it helps you begin preparing it to cast Lightning Bolt again, right? Lightning Bolt counts as a spell. So, you cast Lightning Bolt off of this. That's a spell for the turn. You cast 2 more, you load it up and cast Lightning Bolt again. That's cute. I don't know if this is better than, say, Emberheart Challenger as a 2-drop in Standard. I don't know if this is better than, say, why can't I remember your stinking name right now? The 1/2 flying haste gets +2/+0 for each instant and sorcery spell you cast. That thing. Slick Shot Show Off. That's the name of the card. I think we might have better red 2-drops. I really do. But, however, this is one of those where even though it doesn't enter prepared or anything, I think it's actually fairly easy to prepare it. And it's very cheap to cast the spell once it is prepared. The creature itself is very cheap, which I think really helps a lot in terms of the power level. This is the cheapest Emeritus. That's a big deal. It's also a big magnet for removal. So, if your opponent removes it, that kind of sucks. But also, like, they spent a removal spell on a 2-mana 2/2. That doesn't do much else. First strike, I guess. Just out of the threat that you might cast 3 spells, So, I don't know. There's things I really like about this. I think it's kind of fine. Dies to shock. Well, yeah, but a lot of 2-drops do, and they're still really playable. That's, but it does die to shock. That's true, but a lot of playable 2-drops in Standard do. I'm still going to give this like a 6.5. Okay. And that's probably too much. Honestly, that's probably too much. 6.3. I'll go 6.3 on Emeritus. I think that it's harder to load up than it looks like, but in like Mono Red Burn, it's like Bolt Wave, Shock, load it, Lightning Bolt. That's not hard, but I'd be really surprised if you cast Lightning Bolt more than once in a game. Even though it does help you load up a second one, I'd be surprised. Let me just put it that way. But next is Expressive Fire Dancer, 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/2 human sorcerer with Opus. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. If 5 mana was spent to cast it or more, this creature also gains double strike till end of turn. So 2 mana little prowess guy that can get double strike. That's fine. In limited, it's a 2 mana 2/2 prowess. You just take those. You just take those. So I'm going to give it a 2.9. I saw somebody up here say Magical Christmas Land for Emeritus of Conflict. I don't think it's Christmas Land to be asked to like cast spells in a red burn deck. I don't. I think, again, I'll say this, casting it twice in a game is a little tough. A little bit tough. But I don't think it's straight up Christmas Land to be like, I cast spells in my red deck. That happens. Flashback is a single red mana for an instant. Target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback till end of turn. Flashback cost equal to its mana cost. Boffo. Wild card. Wild card, dude. So good. I think this is probably like a vintage playable card. I really do, man. Commander playable, almost for sure. Do you have a good spell in your deck? Do you want to play 2 copies of it? Just flash it back. I do have some issues with the card. I think there's times where it might rot in your hand. I really do. But even if you just have like a serviceable removal spell in your hand, Flashback's just another copy of it. That's good, dude. Snapcaster, probably the best card out of the set. Whew, that's close. Snapcaster at home, yeah. Man, we're on 115 of 217 at the 2 hour mark. I thought we were 275 in the set. We'll see, man. But yeah, I think that this card's very good. Let me put it that way. And it probably gets the highest score I've given a card so far. Are you right? Is Flashback the best card in the set? I'm going to give Flashback an 8. I think this card is very good. And honestly, it might get more than an 8. This card might be more than an 8. But I don't want to go too crazy here. Seriously, but 8. And why doesn't this card have Flashback? That'd be... You want the card to be that insane? You know what I mean? 271 mistyped. Okay, yeah, that's closer. It's still not bad time, you're right. Garrison Excavator is 4 mana, 3 and a red for a 3/4 Orc Sorcerer with Menace. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, you get a 2/2 guy. I'm going to order this dude. Tell you right now, for Commander, I'm ordering this guy. How is he not in the Commander product, right? Like, he should be in the Lorehold deck in Commander. He's just not. But he really should be, you know. But, yeah, I'm ordering this dude for the 25 cents it'll probably cost, like, day one. She seems awesome, dude. Personal score on this, 7.5. Actual score, like a 4.1. It's fine. I think this card is pretty Commander playable, though. I really do. Goblin Glassride is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Sorcerer that enters prepared to craft with pride. A single red mana for a sorcery. Create a treasure token. This is all right. I don't really remember reading this little lady either earlier when I read through the common dump. 1 red mana to make a treasure? Like, sure. I don't know if it's worth playing in your deck, though. I really don't. Nah. Like, do I want this to be my 2-drop? Even in Goblins? You know, like, even in a deck where the creature type matters. Is this my 2-drop? Nah, probably not. Probably not. In limited, though, I'll take making a treasure token for a mana. You know, it's not bad. Sure. 3.8? Sure. 5 out of 5 art. Yeah, she looks great. The Heated Argument is 5 mana, 4 and a red for an instant. Heated Argument deals 6 damage to target creature. You may exile a card from your graveyard. If you do, Heated Argument also deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. Not Heated Rivalry. That's a very different thing. This is 5 mana for a removal spell. Not good. 3. Because, 2.8. Still a removal spell, though. Impractical Joke, a single red mana for a sorcery. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Impractical Joke deals 3 damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Did anybody get the Heated Rivalry joke? It's a show. Anyway. This is probably a better Strangle, and that's really good. Like, Strangle's fantastic already, and this is better than that card. So 4, you know what I mean? It's really not bad. But next is Improvisation Capstone. This is the most expensive of the Paradigm cards in the set. I believe both it's tied for most expensive mana-wise, but I mean money-wise in pre-order right now. Capstone is 7 mana, 5 and double red for a lesson. That's a sorcery. Exile cards from the top of your library until you exile cards total mana value 4 or greater. You may cast any number of spells from among them without paying their mana cost. This has Paradigm. So this is the strongest looking out of all of them. Like, not even close, dude. Like, not even close. I believe that this is probably the one if you're looking for the best of the Capstones or the Paradigm cards. But how good does that make it really? In Commander, I think it's broken. You might not get a million turns after you cast this card. You might not, but you'll get a couple, right? In Standard, in like a control deck, I think it's a neat little win condition, but how often is it actually going to hit? You know, I hit a counter spell during my upkeep. I can't really play that. You know what I mean? So I don't know how good it actually is in Standard. 7 mana is an awful lot, but I do think it's a really strong card. I'm going to give it a 6. I think it's pretty strong. Living History, 2 mana, 1 and a red for an enchantment. When it enters, you get a 2/2 spirit guy. Whenever you attack, if a card left your graveyard this turn, target attacking creature gets +2/+0 till end of turn. It's not that great. Like, even in like Lorehold Commander decks where a card's going to leave your yard every turn, I don't think it's amazing. But at least it gives you a creature when it comes in. At least it does that. All things considered, though, I really can't give this more than like a 2.8. I really, there's something about this that makes me feel like it's a waste of time, honestly. Maelstrom Artisan is 3 mana, 1 and double red for a 3/2 Minotaur Sorcerer with haste that enters prepared to cast Rocket Volley. 1 and a red for a sorcery, destroy target a basic land. Pretty good dude, man. Pretty good dude. 3 power attacking haster for 3 mana. That unloads the next turn. Like, if they can't kill this by your next turn, you probably rocket volley something, and you'll probably still have 2 mana left to cast other stuff after that. Removal spell, creature, whatever. I just think this is quite good. I'm going to give it a 5.7. 5.75. Yeah. Some people are saying higher than that in chat. Some people are saying very high in chat. I'm playing this in modern, and let me know how that works, because it could work. It could. It really could. I'm giving it a tentative 5.7 right now, but my body is ready, and it wants to give it a 7, but I don't think the card is quite there. I really don't. I think it's just a fine playable Magic card, and that makes it a 5.7 in my mind. Magma Blood Archaic, though, is wild. This is so this is 3 red mana, or you can pay 2 aura red, 2 aura red, 2 aura red, so it can cost you all kinds of different manas. For a 2/2 avatar with trample and reach and converge, enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, creatures you control get +1/+0 till end of turn for each color of mana spent to cast the spell. So even if you just cast a 1 color of mana spell, just a 1 mana spell, let's just say that you cast an opt, all your guys get +1/+0 till end of turn. What if I cast another opt effect? Another +1/+0. That's crazy, right? That's pretty good. Or if I cast a lightning helix, all my guys get +2/+0. That's also very good. I like all the different casting costs this thing could potentially have. That's fun. But just in blue-red Spellslinger or something, right? In Commander, this seems bananas, right? Am I just crazy? Maybe you cast this for 4 mana, okay? But in that case, you get a 4/4. Right? Because you've cast it for blue and red. You get a 4/4 trample reach that still has this Last Son of Tex. And this Last Son of Tex is crazy. It's so good. I think this is maybe, in the main set, one of the top 3 commander cards. And that includes all the different legendary dragons and stuff. I really think this is in the top 3 commander cards in the set. Don't worry, I'll do that video. But this is crazy looking to me. It really is. And I'm going to give this card a 7.6. Not the highest score of the video, but definitely going to be one of the highest scores of the set. I think that this card is very, very good. And honestly, there could be some standard playability on this. There really could. But mostly for Commander and Spellslinger pals, I'm in love with this card. I'm in love with this card. Micah, Reader of Ruins. This was on the professor's list of best commanders in the set. It's really neat. 4 mana, 3 and a red for a 4/4 legendary human artificer with ward, pay 3 life. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may sack an artifact. If you do, copy the spell you cast. Choose new targets for the copy. Really cool. That's actually pretty cool, man. Ooh, yeah, Superior Spider-Man. That's cute. The red archaic. I like that. That's very clever, actually. Huh. Yeah, so if I pay all 4 different colors of mana for a Superior Spider-Man or something, it'll enter as an 8/8. You guys are smart. But Micah Reader of Ruins is neat because it cares about artifacts and instants and sorceries. And sometimes I don't like that, right? Sometimes I don't now my deck has to have all kinds of instants and sorceries, all kinds of artifacts, right? And how do you do that as a deck building challenge? But in this case, I think it's cool because you don't see these 2 things come together very often. So I like it as a commander, but almost nowhere else. I'm just going to give this a 4, right? That's the cool commander tags. Molten Core Maestro is wild. This is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/2 Goblin Bard with Menace and Opus. Whenever you cast an instant spell, put a plus or sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. If 5 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, add an amount of red equal to this creature's power. Wow. Wow. Yeah, it's got Mopus. Menace and Opus. Okay, so I've talked a couple times already tonight about cards that compete with Emberheart Challenger, Slickshot Show Off. I think this does so more than any other red creature in the set. Really, really, especially once we rotate Emberheart Challenger out. That'll happen beginning of next year. But even with that card in Standard, dude, this gets a +1/+1 counter and it has built-in Menace. Wild. You could also make the case that it's kind of better than Emberheart. Emberheart has Valiant, right? And it has Prowess too, but it also has Valiant ability. But it doesn't get counters. It doesn't get counters. And if you do cast something big, being able to add, 4 red mana or whatever its power is by then, insane, dude. This is a 2-drop Menace that probably ends up being a 5/5, pretty easily. So I think this is, again, among some of the, this is among the better cards in the set for Standard play, I think. And I'm going to give this a straight up 7. Straight up and down 7. I think this is a very good mono red creature. Maybe better than a 7. Let's be honest. All right, 121 of 180 of 271. We got to pick up the pace, I think. Pigment Wrangler is 5 mana, 4 and a red for a 4/4 Orc Sorcerer with flying. Enters prepared to cast Striking Palette, a single red mana for a sorcery. When you next cast an instant or sorcery this turn, copy it, choose new targets for the copy. Wow. That only costs 1 red mana, huh? But the creature itself costs 5. So that kind of sucks. Not bad, though. I gotta say, I like the art, too. I'll give this a 2.9. Rearing Embermane is 5 mana, 4 and a red for a 4/5 Horse Beast with reach and haste. And he looks cool, too. Pauline Voss, always turning in good work. I like this. It's cute. But it's nothing more than cute. Really. 2.9. Rubble Rouser is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 1/4 Dwarf Sorcerer. When it enters, you can discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Tap it, exile a card from your yard to add red. When you do, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. So, I'd really like for this to cost 2 mana. At 3 mana, the fact that it taps for red is not as impressive, right? But decent ETB trigger. It taps for mana at least once no matter what because you discarded a card, right, when it came into play. So that's something. And a damage to each opponent whenever you tap it for mana. I mean, sure, I guess. Especially on a common. Yeah. Yeah, man. For Pauper playability, mostly for Pauper EDH playability, I like this. But, I don't know. It does a lot for 3 mana when you think about it. I'm going to give this a 3.9. I don't hate it. Next is Seize the Spoils. What do you give Seize the Spoils? A 3.9. I really think that's about right. 3.9 for Seize the Spoils. Steal the Show is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a sorcery. Choose one or both. Target player discards any number of cards, draws that many cards. Or Steal the Show or Steal the Show deals damage equal to the number of instants and sorceries in your yard to a creature or a planeswalker. I don't love it at sorcery speed, but you can choose both. So you can fuel the second mode with the first mode. And that's pretty neat. Pretty good in like Monument, Cool But Rude, Shark decks. You know what I mean? Like if you're discarding like 6 cards, all of those proc pretty nicely. You know what I mean? So Steal the Show could be almost a finisher in those decks. Not too bad. And if it doesn't finish the game right then and there, it probably hits the opponent for a lot. Not the opponent, but a creature for a lot. So I think this might be better than I think it is. Currently, this is one of the top 5 or so most expensive cards in the set. 5 or 10 most expensive cards in the set. So people see something with this, you know, that I might not see necessarily. But there aren't a ton of cards that have a home day one, and this one does in standard. So maybe that's it. I'm going to give this a 5.5. I think it's okay. I do. Strife Scholar is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 3/2 Orc Sorcerer. Ward, pay 2 life. Creature enters prepared. Awaken the Ages. This is 6 mana, 5 and a red for a sorcery. Create 2/2 Spirit Guys. Way too much. 6 mana is a lot. But 3 mana, 3/2 Ward, pay 2 life. Yeah, just strictly limited. Not even great there. I'm going to give it a 2.5. Tablet of Discovery. This card looks all right, man. 3 mana, 2 and a red for an artifact. When it enters, mill a card. You may play that card this turn. Tap for a red, or tap to add 2 red to cast instants and sorceries. So, man, this kind of draws a card when it comes into play. And if it mills a 1 or 2 mana, instant or sorcery, you just immediately can play it. That's awesome. This is, as someone on Blue Sky put it when I posted about this card, someone said it was eminently commander playable. And I agree. I think this is a commander bomb, dude. I think this is really good. And there were other people who posited that it could see play in standard. I don't know, but 3 mana for 2 mana, usually a pretty good deal. 3 mana for 2 mana every turn. And maybe even mill a card is good. I like that. We'll see this on 2 or 3 of these Lorehold cards. Rather than impulse drawing where you exile a card, you can play it till the end of the turn, whatever. A lot of these Lorehold cards mill a card so that you can get it out of your graveyard later for whatever reason. I think that's a massive upgrade. So, yeah, I actually really like Tablet. I'm going to give this... You know what? I'm going to give this a 5.6. Mostly for commander playability, but I also agree this could sneak into standard depending on what you're doing. Tackle Artist is 4 mana, 3 and a red for a 4/3 Orc Sorcerer with Trample and Opus. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, +1/+1 counter on this guy. If you spend 5 mana on the spell or more, put 2 +1/+1 counters on him instead. Hold on, that's getting crazy. I do think this could get pretty big relatively quick and limited. And it already starts off at a decent body, and Trample is probably key to the limited playability on this. If you make it a 7 or 8 power body, which is easy, just cast instants and sorceries. Suddenly a 7-power trample guy is, you got to respect that. So common too. Bread and butter common, I think, for Prismari decks in limited. Keep an eye out. But all that said, 3. It's not that good. Thunderdrum Soloist is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 1/3 dwarf barb with reach and opus. Cast an instant or sorcery, deal the damage to every opponent. But if you spend 5 or more mana on the spell you cast, instead you bolt everybody instead. Instant commander lover. Instant commander banger. And mash all day, dude. I have to give this a 5.3. Like I have to give this an over 5 score. They just slapped reach on it. People already love like Coruscation Mage and stuff like that in Commander. Those cards are really fun. This is just that, but like potentially better. Just cast a big spell. It's crazy. Yes, 6 in chat. Love it. New Gutter Snipe. Exactly. It's one of these. Everyone loves these in Commander. 5.3 is a conservative score. It really is. But I don't think Gutter Snipe is any better than like a 5.6. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'll give this a 5.3. Tome Blast. This is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a sorcery that deals 2 damage to any target. You could flash it back for 4 into red. Not too impressive, but you'll play it in limited. 2.5. Unsubtle Mockery is 3 mana, rather. 2 and a red for an instant that deals 4 damage to a creature. Surveil 1. All right, again, removal spell you'll play in limited. 2.5. Zealous Lorecaster. They should probably get slightly higher scores, but I said what I said. Zealous Lorecaster is 6 mana, 5 and a red for a 4/4 giant sorcerer. When she enters, return an instant or sorcery from your yard to your hand. I'd play 1 copy of this at pre-release, at sealed events. Those are slower than draft. Sealed are the slowest events in Magic. You can make it to 6 mana. You get a stout body and you get one of these instants or sorceries back. Maybe it procs your opus for like a big opus spell, I'd try it. It's not bad. Give it a 2.6. 2.5. The same thing I gave the last 2 cards. We're in green. Let me take a sip of something. My goodness, dude. Hold on. Aberrant Mana Worm is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 2/5 worm with trample. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this guy gets +X/+0 till end of turn, X being the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. Teamer Prismari, right? In limited, you're doing opus stuff, and you cast like 5 mana spells, and it gets huge. It's very cute. Interesting card, kind of, and it's very frightening. I gotta say, if I met this guy on the road, I would run, but probably not fast enough. I'm fat, but this is like a 2.9. I think it's just cute and not much more. Additive Evolution. It's cool that it has trample though. Additive Evolution is 5 mana, 3 and 2 green for an enchantment. When it enters, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on it. That's not enough value for 5 mana. So luckily, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. It gains vigilance until EOT. Pretty good, I think, for breaking stalemates in limited. I'd keep an eye out for that, but ultimately not a great card, right? So I'll just give this a 3. Ambitious Augmenter, good green card here. A single green mana for a 1/1 turtle wizard. Turtle creature type is almost important. And we know the wizard creature type is, right? Blue-green with the new mana drain. Turn 1 wizard right here. But anyway, 1 green for a 1/1 turtle wizard with increment. When it dies, if it had 1 or more counters on it, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal and put this creature's counters on that token. So just a really strictly better, I think. I think it qualifies. Strictly better Evolution 1. Experiment 1. I always get it wrong. Strictly better Experiment 1. Because 1 doesn't put its counters on stuff. Well, no, 1 has another ability that can regenerate if you remove counters from it. This doesn't, so it's not strictly. I shouldn't use that. But still, I think most cases this is going to feel like a better Experiment 1. Seriously. Even if it has like 2 tokens or 2 counters on it and it dies, something gets reasonably larger, So I think it's pretty good for 1 mana. I really do. I think it's very easy to grow this, maybe some sort of mono green stompy deck can get it to 4 power reasonably easy. So kind of a fan. I think it's one of my favorite green cards in the set. I'm going to give this a 6.2, which is more than it probably deserves, but I really, really like it. That's my counter argument. Barrage Barrage is 2 mana, 1 and a green for an instant. Target creature you control gets +1/+0 till end of turn if you've cast another instant or sorcery spell this turn. Then it deals damage equal to its power to up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. So this is actually pretty good because you get a bite effect, add instant speed, plus gravy, right? Like at the very basement of the card, it's just rabid bite, stuff like ram through, right? It's one of those. At instant speed. But if you have cast something else, your creature gets a little larger, more capable of taking something out. And by the way, look at the art. Really look at the art. Look at what he's shooting out of his this capsule on his back, this bottle, he's shooting like spirit frogs out of it. Sick. So awesome. Anyway, I can't give this card more than like a, 2.6 or something. Again, it's just a bite effect. Colonian Tackle is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a sorcery. Target creature you control gets +0/+10 until end of turn. Then it fights up to one target creature an opponent controls. I guess this is a way to get the lady that draws 2 cards when she comes into play for much cheaper. Just play this into her. Let's go. Pretty fun though in decks that care about toughness specifically, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, it's not too bad whatsoever. And there's a lot of commander decks that care about toughness, and I think this probably just goes in as for fun, if nothing else. I mean, this basically says +10/+10 in those decks, so you take that. But outside of that, it's pretty narrow. I'll give this a 4, just because it does have a commander deck to go in. Comforting Counsel is 2 mana, 1 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever you gain life, put a growth counter on this. As long as there are 5 or more growth counters on it, creatures you control get +3/+3. Not competitive playable at all. You skip a turn and you have to probably wait multiple turns to get any value out of that investment you made. That is not what you want to be doing at all. But in Commander and green decks like Trelasara, Dina, other things that care about life gain and stuff, I think this is kind of a fine Commander card if you have enough creatures, tokens, whatever, So, yeah, bulk rare. Yeah, probably 50 cents are here, but still playable in the odd Commander deck, but very narrow. I'll still give this a 4, though. I'll still give it a 4. Efflorescence is 3 mana, 2 and a green for an instant. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a guy. Infusion. If you gain life this turn, that creature also gains trample and indestructible till end of turn. That's where it comes in that this is an instant speed card. It can protect a creature. It won't too often. It's mostly a combat trick. Trample is fantastic if you do use it as a combat trick, but mostly just a limited playable card. If that even. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm going to give this a 2.4. Emeritus, 2.2. 2.2. Emeritus of Abundance, the final Emeritus here. 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 3/4 elf druid with vigilance. It enters prepared to cast Regrowth, of all things. Whenever this creature attacks, if you control 8 or more lands, prepare this creature. I think this is the best Emeritus. I really do. I think that it comes down earlier than the vast majority of the other ones. I think it has a very good power toughness for its mana cost and a keyword ability for that matter. Entering prepared is very, very good. Not all of the Emerituses enter prepared. Not at all. And then Regrowth is only a couple of mana for a very, very powerful effect. Very powerful card. You can reload this one as well, and not all of them can you reload, and not all of them reload easily, the ones that do. So I would say that the blue Emeritus is probably the highest impact Emeritus. Maybe the one that can go in control decks day one, all that. This requires some sort of green mid-range deck, I think, and I don't know that we really have one that wants it. So hard to say that this sees as much play day one, but just like in a vacuum, I actually think that this has all the signifiers of a good Magic card to me, right? Cheap enough, stats are good for the mana cost, enters prepared in this case to cast a really good card. You can cast it on 3 mana, cast it on 5 mana, right? Just a wonderful looking Magic card to me. I'm going to give this basically the same score, though, that I gave the Blue Emeritus, a 6.8. But I think it deserves that score. I think this is good in Commander, and I do think this has a chance in Standard. I really do. But ML Vastlands Roamer is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 3/3 Legendary Elf Druid. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have trample. That's a fine line of text. But it's nothing we haven't seen before. Pay 4 and a green, tap it to create a 0/0 green and blue fractal. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, X being the number of differently named lands that you control. So cute, but again, just cute. Really. A nice like Pauper Commander maybe to build around. But do remember, in Pauper EDH, your commanders don't have to be legendary. They can just be an uncommon creature, right? And sometimes that's fun, but I feel like some of these are tuned specifically for Pauper Commander, where this might be a cool dude. But outside of that, just not a huge fan. First line of text is my favorite thing about the card, but you can accomplish that same feat with 2 mana cards, several 2 mana cards. So, altogether, I'll give it a 3.1. Environmental Scientist is Sylvan Ranger, but it's a 2/2. 1 and a green for a 2/2 human druid. When it enters, search your library for a basic, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle up. Solid card, 3.9. Follow the Lumerets is 2 mana, 1 and a green for a sorcery with Infusion. Look at the top 4 of your library. You may reveal a creature or land from among them, put it into your hand. If you gain life this turn, and you may instead reveal 2 creature and or land cards from among them. Put them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. So 2 mana for 2 cards if you've gained life this turn. If not, it's just worse than Impulse, sorcery speed that only grabs creatures and lands, but still an Impulse effect. But yeah, gain life and the card kind of goes crazy. Get you 2 creatures or a creature and a land or whatever. That's not bad. The problem is, I think in green-based life gain decks, if we're trying to build those in standard, you probably don't have enough slots for this. Likely. I don't think so. You're focusing on being aggressive, right? And I don't think this really works. In Commander, however, again, in decks like Trelasara, Dina, any sort of Savra, green-based life gain decks, I might try and give this a shot, but I'm still not super amazed by it. But in Limited, I think that's probably where this shines the most, where it's going to get you 2 cards a lot. And if it gets you 2 creatures for 2 mana, it's really good. That's really good. So, I don't know. I want to give this like a 3.7 because I think it's very close, but just not close enough. Germination Practicum is 5 mana, 3 and double green for a sorcery speed lesson that puts 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, and then it paradigms. So, obviously, in +1/+1 counter decks, this is really good, but outside of that, I don't love it. And like after a sweeper, you got nothing to put the counters on, and you got to recover. I just don't think it's that great for 5 mana. I really don't. But I'm still going to give this right out of 5. Right out of 5. It sounds annoying. That's why I'm giving it a 5. I think this is playable. You have Bossing Say decks, anything with a creature land or Fountain Port or something like that is always going to have creatures, like even after a sweep. So there is that to consider. I think this could keep a relatively high amount of power toughness on the board at all times. If you have 2 creatures, then it creates 4 extra power toughness every turn. That gets out of control. And I want to respect that, so I am going to give this card a 5. I don't think that any of these Paradigm cards are bad, but I think they're definitely some are better than others. Let me put it that way. Glorious Decay is 2 mana, 1 and a green for an instant. Choose 1, destroy an artifact, or deal 4 damage to a creature with flying, or exile a card from your yard, draw a card. So this variant, we see a card like this every set or 2. And it compares somewhat favorably to other versions of it. I don't like that it doesn't just plummet. Just deal 4 damage to a creature with flying is worse than plummet. But, it's still somewhat playable. I'll give it a 3.9. Hungry Graphalon is our giraffe from the set that we were promised. This is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a 3/4 giraffe with reach and increment. Normal guy. Although I don't love reasonably large creatures that have increment. It's going to be tough to grow this guy compared to some of the other increment dudes, But it's fun. 2.3. Infirmary Healer is 1 and a green for a 2/3 cat cleric that enters prepared to cast Stream of Life. That's nice. Again, originally from ABU, the old sets. X and a green for a sorcery. Target player gains X life. Somebody asked me about cats that go in the cat cube earlier. This is one. I don't want a bunch of white cats for the cat cube because it turns out white is overpowered in cat cube and I want to kind of bring it down a bit. Green is the second most powerful color in cat cube, but this guy won't hurt nothing. This guy won't hurt nothing. He'll help out the life gain theme that's present in the cube already. This dude goes directly in. Absolutely. Ordering a copy of Infirmary Healer. Does that mean it's a good creature? No, not really. I'm just going to give this a 3.3. The only reason I am is because it's a 2 mana 2/3, which isn't embarrassing. And casting Stream of Life on a body could be potentially all right. It could be. But next is Lumarette's Favor. This is 2 mana, 1 and a green for an instant with Infusion. When you cast the spell, copy it if you gain life this turn. Choose new targets if you want to. Target creature gets +2/+4 till end of turn. Normal combat trick that you can copy. If you can copy it, it's 2 mana for a pretty big boost. I'll give you that, but still pretty normal. 2.2. Mindful Biomancer is 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/2 Dryad Druid. When it enters, you gain a life. You can also pay 3 mana to have it get +2/+2 till end of turn, but only once each turn. Again, extremely normal limited playable creature that will proc all your life gain stuff in Witherbloom, so it's worth noting, but still just like a 2.5. Noxious Nude is cool. 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 1/2 Salamander. A salamander with Death Touch that taps for a green. Not a lizard. Not a lizard, just salamander. Is this the most incidental life gain in the set? There's a fair number of incidental life gain cards. We've already been over a few, like that Skullduggery variant that just randomly drains 1. Like that's pretty incidental life gain. But yeah, Noxious Nude is cool, man. It reminds me of like a poison dart frog kind of. Yeah, I looked it up. Salamanders are not lizards; they're amphibians. I figured there was something like that going on. But good Aaron Miller art, by the way, on this. You can't see this cute little guy, but he is in fact a cute little guy. There he is. Look at him. He's adorable. But yeah, man, 2 mana dork that taps for mana, right? But also has Death Touch. I'll take that. That's a fine card. 3.4 even. That's really not bad. But Oracle's Restoration is a green mana for a sorcery. A creature you control gets +1/+1 till end of turn. You draw a card and gain a life. Speaking of incidental life gain, More awesome Elliot Lang art here, by the way, with the archaic on it. That looks really good. But yeah, dude. Okay, sorcery speed's a little bit lame, but like 1 mana to draw a card, gain a life, creature gets something. Awesome. That's pretty good. I don't think we're playing it in standard or anything, but you know, draws a card. I don't hate it. I think this is actually playable in like, you know, green-based spell slinger decks and like Commander, just anything looking for cards that draw a card. And I have done those. Like Pauper Commander, I played Witherbloom Apprentice. Witherbloom Apprentice is the guy from the last Strixhaven that, like, whenever you Magecraft, deal a damage to each opponent. And this could go really well in there. Just 1 green mana, draw a card, draw into something else you can cast, and trigger again. But anyway, I like stuff like this, but I don't think it's very good. I'm just going to give it a 3.8. Pest Brood Sloth is 3 and a green for a 4/4 plant sloth with reach. When this creature dies, create 2 1/1 black and green pest creature tokens with. Whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life. So 4 mana for a 4/4 reach, not a terrible deal in limited. When it dies, you get a couple of guys. Fine, just a fine limited guy. Why does, and I know they're both sloths, okay? I know they're both sloths, but however, different versions of sloths can look entirely different, okay? I've seen a lot of different renderings of sloths that look very different. Why does this guy look like pissed off Dash from Zootopia? This looks exactly like the sloth from Zootopia. I mean, like 1,000%. It's the sloth that works at the DMV. It just is. I think his name's Dash. Anyway, that's tripping me out. He just looks like really mad for once. But anyway, did I rate this card? 3.3. Planar Engineering, good with landfall. Yeah, it sure is. This is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a sorcery. Sack 2 lands. Search your library for 4 basics. Throw them on the field. Tap, shuffle up. Crazy with landfall. Crazy with landfall. Yeah, hot take. Yeah, it really is very good for landfall. If you have a Tifa or a Hydra in play, you win the game after you cast this card. So pretty sure it goes in your green landfall decks. Even in standard, even at 4 mana, I'm pretty sure this goes in. And in Commander, it's wild. There's so many landfall decks in Commander. There's so many things that just do incidental garbage with landfall in Commander. They're not even full-on landfall decks. And even outside of a landfall deck, it's just ramp. It's just explosive vegetation that's also really good. In like the Jund Edge of Eternity's deck that wants to sack lands and then replay them. Like any deck playing Crucible of Worlds, this is really good in. Just a wonderful card. It really is much better than it looks. Much better than it looks. I'm going to give this card a 6.7. This card's very good. Insta-kill with Tifa? It is. Shopkeeper's Bane is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 4/2 Badger Pest with trample. When it attacks, you gain 2 life. That's the card. That's the whole card. Whatever, man. 2.6. Slumbering Trudge, X and a green for a 6/6 plant beast that enters with a number of stun counters on it equal to 3 minus X. If it entered with a stun counter on it, tap it. That makes sense. You can't get around that, son. Neat guy. Really neat design, but how good is it really? I'm going to give this a 5.4 because I think there's just enough cool stuff to do with it. I think there's just enough ways to like just care about having a 6/6 in play, like even if it's tapped, right? I think there's a way. I had a bunch of people in my comments that were like, it can still station planets. Like, no, it can't. It's tapped. No, it can't. But anyway, I still think this is pretty neat. I think this is neat. I wish Beast Tribal existed. I mean, in Commander, it does. There's cards that care about Beast specifically. Snarl Song, on the other hand, over here doesn't. This is 6 mana, 5 and a green for a sorcery with Converge. Create 2/0/0 green and blue fractals. Put X +1/+1 counters on each of them, and you gain X life. X being the number of colors of mana spent to cast the spell. So you can get 2 5/5s and gain 5 at the most. Not great. It really isn't. Like even at the top, it's not that great. 3.8. Studious First Year is 1 green mana for a 1/1 bear wizard that enters prepared to cast Rampant Growth on your very second turn. This guy's pretty good, man. It's like, it's just a normal card, but like good, normal in the good way, like you want, and you'll actually play. I love this little dude, man. I'm going to give him like a 5.8. This might be the best common in the set. Is that controversial? I think this is really one of the top 3 commons in the set. He's ridiculous, too. He just has Rampant Growth on him. It's crazy. Yeah, another 1 green mana wizard, right? For your mana drain decks. Tenured Concoctor is 5 mana, 4 and a green for a 4/5 troll druid with vigilance. Whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. In Fusion, this creature gets +2/+0 as long as you gain life this turn. So, potential 5 mana, 6 power vigilance that draws cards. Potential, but still not great. It's really not that great. It's like a 3. Thornfist Striker is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 3/3 elf druid with ward 1. Infusion, creatures you control get +1/+1 or +1/+0 and have trample as long as you gain life this turn. Now this, okay. So in like a deck with a lot of pests in limited, right? You're making pests and stuff, or you're just playing a fair number of creatures. Easy to gain life, and now you just have like Battle Cry, like every turn with trample too. This is like a mini overrun effect on a body that's a little more difficult to take out. Not an embarrassing starting casting cost for the rate you're paying. Like nothing wrong with this. In limited, I think it's a great uncommon, like actually great. But I think that there's commander decks too. Again, these green life gain commander decks, you play enough creatures, you want this. I really think this is okay. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. Right? That's a good infusion ability. The trample is goated. That's like really good. But next is Topiary Lecturer. 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 1/2 elf druid. With increment, tap for an amount of green equal to this creature's power. We see another one of these, right? We just saw a card like this in the Turtles set. It's a legend. And I kept saying like, oh, this is like Viridian Shaman or whatever it's called, which is just an elf. It's not legendary. Now we get another 3 mana guy like this that is an elf. This is even more like Viridian Shaman, if that's the card I'm thinking of. I don't think it's Viridian Shaman. It's Viridian something else. But now we get another card like that, but this one has increment. Like this one, you can easily increase its power over the course of a couple of turns. You play this on turn 3, and then you play literally almost any creature in the game of Magic on turn 4, right? And now this taps for 2 green. That's good. I mean, a turn worth of setup, sure, and it's easy to kill, but like, it's pretty good. If you cast this on turn 4 into a 1-drop creature like Patchwork or something, or what is it called? You know, God, why am I losing it? The card's going to rotate in like 6 months, 8 months. But you know, patch something recruit. It's a 1 mana, 2/1 in green. So on turn 4, you go like Lecturer into that guy. Paw Patch Recruit. Bang. Big snap there. But yeah, Paw Patch Recruit on turn 4 after this dude, and then suddenly he can tap for 2 on the next turn, like already. I like stuff like this, dude. And I think that if you're casting enough stuff, then suddenly he's tapping for like 3-4 mana, like reliably. And that is not to be sneezed at. Probably not standard playable, but I wouldn't be surprised if it showed up somewhere, dude. 4.75, like, not even, dude, like a 5. Like close. I'll give it a 4.9. I will. I think this is very good. Vastland Scavenger is 3 mana, 1 and 2 green for a 4/4 bear druid with death touch that enters prepared to cast Bind to Life. This is 5 mana, 4 and a green for an instant. Mill 7 cards. Not look at the top 7. Mill 7 cards. Put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. So it's kind of a 5 mana reanimator spell, but you have to, you can't have dumped something in your yard. Like the mill itself has to dump the guy into your yard. But I still think that's pretty good, man. Like a 3 mana 4/4 death touch is stout. Like that's a big dude for the mana cost. And then like almost the next turn, like a couple turns later, you just kind of get a reanimator spell. And note that, like, yeah, you reanimate something from the milled cards, but it milled 7 cards. There's still 6 mills there. So if it milled another creature, well, that sets up your actual reanimator spell, So I don't know, dude. I think that's pretty good. I think this is better than it even looks. I'm going to give this a 6, dude. I'm serious. I think this is pretty good. Wild Growth Archaic is another neat. This is a really well-designed card. So it's 2 and a green. Well, excuse me. It's 2 aura green and then 2 aura green, right? So this can cost you a total of 4 mana. It can cost you 3 mana. It can cost you 2 mana. This is a 0/0 avatar with trample and reach that enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of mana spent to cast it. So it can be up to a 4/4, or it can be as small as a 1/1. Whenever you cast a creature spell, that creature enters with X additional +1/+1 counters on it, X being the number of colors of mana spent to cast it. So this can come down as a 2 mana 1/1 trample reach, and yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. But every creature you cast after that can get massive. And even if the creature you cast is one color, like, okay, I cast an Ouroboros on turn 4, well, now it comes into play with a +1/+1 counter, unless, here's the deal. Ouroboros, right, it costs 2 and 2 green. So the way you're looking at it, you're thinking, oh, Ouroboros will only ever come in with 1 extra +1/+1 counter. That's not true. That's not true. If I pay blue, green, black for my Ouroboros, it comes into play with 3 +1/+1 counters, so long as Archaic's in play, right? So through that lens, the card is insane, right? Like if I cast a 3-mana creature that literally costs 2 and a green, but again, I spend, green, white, red on that creature, then suddenly it comes into play with 3 counters on it. It's so good. And like, if you have like a Michelangelo weirdness to 11 in play or some other hardened scales effect, this card gets just insane, Like you can play Mikey on turn 2 into this on turn 3. Now it has 2+1/+1 counters because you spent 2 colors of mana, maybe even 3 colors of mana to play it. So it can be a 3/3. And since it came into play with +1/+1 counters, I'm pretty sure Mikey triggers to give it an extra one as well. And then you start playing stuff on the next turn and you go just back crap. Like, I think this card is pretty good. I really do, man. Yeah, stuff like Cavern of Souls, Starting Town, right? Like your deck can be almost monocolored. But with stuff like Starting Town or like, a multiversal passage on a different color because you have enough of the color you're already playing. Like, yeah, you can get like random colors of mana for stuff like this. I think that's really neat. So, yeah, huge fan. I think it's eminently commander playable, as has been said before. But I think this one has a standard chance too because we care about +1/+1 counters and standard and stuff. I just really like this card. And I'm going to give it a 7. Nah, I'm going to give this a 6.5. I will. I'll give it a 6.5. I think it's really strong. Wild Hypothesis is X and a green for a sorcery. Create a 0/0 fractal token and put X +1/+1 counters on it. And Surveil 2. You'll never get the proper mana value. You'll always be paying like 5 mana for a 4/4. But at least it's a 4/4 with kind of Surveil 2, So there's that. And, for Prismari, this can help you cast big spells. That's kind of cute. Some stuff in Quandrix cares about casting X spells. This helps with that. So again, the limited environment looks so good. But I'm just going to give this like a 2.4. I typically don't love stuff like this. Zimone's Experiment is 4 mana, 3 and a green for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal up to 2 creature and or land cards from among them. The rest go on the bottom in a random order. Put all land cards revealed this way on the battlefield tapped. All creature cards revealed this way into your hand. So probably just a better explosive vegetation, for most things, I would say. And so I kind of can't hate this. This probably puts a land into play and a creature in your hand a lot of the time. That's probably too much for 4 mana. Like, it's not stock up, you know what I mean? This is probably not. Cool design, though. I have to give this a 3.85, somewhere in there. We are in the gold cards. I think that means we're a little more than halfway through. Let me take a sip. And do my dip. Abigail Poet Laurie is 3 mana, 1, a white, and a black for a 2/3 legendary bird bard with flying. Whenever you cast a creature spell, Abigail becomes prepared to cast Heroic Stanza. 1, and then a white-black hybrid for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Solid, uncommon, right? But solid's really all we're talking for Abby this time around. I'm going to give this a 3.9. I know you can prepare this very easily, and it's probably a solid, super sick uncommon for Silver Quill decks because it loads up so easily. But outside of limited, I really don't think this is good enough. I really don't. Next is Conciliator's Duelist. Cool card, man. So double white, double black for a 4/3 core warlock. When it enters, draw a card. Everybody loses a life. Repartee. Whenever you repartee, exile up to 1 target creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So what I like about this is that it really holds me tight. Tells me I'm the only one. Anyway, this is stout guy, 4 mana, 4 power dude that draws a card. Okay, not a bad ETB. But also, if I say cast Shoot the Sheriff on one of my opponent's creatures, I can also then exile another one of their guys and get in on attacks. That's not bad. I can also, during their turn, shoot the Sheriff their guy instant speed and, blink one of my dudes and get an ETB trigger or something. Comes back, beginning of the next end step, can attack on my turn. Another cute trick with this that I think people are going to do all the time is the same play I just mentioned, but on blocks, right? Like, okay, I block your guy with my 1/1, and then I shoot the Sheriff or something, your larger dude that's attacking in. Well, now my guy that is already legally blocking your dude, I can just blink him, and your guy's considered blocked. Bring my guy back into play, get my ETB trigger again. A lot of cool stuff you can do with this. There really is. I just don't know if it's worth it in standard. I don't, but I have some hope. I really do. I'm going to give this a 4.9. We're very, very close, I think. Fix What's Broken is probably not as good as Raise the Past, but it's interesting. 4 mana, 2 white-black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, pay X life. Return each artifact and creature card with mana value X from your yard to the battlefield. So this is better than Raise because you can get back 3 drops and 4 drops and stuff too, but it'll cost you a fair amount of life to get back 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 drops. You could play this as a huge Reanimate. Just literally the 1 mana spell Reanimate, where you get back like 2 9 drops and take 9. You could do that. It'd be fun that way. Get back a Valgavoth and a Summon Bahamut, you know what I mean? Like, that probably wins the game. You just have to be at 10 in order to do that. But maybe. That's a way to pull it off. But altogether, again, I think Raise the Past is better generally. And in Commander, I think you might have better options altogether than this too. But neat card for sure, and pretty powerful. So I'm going to give it a 5.1. Imperious Ink Mage is 3 mana, 1 white-black for a 3/3 Orc Warlock with Vigilance. When it enters, Surveil 2. Very normal card, right? 2.1. Inkling Mascot, white-black for a 2/2 Inkling Cat. Look at that. Repartee. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery that targets a thing, this creature gains flying till end of turn. Surveil 1. Not super impressive, I have to say. I may order this for the cat cube, but it doesn't look that much like a cat. You can see where it's a cat, right? You see the lion in there, but it just doesn't seem very cat-like. But I do need more Orzhov cats for the cube, so maybe I'll order it. Either way, this is like a 2.5 or something. Killian's Confidence, white-black for a sorcery. Target creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn, draw a card. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you can pay either a white or a black mana. If you do, return this from your graveyard to your hand. Boy, this is borderline, man, because anything that says draw a card and can come back over and over is pretty good. Combat damage is not too much to ask. It really isn't. But the sorcery speed is. The 2 mana honestly kind of is. I know 2 mana doesn't seem too steep, but it for what the card's actually doing, if you want to cast it more than once in a game, well, okay, it might be over the course of several turns, but am I really devoting 6 mana to this card? Am I? Right? So being realistic, I don't know how great it is, but boy, do I like drawing cards. So I'm going to give this a 4.2. If this was instant, we'd be having a grown-up discussion. Moment of Reckoning is the big, commander card at Rare and Silver Quill. This is 3 double white, double black for a sorcery. Choose up to 4, and you can choose the same mode more than once. Either destroy target non-land permanent and/or return target non-land permanent card from your yard to the battlefield. So if you were going to return a bunch of 9 drops, this would probably be the way to do it, really. I actually don't put this card past seeing standard play. Especially considering we have the Iron Crag, we have the Terminus of whatever it's called, the Soulstone. Like, we have ramp outside of just green and red, So I think it's possible to ramp this card on turn 5. And if you've done that, you probably didn't win the game outright immediately, but boy, did you, I think the problem with this is that usually like a 4 mana reanimator spell like Zombify. If you bring back Summon Bahamut, Bringer of the Last Gift, Valgavoth, something like that, you kind of should just win the game off the strength of what you brought back. You don't have to blow anything else up. So is it worth the extra mana to be able to also blow stuff up when you reanimate things? All depends. I do think this probably massively changes the complexion of the game when you cast it. If you resolve it, I'll say that much. But is it standard playable? I don't know. We have had massive 7 mana spells that end the game playable in standard many times. Emergent Ultimatum is a great example. Nexus of Fate. There are a lot of examples of 7 mana playable standard spells. I'm not sure this is it though, but I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night, and that this card is like a 5.7. Actually, I'll give this card a 6. I will. I think the commander playability of the card brings it up to a 6. Let's put it that way. But I think it's pretty good. Nita, Forum Conciliator, maybe my favorite Orzhov legend in the set. This is 1 a white and a black for a 2/3 legendary human advisor. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a +1/+1 counter on each guy you control. Pay 2, sack a creature, exile, or another creature. Exile an instant or sorcery from an opponent's yard. You can cast it this turn. Mana of any type can be spent to cast it. If the spell will be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. Do this at sorcery speed. I had at least one, I think it's more than one person though, in the comments section of the video where I first brought up Nita this previous season, say that it's like too many hoops to jump through, like something effectively like that, right? You got to do too much to do the stuff with this card. And like, I don't see how it just says sack a creature on it. Like that's literally all you have to do with this card is sack another creature. Where are the other hoops? Is it, I guess, that your opponents have to have an instant or sorcery card in their yard? I mean, you're playing Commander. Someone's bound to have an instant or sorcery in their yard. Like, bound to. Guaranteed. And this is just a sack outlet that says I get to, like in my Aristocrats deck, I can focus on just playing creatures and Aristocrats and like stuff like that, like Bastion of Remembrance. Like, I don't have to slot in removal spells and stuff in my Aristocrats decks. I can just play my opponent's removal spells, my opponent's card draw spells. And whenever I do that, all my Blood Artists get a +1/+1 counter. That's great, dude. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, sack a creature, pay 2, pay the spell for the mana. That's not a lot. I don't think that's a lot. I really don't. This is Commander, dude. Pay 2, sack a creature, and then pay 2 more mana. Yeah, that's what. How competitive are your Commander tables? Pay 2 mana, sack a creature, and still have 1 to 3 leftover mana. Easy as pie. That's nothing. That's asking nothing. Like, I play a lot of Elisal Core, right? Like Orzhov. I play a lot of Teysa, Karlov, Orzhov Aristocrats decks. Having a random creature to sacrifice, literally, that's the whole point of the deck. Yeah, this card's insane. I think this is at least in the 99 of a bunch of decks I'm going to be building, and maybe even the Commander. Maybe, but I think it's more of a 99er for my taste. But yeah, I think this card's it's not hard at all. Someone has to have played a Swords to Plowshares in a game of Commander. Like, sure. This card's bonkers, dude. I'm going to give this a 5.9. Somewhere in there. It's not the only card in the deck stealing spells. Yeah, I mean, you're in black, right? Black has a lot of stuff that steals spells too. The first ability is very good, but the second ability is what I'm on about. That's so good. But yeah, my actual real life cousin Jason, always the comedian. Can you really afford to sacrifice creatures in Orzhov though? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this card's boffo, dude. This is a great commander or commander card. Render Speechless is 4 mana, 2 white black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. Choose a non-land from it. That player discards that card. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target creature. So, neato burrito, right? But 4 mana is too much for this effect, I think. I'm just going to give this a 2.4. Scolding Administrator. White and a black for a 2/2 Dwarf Cleric with Menace and Repartee. Whenever you Repartee, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. Whenever this creature dies, if it had counters on it, move those counters to something else. So, neat dude, man. Super bread and butter limited uncommon here that could be standard playable if there's a Repartee deck, but I wouldn't necessarily hold my breath, but this dude could just be good, like to target stuff with removal spells, and eventually he's a 4/4 with Menace. If he dies, he moves his counters. Like, sure, I think that stuff like remember Kyrion Beastcaller? Remember that? Whenever a creature comes into play, it gets +1/+1 counter. When it dies, move its counters to something else. I wanted that card to be so good. Played it in Stompy so many times. Was never quite good. This is giving me those vibes. It's giving me Conclave Mentor vibes. You guys don't even remember that card, do you? Remember Conclave Mentor? That's how good that was. You don't remember it. So I don't want to overrate this, but I will give it a 4.5. I think we are close to something with this. I really do. The next is our first charm. Silver Quill Charm is white and a black for an instant. Choose one. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature. Good combat trick for 2 mana. Or exile target creature power 2 or less. That is the best mode on the card. Or each opponent loses 3 and you gain 3. Now, a lot of these charms have one mode that's not quite as good as the others, and this time it's the third mode. However, drain 6 effectively. Not a terrible mode, right? We all like burn. And I think with some of these cards, we might be able to build that, Orzhov burn deck that we've all been dreaming of forever. I know I have. But in any case, first 2 modes on this are good, especially the middle mode. The middle mode is fantastic on this. Most of the charms in this set are phenomenal. This one's no different. I'm going to give this a 6. Serious. At least a 6. This is a good card. It's no Witherbloom charm. We'll get to that. A Prismari charm is out of control. That's so good, but this one's all right too. Silver Quill to dispute. Yes, so third mode is Lightning Helix almost. Yeah. If this could target creatures, this would be an absolutely insane card. Silver Quill to Disputant is 4 mana, 2 white black for a 4/4 legendary Elder Dragon with flying and vigilance. Each instant and sorcery spell you cast has casualty 1. So it's really a choice, right? Do you want to play this or do you want to play Nita, the card that I just talked about for like 10 whole minutes? I think that these cards are similar in a way, right? Are you going to steal their spells or are you going to copy your own spells? Again, I like the idea of Nita where I don't have to play as many instants and sorceries and aristocrats. This actually makes you pump a bunch of instant and sorcery spells into your aristocrats decks. But, you know, you can play like, God, Spectral Procession. That's 3/1/1 flyers for 3 mana. And stuff like that, you know, like, I don't know what, Lingering Souls. You can play Lingering Souls, like instants and sorceries that give you creatures would be really good with this guy is what I'm getting at. So really cool commander here, and this will get a 6, but that is mostly because it's an awesome commander. All the Elder Dragons are. It's weird to see him walking around. Let me say that much. A dragon should be flying. Snooping Page is 3 mana, 1 white black for a 2/3 human cleric with repartee. Whenever you repartee, this guy can't be blocked this turn. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, lose a life. Bread and butter. Beautiful limited card. I will be playing this in limited, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to give this a 3. I think it's all right. Social Snub is 3 mana, 1 white black for a sorcery. When you cast this while you control a creature, copy it if you want to. Each player sacks a creature of their choice. Each opponent loses a life. You gain 1 life. So copying, it's cute. I think it's a cool idea and all that. I didn't know that Zamon was lame like that. I didn't know that. Why are you so lame, Zamon? Why won't you let this lady sit with you? Does she suck? Maybe she sucks. I don't know. Either way, this this is like a 3.3. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's that great. Stirring Honormancer is 5 mana rather. 2 white black hybrid for a 4/5 Rhino Bard. I love that he's a Rhino Bard. He looks awesome too. He's got the best outfit. Whenever this creature enters, look at the top X cards of your library. X being the number of creatures you control. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You know who would play this guy in an animated film? Keith David. I feel this guy's Keith David coded in terms of his voice. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is cute. I'll say that much. Like a card into your hand, no matter what. Like you at least get 1 card in your hand, right? And then the rest go in your yard. You can mill a bunch of cards with this guy. Cute stuff, but probably way too much mana for any real format. I'm going to give him a 3.7 though. I really like him. I like him a lot. Abstract Paint Mage is 3 mana, blue, red, and then a blue-red hybrid for a 2/2 Gen Sorcerer. At the beginning of your first main phase, add blue-red. Spend this mana only to cast instant and sorcery spells. Pretty neat. Pretty neat, but altogether it's kind of just a 3 mana 2/2 until your next turn. You know what I mean? That's all. This is a hell of a way to cast 5 mana spells for Opus. Yeah, that's what I think it's for. I think it's distinctly for Opusing. But, you know, I guess you try it out in Standard. I just think there are just better options. I think if you want a bunch of mana on turn 4, you can do better than this, by and large. But still, I will give this like a 3.6. I think that mana's good. Generally, you know, mana pretty good. But next, we're closing in. Here's Color Storm Stallion. This is 3 mana, 1 blue red for a 3/3 elemental horse with ward 1 and haste. Opus. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. If 5 or more mana was spent to cast it, create a token that's a copy of this creature. Okay, so this is neat. If you somehow, you know, cast this into a 5 mana instant or sorcery, then you get, you know, 6 or whatever power it is. 7 total power or something. Yeah, something like that. With haste. Really interesting that it has haste. It really is, because you can cast this on 4 mana and go like Color Storm Stallion into 1 mana pump spell of some kind. And then it's going to get the +1/+1 and the pump from whatever you gave it, you know, Wild Ride. You know, it gets +3/+0, +1/+1. It's already a 3/3. That's 7 damage with haste for 4 mana out of nowhere. We're not talking about like Mightform Harvester numbers, but the numbers are okay. They really are. It's not a terrible Magic card. I'm going to give this a 4.9 because I think that we're getting somewhere. I really do. I think we are, but I don't think we're quite there. I think this horse does not quite cross the finish line, honestly, but there's something about it I kind of like. But Elemental Mascots up next. I like all the mascots too, for what they are, you know. But pauper playable, I think that matters. 3 mana, 1 blue-red for a 1/4 Elemental Boyd with flying and vigilance and Opus. Whenever you Opus, this guy gets +1/+0 till end of turn. If you spend 5 or more to cast the spell, exile the top card of your library. Till the end of your next turn, you can play that card. So, just, again, solid. Just solid little guy. This could actually see some commander play, but I really don't think so. This looks mostly like a limited playable little guy here. So I'm going to give him a 3.3. I like this. I like a flying guy that gets a little larger when you cast stuff. You cast something big enough, draw a card kind of. It's all good. But Prismari Charm. Oh my God, Prismari Charm. So this is a blue and a red, just 2 mana. Just 2 mana for an instant. Choose one, either. Just get a load of this. Either Surveil 2, then draw a card. Good mode. Or Prismari Charm deals 1 damage to each of 1 or 2 targets. Excellent mode. Or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Crazy mode. I think Prismari Charm is the only one without like a bad mode. You know what I mean? Like, this can ping an opponent's creature and kill it. Whether it's, a Bob or some other 1 toughness creature. There's actually a number of 1 toughness targets for this in standard. Note how many times you're able to shoot something down with the Nova Hellkite's enter the battlefield trigger. It's kind of a lot of times, right? There's like usually a target for that. You know what I'm saying? So bing bang right there. Nova Hellkite kills a lot of stuff. This kills all the stuff Nova Hellkite kills and then also targets your opponent for 1. Or just kill. This sometimes kills 2 things. I keep that. Sometimes this kills 2 things. It's crazy. But also, somebody called it a super opt in chat just now, just massive, like a preordained kind of, Surveil 2, draw a card. And it's kind of like a thought scour where like you can mill 2, draw a card, which is also crazy. Like fuel your graveyard, draw a card for 2 mana. And then the final mode, just a return target non-land. It's not even creature. They could have made this return a creature. It's return a non-land permanent. This is the best charm by a million. Like, finally found a way to bounce Storm Chasers. Nice. Yeah, exactly. It's another way to bounce Storm Chasers. So I didn't even think about that, Jason. Good call. But yeah, to me, this is far and away the best charm. Witherbloom comes close, but good Lord, this charm. And it's ready-made for a deck in standard, right? Like the Monument deck or whatever, the red-blue decks in standard. There's Monument, there's Elementals, Spelementals, whatever you want to call it. Card goes insane in both of those decks. Goes especially well in Spelementals because Surveil 2 might put 2 instants or sorceries in your yard for your Hearth Elementals and stuff. Just card is absolutely insane. I'm going to give Prismari Charm a 7.3. Card's going to go in every Izzet deck in Commander till the end of time. Till forever. There's no... This is the charm right here. Prismari the Inspiration. What a commander. 7 mana, 5 blue red for a 7/7 legendary Elder Dragon with flying ward, pay 5 life. Instants and sorceries you cast have Storm. So it's like having a version of 1,000 Year Storm like in your command zone. This is so crazy. This is insane. Prismari. What is it? You tell me. Okay, so the problem with this is it's 7 mana, so you have to untap with it and play to really do stuff with it. Even in Commander, that's the case. I still think it's wild. I think it's crazy. I really do. I think it's a very good Commander. And for that reason and that reason alone, because I don't think it's really standard playable, I'm going to give this card a 6.7. I think this is maybe the craziest looking Commander in the set, but... We'll see if it's not as good as it looks, but god dang. Instants and sorceries you cast have Storm is wild. Rapturous Moment is 6 mana, 4 blue, red for a sorcery. Draw 3, discard 2, add blue, blue, red, red, red. So that's cute. This helps you cast, as long as you have enough mana to cast it in the first place. This will help you trigger Opus and then trigger Opus again. It'll even help you draw cards to where you can get another 5 mana instant or sorcery, right? Discard everything else, play that, trigger Opus, you go crazy. Fantastic and limited. I think it's fine there. But they even made it sorcery speed so that it sucks in standard for sure. No doubt. This sucks. Even with all the mana it can produce. The only way this could possibly be good is if you could find a way to cast it for free or extremely reduced. And then it might generate mana for you. That's good. But other than that, extremely special circumstance. I think the card is mostly bad. So I will give this a 3.4 though. I will. Yeah, Seething Song for 6, right? It's not like net, like it's not mana positive. But again, if you can find a way to make it mana positive, right? Like Goblin Electromancers and other things that make your instants and sorceries cost less mana or something. Yeah, suddenly you're talking a little bit. But Resonating Lute is great. I think this is one of the better Commander Izzet cards in the set. Resonating Loot, and it could be standard playable too. Don't let me, cut your dreams out from under you. I think this is one of the more looks like a commander card, but is actually standard playable cards in the entire set. 4 mana for Resonating Loot, 2 blue-red for an artifact. Lands you control have, tap, add 2 mana of any one color, but spend this mana only to cast instants and sorceries. You can also tap this and draw a card. Activate only if you have 7 or more cards in your hand. So kind of a Library of Alexandria ability. I don't know how often you're tapping it to draw cards, but I also know that ability did not have to be on the card. That didn't have to be on the card. It loots in the set. That's hilarious. You're funny. But yeah, the draw card ability is just extra gravy. I think that in a lot of decks, this is just one-sided mana flare. You know what I mean? Like all your lands now tap for double mana, and that is crazy. So good. If you do want to cast things that cost 5 or more for Opus, this will help you do that. But I think in Commander, this is just like, oh, now your lands tap for 2. Go for it. Like sometimes you want to cast like Archmage of Emeritus or Murmuring Mystic or like stuff that triggers when you cast spells. You can still do that. You can still have those cards in your deck. But this just allows you to friggin' go off on a lot of turns. I think this is really good. So I'm going to give this a 6.3. It's not like busted, but it is pretty good. Sanar, Unfinished Genius. Speaking of pretty good, this is a blue and a red for a 0/4 legendary Gabo sorcerer that enters prepared to cast Wild Idea. This is 5 mana, 3 blue-red for a sorcery. Search your library for an instant or sorcery, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle up. You can tap to create a treasure token on this guy as well. Activate only if you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. So not too hard to get treasure out of him. Just cast instants and sorceries. That's great. Taps for treasure. That's kind of like having a 2-mana bear or 2-mana dork, right? That taps for mana. But this one also puts artifacts into play. That kind of matters. Tokens into play. That kind of matters. Like that about him. And then Wild Idea, despite the fact that it's 5 mana, he's kind of ramping you into it the entire time. And when you cast Wild Idea, he can tap to create another treasure. So it kind of only costs 4 in that way. That's cute as well. A tutor effect is pretty good. A tutor effect on a mana dork. For 2 mana? Like, can we go? You know what I mean? It's not that bad. 5.1. Yeah, seriously, tap for a treasure token is just good. That's just pretty good. Spectacular Sky Whale. I expect this to be pretty good in limited, man. 4 mana, 2 blue-red for a 1/4 elemental whale with flying and Opus. Whenever you Opus, it gets +3/+0 till end of turn, but if it was a fat instant or sorcery, you put 3 +1/+1 counters on this guy instead, making him, a 4/7 if you just do that one time? That's pretty good. But, even if you cast 1 instant or sorcery, it's a 3/4 flyer. Or it's a 4/4 flyer. And then imagine this. I know it's kind of hard to imagine, but imagine you cast more than 1 instant or sorcery in a spell in a turn. Suddenly this guy's a 7-power flyer. I really do think this is fantastic and limited. And wonderful art by Serena Malian here. Just looks amazing to me. I hang that on the wall. I will give this a 3.3. Speaking of huge whales in the art, here's Splatter Technique. 5 mana, 1 double blue, double red. For a sorcery, choose 1, draw 4, or technique deals 4 damage to each creature and planeswalker. I asked you guys to rate this one of the last times we were on stream. I think you gave it like mostly 3s and 4s. And then I came in to convince you I think this card's actually really good. I think this is fantastic. I really do. I think this is a great card. I'm going to give this a 6.6. You guys, I'm telling you, it's so good. Yes, a good card, man. So good. Splatter Technique better than Ill-Timed Explosion, and that card never saw play. Oh, and that card saw play. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I misread that. Yeah, and Ill-Timed Explosion sees play. Ill-Timed Explosion often sees play in like Reanimator piles and stuff, but it doesn't have to. It saw play in a bunch of Teamer Doppelgang lists and stuff too. So this could easily see play. I really do think it could, man. In things that don't have access to white or potentially black sweepers. This is fantastic. And if you're playing against control, your sweeper's not dead. Like if I'm playing a mirror match where it's Jeskai control versus Jeskai control, and before this card comes out, all we have is like split ups and Day of Judgments. They feel like pretty useless cards, but like this is not useless in the mirror. That's insane. Like it's really, really good. You can just draw 4 on this. So maybe one of in Jeskai, 1 or 2. I'm serious. I think this is fantastic. I really do. Next is Stadium Tidal Mage, 4 mana, 2 blue-red for a 4/4 Djinn Sorcerer with a big tuba toothpaste coming out of his arm. What's happening to this guy here? It's probably paint. It's paint, idiot. It's acrylic paint. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. not a super exciting guy. It's okay ETB trigger, but very limited coded. He's really in that tube, isn't he? He's got a tube of paint, but he's also surfing that tube. You know what I'm saying? Hang 10, buddy. Cowabunga. I guess Cowabunga was the last set. Womp womp. This is like a 3.1. Yeah, it's a big body. Stress Dream is 5 mana, 3 red blue for an instant that deals 5 damage to one target creature, up to. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. One of those go into your hand, the other go on the bottom of your library. It is an instant. It basically unconditionally kills nearly anything you could really be worried about. And it gets you a little, this looks like to me Prophetic Bolt. This feels an awful lot like Prophetic Bolt. And that card's good. Or was. That card saw some play, but that was 20 years ago, so it's a little bit different. It's better than it looks, though. It's certainly better than it looks, but, 5 damage to a creature ain't. For 5 mana is not, amazing. There's better options, man. I'm going to give this a 4, though. I am going to give this a 4. Seriously. Traumatic Critique, though. This is, did you guys know that this card's really expensive? That this is in, the top 5... most expensive. Did you know that? Dramatic Critique is a blue, a red, and X for an instant. Dramatic Critique deals X damage to any target. Draw 2, discard a card. So for 2 mana, you just cast Catalog. I guess draw 2, discard a card at instant speed. That's good. Yeah, X equals 0 seems fine. Exactly. That's the secret of this card, is that X equals 0 is just a fine rate. X equals 1 for 3 mana. If you kill a guy and then draw 2, discard, that's fantastic. It's just so good, man. I keep saying fantastic. I can't think of it. It's spectacular. It really is. Darling. It is wonderful. But even on, X equals 2, 4 total mana. Blow up a decent creature and draw 2. Just come on, man. Instant speed, dude. And obviously there's also the mode where you just play Fireball. You deal 10 to your opponent, draw 2, discard 1. That's also good. So yeah, I like Critique. I like Critique more than World Soul's Rage. And World Soul's Rage is a fine card. Sees played from time to time, So I'm going to give Critique a 6.4 or something. It's a pretty good score, dude. I really like this card, a lot. Next is Vibrant Outburst. So this is a blue and a red for an instant that deals 3 damage to any target. Tap up to 1 target creature. It's good. It's like a lightning strike that it can hit their face too. So lightning strike that also taps a guy. That's good. What a good card, dude. Isn't Vibrant Outburst great, says Ren Matthew? Yeah, dude. Am I missing something? No, it's fantastic. The card's really good. It's not strictly better Lightning Strike, but in Is-It decks where a blue mana is negligible, yeah, it just is better Lightning Strike. This is good. Yeah, this is very good. This card's very good. I'm going to have to throw this at least a 6.6. It's just a removal spell, though. So I'll throw this, I'll put it at a 6. I'll put it at a 6. I don't want to make any removal spell too high because they're not game breaking or anything. They're just good. And this is good. This is very obviously good. Visionary's Dance is 7 mana, 5 blue red for a sorcery. Create 2 3/3s with flying. Pay 2, discard this card. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. One of them goes into your hand. The other one goes into your graveyard. Super cycling. I guess we'll call it. It doesn't just pay 2, discard a card, discard this card, draw it. You actually get a card selection effect, which is neat. It's neat, Altogether, though, it's not that great. But I do like super cycling. I don't think it's worth much, though. I'll give it a 3.6. Zaphi and the Tempests is the final Prismari card we'll look at. Makes sense. It starts with Z. 5 blue-red for a 5/7 legendary human bard sorcerer. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. Awesome looking commander, but is it really that good? The best thing about this is that if you play it you reanimate it in standard, or you ramp into it in standard, you immediately get to cast the largest instant or sorcery in your hand. So as long as you resolve this and get it onto the table somehow, you do get a free instant, which is nice, But it's still, I don't think it's worth that much. Even in Commander, I don't think it's worth that much. I'm going to give this a 4.7, Sneak attack works too? Yes, it does, in fact. Why is Cauldron of Essence not, they don't have an image for that. That's weird. We're into the black-green, everybody, the Witherbloom, my favorite guild. My favorite house in Strixhaven. Black Loafing Pest is 3 mana, 1 black-green for a 3/4 legendary pest. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on all your pests, bats, insects, snakes, spiders. And that's it. I could swear rats were in there too, but I guess not. Because I want to say you can make it rhyme, like pest, rats, spiders, bats, but maybe not. But anyway, that's a lot of creature types, and that's a pretty good payoff for life gain. Cool commander to build around, but that's probably where it begins and ends. I'll give this card a 4.8. I don't think this crosses the 5 threshold, but it's close-ish. Bog, and I will say this, it does make itself larger when you gain life. So maybe, you know what? 5. I'll put a 5 on it. It's an Ajani's Pride mate. It gets a 5. Next is Bogwater Lumaret. This is green and a black for a 2/2 Spirit Frog. Whenever this or another creature you control enters, gain a life. So a Soul Sister, but it gains a life when it enters. That's new. That's worth a whole extra mana, right? Probably not, but still, you know, I'll cast an Impassioned Order or a Life Creed Duo from time to time. I don't mind always if my Soul Sister effects are 2 mana, especially if they're green-black. If I'm playing Dina, I can't play Soul Warden, Soul's Attendant, Lunarch Veteran, Case of the Uneaten Feast, Hinterland Sanctifier. There's like 50 of these guys in white for 1 mana. If I'm playing green, I can play Essence Shaman, Virulent, Emissary, and this guy. And that's like it for this effect. So for that reason, he's really good in green-black commander decks. But I just like creatures like this, period. Like a lot. And I tend to overrate them, and I'll do that now. 5.1. Cauldron of Essence over here. Do I need to look at this card to tell you what it does? I think I do. Okay, so Cauldron of Essence here. My favorite card in the set. My actual favorite card in the set. 1 black-green for an artifact. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1. You gain 1. Check that ability. That's a good ability. I like that ability. Pay 1 black-green, tap it, sack a creature, return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield at sorcery speed. Oh my god. So I can sacrifice a 1/1. I can sacrifice Greedy Freebooter, get a treasure token, and return Valgavoth. Are you serious, dude? This is a Zulaport Cutthroat, a Blood Artist. We'll just call it a Blood Artist effect. This line of text that I hold so near and dear to my heart, my favorite line of text in all of the game of Magic, comes on a card that can sacrifice a creature. Do you know how rare that is? How rare that actually is? Like, that doesn't happen every day. You don't get a Blood Artist. Usually you need Blood Artist and Sack Effects. You don't get them on the same thing. This on the same thing. It's got a freaky spider I don't like on the... At least we're cooking it. At least we're cooking this spider. But in any case, being able to, you know, sack a creature on your Zulaport Cutthroat thing, good enough. The fact that it's not actually a creature, so it's harder to kill, awesome. And the fact that I can just, are you serious? I pay 3 mana. I pay, you know, like Doom Necromancer mana, right? Like I pay less than a typical Reanimator spell to reanimate anything in my yard. You talking about anything in my yard? It's crazy. It's so crazy, dude. I don't know if it's one standard playable, but I think it's closer than it looks. And as far as Commander goes, like, jeez Louise, macaroni and cheese for the catchphrase. I really think that, like, this is crazy. Like, I said it in the preview video and I meant it. Like, if anything causes me to turn away from Orzhov, it'll be this. Because, like, Green-Black didn't have enough good Aristocrats, like, payoffs, right? To really do a good Aristocrats deck. But this one changes all that. This one, Cauldron changes all that, like, immediately. This is a better payoff than most Orzhov decks have access to. So I'm going to give Cauldron a 7 just because I like it. Just because I like it. You know? Oh, yeah. Oh, good point. Serendipity down here. Yeah, extremely good point. This should say the creature gets a finality counter, but it doesn't. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Period. End of sentence. No finality counter. Yeah, it really should say finality, but it doesn't. That's massive. Yeah. Good catch on that. So I just, again, this is my favorite card in the set. I get to overrate one card, and you know I'm doing that on purpose. 7. At least a 7. I love this card so much. Really, too. Dina's Guidance, though. There's another one, baby. 1 a black, a green for an instant. You understand? For an instant. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand or your graveyard, and then shuffle. Or graveyard? You're going to give me that, too? You're just going to let me put it in my graveyard. It's crazy, dude. But yeah, instant speed, 3 mana creature tutor. Instant commander, all-time banger. Instant, maybe not the best commander card in the set in terms of like total impact on the, you know, steamrolling wrecking ball impact on a game. But in terms of just like, you know, overall commander strength, I think this might be like the best card for that set in the standard, in the set. Yeah. 3 mana Entomb and standard. Yeah, it's just an Entomb. It's just Entomb if that's what you want it to be. It's instant speed, dude. Like in Sultai Control, at the end of your turn, I can go get whatever creature I want. It's so stupid, man. like in some sort of reanimator deck. You know, I can discard stuff on turn 1 or 2, and then end of your turn 3, just go get whatever. Man, dude, that's a good card. That's so good. Sometimes I see cards and I'm like, dang, that's awesome, and I love it, but I also lament power creep. And like, because this is sorcery. I said this during the previews. This is a sorcery speed card. Every way in which this card, 3 mana, search your library for, this is a sorcery speed card. They just made it instant speed, so it'd be better. They just so it'd be better than it would normally be. They just made it instant speed. Just because, you know? And like, it's kind of sad in some ways, but I still have to give this card like a 7.5. It is fantastic creature tutor. Every Golgari deck and Commander will play it forever. Just every Abzan deck, every Soul Tide deck. Come on. Card's so good, dude. But next is Essence Knit Scholar, 3 mana, green-black, and the green-black hybrid for a 3/1 Dryad Warlock that looks kind of like Vraska, really, when you think about it. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, whenever this token attacks, gain a life. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control this turn, draw a card. Okay, you know, 3 mana for an extra card every turn in your green-black aristocrats. It's you know, it's 3 mana, but it's 2 bodies. So it gives you sacrifice fodder. You know what I mean? Like, I could like it less. Let me put it that way. I'll give it a 4. I'm serious. It's an extra card every turn. That's not bad. Grapple with Death, a decent removal spell. 3 mana, 1 green black for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact or creature. You gain 1 life. So it's not better than Putrefy because it's sorcery speed. But it, you know, in the green black life gain decks, you really should play this. Like in Dina decks, play this card for sure. In Commander. In standard, sorcery speed, probably not good enough. I'm just going to give this card a 4, but it's not a bad card. My favorite commander in the set. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a few really like commanders that I like that I've already pointed out. Not even close. Not close. In the main set, my favorite commander is Lewin, Exchange Student. Cannot wait to build around you. 4 mana, 2 green, black for a 3/4 legendary elf druid that enters prepared to cast Pest Friend. Pest Friend is just a single mana, either a green or a black. That makes it easy for a sorcery. It gives you one of those 1/1 guys. Whenever the token attacks, gain a life. Exile a creature card from your graveyard for Lewin to become prepared. Activate only as a sorcery, but as many times as you want in a turn. So do you see that I can just exile a card from my yard, get a 1/1. Exile a card from my yard, get a 1/1. Exile a card from my yard, get a 1/1. Exile a card from my yard, get a 1/1. Exile a card from my yard, get a 1/1. Exile a card from my yard, get a 1/1. Exile a card from my yard, get a 1/1. You just do it over and over. And it's sick. I want to do this so bad with like Insidious Roots on the table and a bunch of other stuff that cares. You know, it's Skeleton Pirates or something. It's like whenever a creature card leaves your yard, you get a 2/2. Extremely well with Lewin. Desecrated Tomb, right? Whenever a creature card leaves your graveyard, you get a 1/1 bat. It's a 3 mana artifact. There are so many cards that go super well with Lewin. Fill your board with tokens. Have a good Saturday night, dude. I cannot wait to play this card, dude. Cannot wait to play this card in Commander. So easily my favorite commander of the set. I'm going to give it a personal score of 8 and an actual score of like 4.1. It's not that great, but I cannot wait to play Lewin. Seriously. Old Lou Dog. That's my dude or girl? That's my girl. That's my dude. I don't know. Mind Roots is 3 mana, 1 a green and a black for a sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards. Put up to 1 land card discarded this way onto the battlefield tapped under your control. Let's go. Am I crazy? But like, let's go. Lewin's Mail. Cool. All right. It's my dude right there. Mind Roots. Okay, so first of all, let's look at this ridiculous Elliot Lang art. Every time I point out the art on a card, it's Elliot Lang. Do you understand? Let's take a closer look. You see how ridiculous? You see how talented this person is? It's insanity, dude. But in any case, yeah, this is Mind Rot that ramps. If they discard a land, you get it. If they discard a land, you get it. They can discard 2 and you still only get 1 land. But yeah, this incentivizes them not discarding lands, because if they do, you ramp like crazy. You get 1, right? I love this. By the way, have you noticed the name on this? It's not Mind Rot. It's Mind Roots. Could this card be any more perfect? Could it? You know what I mean? I like this. Yeah, people are saying Mind Root. Yeah, people called it before I did. Mind Root. Not Mind Rot, Mind Root. I kind of think this card is almost playable. I really do, man. I think this is like a 4.7. Seriously, this card is quite good. Quite good. Oh yeah, somebody else pointed this out. Target player discards 2 cards. You can target yourself. You can target yourself here if you want to. And that way, you've already played your land for the turn, but you still get to ramp, technically. That is a way to use the card. I like it. But Old Growth Educator, did I rate this? Yeah, I did. I gave it like a 4.7. Old Growth Educator is 4 mana, 2 black-green for a 4/4 Treefold Druid with Vigilance and Reach and Infusion. When it enters, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it if you gain life this turn. So 4 mana, 6/6 Vigilant Reach. I still think it's really only limited playable. Sorry. 2.7. Pest Mascot. 3 mana, 1 black-green for a 2/3 Pest Ape with Trample. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. I misspoke. I was building Dina the other night in paper, looking through all my cards. And I was like, okay, I need my Bloodthirsty Aerialist for my Dina deck because that cares when you gain life. There's not a whole lot of Ajani's Pridemates in black and green. And then I found another Ajani's Pridemate in my collection in black and green that I've forgotten the name of, but it's literally 1 black-green. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. I've completely forgotten the name of it, but it does exist. We have this creature already. But what we don't have is a 3 mana 2/3 Trample. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. The fact that this has Trample is phenomenal. It really is. So good, dude. Love the fact that it has Trample. I like anytime I see an Ajani's Pridemate, and I've already said that tonight, and I'll say it again. So I'll give this a 5. Right at. I just like it. Professor Delian Fell is 4. Speaking of Dina decks and Commander, 4 mana, 2 green-black for a 5 loyalty legendary Delian Planeswalker. +2, you gain 3 life. 0, you draw a card, lose a life. Okay. -3, destroy target creature. Okay. And then -6, you get an emblem with whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So do note that this starts at 5 loyalty, and you can +2 the turn it comes into play. So literally the turn after it comes into play, you can get Sanguine Bond. Is that Sanguine Bond or Exquisite Blood? That's Sanguine Bond. Which is dumb. that's pretty good. And it's not just like Sanguine Bond, right? It's a 4 mana Sanguine Bond that also gains you life and also draws cards and also destroys creatures. Like, another thing you can do rather than the emblem, right, is you can +2 at the turn it comes into play and then -3 it and then -3 it, and it lives through that. Destroy a couple of creatures is pretty good. But just 4 mana for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker that goes up. This goes up to 7 loyalty on the turn it comes into play. That's a form of protecting itself. The best way to protect itself is to destroy target creature, put it at 2 loyalty, right? But honestly, 7 loyalty on turn 4 is a pretty good protection too. This could also just be a Phyrexian Arena for 4 mana, right? Draw a card, lose a life every turn. It could be doing that. Once you do get the emblem, the +2 becomes much better, right? So just a sick little thing, man. Green-black life gain. I kind of alluded to this earlier. Green-black life gain, aristocrats, these piles in Commander, they needed more. They needed more, right? Like white-black is just the reason to play aristocrats. White-black is the reason to play life gain. If we're going to make green-black life gain aristocrats theme thing, let's come with it. Let's give them the power. This right here, dude. Whether you're in Commander or, dare I say, in Standard, baby, the +2 isn't amazing, but the fact that the loyalty is so insanely high and it draws cards and it destroys creatures, like, this is a pretty good walker, dude. This is a Delian into Elspeth. That's cute. Just like walker, man. I think it's a fantastic walker, and I will give this a 7.2. I will give this a 7.2. 7 loyalty is insane. It just is. Root Manipulation is 5 mana, 3 black-green for a sorcery until end of turn. Creatures you control get +2/+2, gain menace, and whenever this creature attacks, you gain 1 life. So we got kind of our Golgari Overrun effect for limited in here, and it's not bad. Gaining a bunch of life, you definitely want that in Witherbloom, right? Still though, I don't think I'm playing this in Commander. Like in Dina Commander, I don't think so. So I'm just going to give this a 3.2. Decent overrun. Teacher's Pest is a black and a green for a 1/1 skeleton pest. It has menace, and whenever it attacks, you gain a life, like a pest in this set. But you can also play a black and a green and return this from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, like a skeleton, a reassembling skeleton or something like that. Not too shabby, but not like amazing either. Again, just a fine limited guy. So I'm going to give this a 3.7. I do like him. Vicious Rivalry might be the best Commander card in the set. It really might be, man. 2 black-green for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, pay X life. Destroy all artifacts and creatures, mana value X or less. So, in Standard, I would say that either a black-green deck that doesn't include white has to be very playable, or artifacts have to be very playable in order for this to see a ton of Standard play. Else, we just play a sweeper that doesn't cost life. Sometimes you don't have a whole lot of life to pay by the time turn 4 rolls around. But I do think there's some standard playability on it. I do. But Commander, jeez, this is busted, dude. Like, this is going to end friendships, Like, a lot of Commander decks are tuned to just, like, turn 1, if it's not Soul Ring, it's, like, 4 other different things, Amulet or whatever. There's what am I thinking of? Why can't I think of it? Bauble, Wayfarer's Bauble. A bunch of other things. Return 2, a Talisman, an Arcane Signet, a Mana Vault if you didn't get a turn 1, right? There's just so many like mana artifacts in Commander. And some decks focus on playing them exclusively. Like it's turn 3, they're still playing Thran Dynamos, waiting for turn 4. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many played artifacts, mostly mana rocks in Commander. And I think, man, especially in a format where I start at 40 life, you know what I'm saying? I just pay 4 life to blow up all the creatures on the table and all the artifacts on the table on like turn 5. And that's crazy. I think this card's just absolutely nuts. I really do. I'm going to give this an 8. I'm going to do it. I'm going to give this an 8. I think it's just the most busted Commander card in the set, or at least one of them. But now let's look at Witherbloom Charm. I told you this was good. This is like, to me, one of the only charms that really competes, with the Prismari one. Witherbloom is a green and a blue or green and a black for an instant. Choose one. You may sacrifice a permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards. So Village Rites, but you can sack a permanent, even a land, instead of just a creature. That's not bad. That's actually a blue card. Now that I think about it, there's a blue card exactly like that. Sack a permanent, draw 2. Anyway, you can also gain 5 life, or you can destroy target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. All pretty good modes. Obviously, gain 5 life is the least important mode. Yeah, sack an Earthbent land. That's pretty good. Yeah. Bring the land right back. So I think sack a permanent, draw a card, or draw 2 is pretty good, especially if you're just doing it on a creature that's on its way out anyway. You know what I mean? Like you would with the Village Rites. But destroy target non-land permanent, mana value 2 or less is also insane. It doesn't say creature, it says non-land permanent. It ain't Abrupt Decay, but it's pretty close to Abrupt Decay with like more modes on it. That's insane, dude. So yeah, mutagen token, clue token, anything like that, sacrifice. You got those laying around everywhere. Like a map token you got from somebody casting Get Lost, just sack it, draw 2, sure. This is a pretty solid charm right here, dude, for sure. I'm gonna give this one a what did I give Prismari? Like a 7 or something? Prismari's the best one. I'm going to give this one a 6.4. Next is Witherbloom the Balancer. 8 mana, sort of. 6 green, black for a 5/5 legendary Elder Dragon with affinity for creatures. That's flying and death touch, and instant and sorcery spells you cast have affinity for creatures. I don't have the same amount of love that everyone else seems to have for this particular one. I think it's good. I don't think it's like the best thing I've ever seen either. So I'm just going to give Witherbloom like a 6.2. Kind of leave it at that. It's pretty good. Arc of Hunger. This is another one of my favorite cards in the whole set. This, if anything competes with Cauldron, it might be this one. This is 4 mana, 2 red, white for an artifact. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, this artifact deals 1 damage to each opponent. You gain a life. Tap, mill a card. You may play that card this turn. So tap, draw a card. That's pretty good, but way better again than impulse drawing. Usually this would be, like exile a card. You can play it till the end of your next turn or something like that. But in this case, just because you mill it and don't play it this turn doesn't mean you're not ever going to play it. Like maybe the card has flashback, maybe the card has disturb, maybe the card has some other way of getting it out of your yard. Maybe it's a creature you can reanimate, whatever. Just mill is way better than exile it. So much better. Milling can do all kinds of stuff for you depending on what deck you're playing. But in the Quintorius builds, both the one that's going to be a precon deck and the Quintorius we already had access to from the last time we went to Strixhaven, this is a win condition. Whenever one or more cards leave your yard, drain. I don't even need the drain. I just want the damage. Usually these effects, Quintorius's, create a 3/2 creature whenever a card leaves your graveyard. That's a great effect. But you often have to have ways of supplementing the creatures that you're making. You have to make multiple creatures in a turn. You have to give them haste somehow, and often you have to augment their power in order to really do real damage with Quintorius. It's susceptible to sweepers and stuff like that too. And Arc of Hunger doesn't have those problems, right? Like, if I just remove 40 cards from my graveyard, everyone else is dead. That's insanity, dude. It's so good. Night, Jason. Phone's dying. Sorry. Yeah, these are long. But yeah, I think this is fantastic for those decks. And I think it probably not standard playable at 4 mana, but I'd like to try it. I'd like to try it before I really go on, out and say that. But I'm going to give this, like, again, personal score of like an 8. It's so good. I love this card. Design-wise. It's my kind of magic. But actual objective score, I'm just going to give this like a 5.5. I think it's all right. Aziza Mage Tower Captain is red-white for a 2/2 legendary Gen Sorcerer. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you may tap 3 untapped dudes you control. If you do, copy the spell. Choose new targets for the copy. Again, talk about a commander, dude. Talk about a commander. I was saying that one mana guy that casts Brainstorm by tapping creatures down earlier. I was saying that guy's awesome. So I guess I have to believe Aziza's okay. At least fine. I want to try it in standard, but again, I'm not too convinced. As a commander, really fun build around. That's going to give it a 5.2 right there. Borrowed Knowledge, 2 red-white for a sorcery. Choose one of these. Either discard your hand, draw cards equal to the number of cards in target opponent's hand, or discard your hand, draw cards equal to the number of cards you discarded. Right? So either you can discard the 2 cards in your hand and draw the 7 cards your opponent has in their hand, which I really like. Or you can discard the 7 cards you have in your hand, draw 7, and now your monuments, your Coolbid Roods, your sharks, all those go crazy, I still don't think it's quite playable, though, even with that sort of mode on it. No, I don't think it's quite there. But I will give this like a 4.6. I think there's more playability on it than maybe it appears. Colossus of the Blood Age. I love this dude, but I think he's bad. This is 4 red-white for a 6/6 artifact construct. When it enters, 3 damage to each opponent. You gain 3 life. Lightning Helix to the face. And when it dies, discard any number of cards. Draw that many +1. So, always draw at least 1 card, even if empty-handed when it dies. Okay. And then, Lightning Helix to face on ETB. So, I like creatures with ETBs. I like creatures with die triggers. This has both. It costs freaking 6 mana though. It's so much, man. But I do like it. It's I wish it was leaves. If it was a leaves the battlefield trigger, then when you blink it, it goes crazy. That would be great. Not bad and limited. I mean, it is a 6 mana 6/6. So I think especially it's sealed, like at pre-release. This format's slow enough. You can definitely play a copy of this card. It'd be fine. And it might even fuel a bunch of graveyard stuff for Lorehold or like whatever, So I think it's fine there, but I can't give it more than like a 2.9. I think it's really expensive. Hardened Academic is cool, man. A red and a white for a 2/1 bird cleric with flying and haste. Discard a card. Creature gains lifelink till end of turn. And whenever 1 or more cards leave your yard, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. Pretty all right, dude. Just you can discard cards for your Reanimator deck or for your Mayhem deck or your Madness deck or whatever you're doing. You just discard cards, free and clear, repeatable, free trigger. That's sick. A 2 mana, 2 power flying haste guy is just good, right? Like that's just good in and of itself. But also, I like that this can trigger a bunch of times in a turn and make something other than itself huge. Now, it can make itself big too, which is what you want to be doing, I think, because, flying. Flying potential lifelink with 2 or 3 +1/+1 counters, you got a real threat on your hands, right? So I like this. It actually hasn't received too much attention, which is insane to me. I think this card's great in like the Lorehold Commander decks, but I think this one's got a shot in standard. I really do. I'll go to 5.9. I think it's a good card. Kyrol History Buff is red and a white for a 2/3 legendary vampire cleric. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your yard, Kyrol becomes prepared to cast Pack a Punch. 1 red-white for a sorcery, mill a card, put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature. It gains trample until end of turn. Just altogether, I want to be impressed. I'm just not. I'm just not. I think it's easy to prepare Kyrol. And that means in limited, if you can prepare it, multiple times over the course of a couple of turns, I think it gets pretty good. Creature's getting huge, trample's good. So I don't hate it there, especially as a 2 mana 2/3. A decent starting point. But ultimately, I can't give it more than like a 3.9. Lorehold Charm is not the best charm, but charms are good. This is red-white for an instant. Choose 1. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token artifact of their choice. Like the word non-token on that. Or return target artifact or creature with mana value 2 or less from your yard to the battlefield. That's the best mode on the card. Or creatures you control get +1/+1, gain trample till end of turn, which is a better mode than it looks. But again, I'm a less of a fan of this one, I guess, than a lot of the other charms. But I'm still going to give this a 5.3. Like, it's just a good charm. It's just a good charm, dude. Laugh Salt, I almost missed this. Here you are now. Lord Hold the Historian is 5 mana, 3 red, white for a 5/5 legendary Elder Dragon with flying and haste. Each instant and sorcery card in your hand has Miracle 2. In case you don't know what that does, you may cast a card for its miracle cost when you draw it, if it's the first card you've drawn this turn. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And then you can miracle it because you drew a card on your opponent's turn. It's cute. Again, big flashy dragon. People are saying this one could be standard playable. I don't think so. I really don't think this one is. Sorry to say, but I will still give this like a 5.8, something like that. I think your deck has to be mostly instants and sorceries. And maybe you want to do that. Maybe you do. Molten Note is X and then a red and a white. For a sorcery that deals X or deals damage to target creature equal to the amount of mana spent to cast this spell. Untap all creatures you control, flash it back for 6, a red and a white. So if you flash it back, it does 8 damage to a guy. But I do like that, like if X equals 3, it deals 5 damage because you spent 5 mana on the spell. More X spells should say that. I like it, but as a removal spell, it's not great. It isn't limited playable, I guess. 2.7. Practice Scrollsmith. I saw a lot of people boosting this card in the comments section of the preview video it was in. And I can see why. One thing I'll say is if you did want a cool Pauper Commander, this is a good Pauper Commander right here. Red, white, and then a red-white hybrid for a 3/2 Dwarf Cleric with first strike. When it enters, exile a non-creature, non-land card from your yard. Until the end of your next turn, you may cast the card. So works pretty well with like Blink and stuff. Goes with any non-creature. I mean, non-land obviously too, but you can cast enchantments and artifacts and planeswalkers out of your yard with this, and that's not like that bad. I don't think this is a standard playable card. I really don't, but I do like it. I can't help but like this. I'm going to give this like a 3.9, it's not bad. But until the end of your next turn, I mean, you get a couple of turns to do it, but that still doesn't, I mean, I knew that when I gave it a 3.9. Still, a lot of cards do that nowadays. I just, maybe you blink it. Sure. Maybe you helping hand it out of your yard and it gets something else. I don't know. Pursue the Past is red and a white for a sorcery. You gain 2 life. You may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Has flashback for 2, a red and a white. So it kind of reminds me of like Thrilling Discovery or something from the first Strixhaven. But it's cool, man. 2 mana, gain 2, proc your life gain stuff. Kind of a Tormenting Voice effect. Discard a card, draw 2. I like that discarding a card's not part of casting the card like it is with a lot of these Tormenting Voice effects. So you can wait to see if the card gets countered before you have to discard. And then flashback is cool too, Flashback on a card like this is just fine. We don't see a lot of Tormenting Voices that flashback. So I respect this card. I really do. 4.7. I think it's all right. Spirit Mascot. This is 2 mana red white for a 2/2 Spirit Ox. That's kind of cute. He looks like a Pokemon to me. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your yard, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So a little bit like the flying haster that we saw, except instead of a +1/+1 counter on anything, it specifically gets the counter. I still think this is good enough for the Lorehold Commander deck. I really do. Like, this is going to be like a 9/9 in no time. I promise you. This card's going to be big, quick. And in standard, man, I mean, it's not like it's like a Moon Shadow or anything, but I do think you could build a deck to make this a 5/5 reasonably fast. So I'm too excited about this little common here, and I am also need to point out that it's common. It's pretty good for Pauper and such. But I'm going to give this like a solid 4.7. Like I think this card's like really close to there. But Startled Relic Sloth is up next. 4 mana, 2 red white for a 4/4 Sloth Beast. Trample and lifelink at the beginning of combat on your turn. Exile up to 1 card from a graveyard. So you can mess around in your opponent's graveyard, or you can lore hold stuff, right? You can target stuff in your own yard and trigger all your lore hold stuff. Let me just say this Unlimited. A 4 mana, 4/4 trample lifelink. I'm sold. I'm just sold on that. It's just good. It's just a good card, man. I'm going to actually give this a 4.1 on stats alone. It's just a fine card. Suspend Aggression is 3 mana, 1 red white for an instant. Exile the non-land permanent and the top card of your library. For each of those cards, its owner may play it until the end of their next turn. This is one of the cheapest rares in the set. This card's like $1 on pre-order. Almost no card in the set is $1 right now. This is a $1 rare on pre-order. And I think there's something to it. You can target your own stuff with this, by the way. if you want. Instant speed, you know, block something on your opponent's turn, exile my own guy after your dude's officially blocked, right? And then just play it on my next turn, get the ETB trigger again, maybe play the card I got off the top of my library. It's pretty cool. Like, you can obviously target your opponent's creature, right? And then they have to replay it. They have to pay the mana to replay it, and you get a card off of it. I think, like, at the right time, like, played at the correct time, this could be really tempo rendering. I like it more than I should, but hopefully it's not a bulk rare. I think it might be, but there's just something about it that I really like. I'm going to give this card a 4.85. I think it's really close. Seriously. Wilton the Heat is 2 red-white for an instant. Costs 2 less to cast if one or more cards left your yard this turn. Wilton the Heat deals 5 damage to a creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So if you can force a card out of your yard, this only costs 2 mana to remove a creature at instant speed and exile it. Cool. Kind of feels like Mortality Spear from the first Strixhaven, right? Like Witherbloom got a thing. If you gain life, this only costs 2 mana to cast, destroy target creature. This is super reminiscent of that. They had that card in mind when they designed this one. It's not bad, but I'm not going to give it any more than like a 3.5. Applied Geometry is a crazy commander card. We are in, I believe, the final house, everybody. We're rounding the corner. Applied Geometry is 4 mana, 2 green-blue for a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of a non-aura permanent you control. Except it's a 0/0 fractal. Put 6 +1/+1 counters on it. Permanent. I can copy a land. Like, I can make this ramp. That's not bad. But if I don't want it to be ramp, I can create a copy of a busted enchantment or an artifact or something. Break the symmetry involved in a singleton format. I love it. I mean, I get a 4 mana 6/6. That's a copy of whatever I want. Dude, that's so good in Commander. I'm going to give this card a 5.8. I'm serious. This is so good. In Standard, yeah, Terra Symbiosis, draw 12. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yep. Make a copy of Ouroboros, put 6 counters on it, and move to combat. Yeah. I mean, there's some standard apps for this. Some crazy standard apps for this. Terra Symbiosis is a commander application that you can do in Standard, but I didn't even think about Symbiosis, dude. Draw 12. That's insanity, Ophidian. Good call on that. Just what a nice card. What a nice card. Yeah. Why don't I give it like a 5.9? I'm serious. 5.9. What if Invisible Stalker was a 6/6? Yeah. I like the way you think. Berta, Wise Extrapolator, probably one of the better commanders in the set. 4 mana, 2 green-blue for a 1/4 legendary frog druid with increment. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on Berta, add a mana of any color. Let your imagination run wild with that. You can also pay X, tap it, and create 0/0 fractal token and put X +1/+1 counters on it. So makes a creature every turn. If it's big enough, then that increments. When it increments, you get a mana of any color. But obviously, there are many, many ways to effectively go infinite with this card in Commander, or create infinite mana, right? And that's what I'm into, man. It's just, we are going to see a Simic Commander in a few cards, you know, that people are probably more excited to build. This is the Simic Commander, though. This is the one you want to build from the set. Just crazy and +1/+1 counter builds. If you want to slot this into like Tidus from last year's Final Fantasy decks, you can. A deck that cares about +1/+1 counters. But as your commander, you're just going to Combo City, dude. It's like going to Suplex City, but with combos. This card's crazy there. So I'm going to actually give this a 6.5, at least. I think this is a wonderful commander. One of the best in the set. Cuboid Colony. Speaking of Cube, I want this in Cube. I think this is a phenomenal card for Cube. And I think they did that on purpose. This is a blue and a green for a 1/1 insect with flash and flying and trample and increment. 4 keyword abilities on this bad boy. But because of the increment, that means that you can invest 2 mana at instant speed into like a 4/4 flample really easily, dude. Really easily. I think this card's awesome. I even think that there's some sleeper ability on this card. I think there is some standard playability to this bad boy. Who says increment is the only way to put counters on stuff? We brought up Ouroboros a minute ago. If I play Cuboid Colony on turn 2, and then on turn 3 play any creature, now I have a 2/2 flying trample, and then Ouroboros, dude, I'm fitting to have a huge flample, dude, like in the next turn or two. My guy's going to be enormous. Yeah, Star Trek spoiler card. That's hilarious. If flash makes it scary, especially if you can flash this in, then flash like something else in along with it, make it larger. If flash, I think, makes this pretty good. Pretty okay. Seriously. especially along with the charm. Like if I'm holding up blue-green on turn 2, I've got Colony or I've got the charm. We'll get to the charm in a minute. It's really good. But yeah, dude, I think there's almost something to this card, and I'm going to give it a 4.6. I like it more than I should. Embrace the Paradox is lessons from life at instant speed for an extra mana. That's what it does. 5 mana, 3 green blue for an instant, draw 3 cards, put a land from your hand on the battlefield. So again, Urban Evolution, but this time it's instant speed. Urban Evolution was playable. I think this might be too, but I said that about Lessons from Life. But Lessons from Life ain't instant speed. I think instant speed makes a massive difference. Cool card for like Teamer control, Sultai control, whatever you're doing, banned, you know. And I do like it. I'm going to overrate this. 4.85 on this bad boy. I just love stuff like this. Love stuff like this. Fractal Mascot is the Colossal Dreadmaw of the set. That's how they slipped in Dreadmaw this time. 6 mana, 4 green blue for a 6/6 Fractal Elf with Trample. That's Colossal Dreadmaw. 6 mana, 6/6 Trample. When it enters, tap target creature an opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. What a good enter the battlefield trigger. Tap down the thing that would be able to contest it in combat, because there's probably only one thing, and then get in, you know. Not bad in limited. I'd be looking for this, especially at common. It's really not terrible. But, you know, Colossal Dreadmaw variant always gets a 3 every time. Fractal Tender is 5 mana, 3 green blue for a 3/3 Elf Wizard, ward 2 an increment. At the beginning of each end step, if you put a counter on this guy this turn, create a 0/0 Fractal and put 3 counters on it. Not bad in limited. It really isn't. But outside of that format, it's literally nothing. So again, 3. Geometer's Arthropod is 2 mana, green blue for a 1/4 Fractal Crab. Whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, look at the top X cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You know what this inexplicably reminds me of? It's explicable. I think some of you might be like, oh, I get that. Restless Reef. This reminds me like a little bit of Restless Reef. The ability to trigger whenever you pay X spells is like way worse than I think lands. I think it's Landfall on Risen Reef. It's really good. But if you can trigger this once a turn, right? Let's say X is equal to 1. I draw a card. This just says draw a card. That's good. If X equals 3, then I anticipate. That's just so good. That's insane, dude. So this is narrow. It only goes index with X casting cost, but boy, does it. You know what I mean? For its narrow stuff, you know, it's the fact that it is narrow. I'm just going to give it a 5.2, but it's like so good in those decks, dude. It's so good. Yeah, all X spells say draw a card now. That's good for 2 mana. Growth Curve is 2 mana as well. Green blue for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control, and then double the number of +1/+1 counters on that creature. I want this to be good. I really do. Like Tifa or something, like Tifa Mossborn Hydra. Okay, yeah, maybe, but probably not quite. So I'll just give this a 3.7. Mind into Matter. I think this is pretty good, guys. X green blue for a sorcery, draw X cards. Then you may put a permanent card, mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield tap. Pretty easy to trigger those Prismari Opus things if you're adding green to your deck in limited. Keep that in mind. But yeah, in Badgermole Cub, draw 4 for 6 mana and put whatever I want. Right? Almost any card in my deck into play. Not too bad. If I pay 10 total mana for this, I can get a Crater Hoof Behemoth. And the reason I bring it up is because you can make 10 mana in Badgermole. Like you can actually do that. It's not unheard of at all. So I don't know, dude. I think that if you draw 4 off of this and play an Ouroboros, that's insanity. Like you cast an Ouroboros for free and also drew 3 cards. Like, do you understand? It's so good. I want to overrate this, and so I will. I'll give this a 5.6. I think this is phenomenal. I really do. I think this is like Commander playable if nothing else, but I absolutely think there are standard setups with this. I really do. Paradox Surveyor, 3 mana, green blue and the green blue hybrid for a 3/3 Elf Druid with Reach. When it enters, look at the top 5 of your library. You may reveal a land card or card with X in its mana cost or among them. Put it into your hand. The rest go on the bottom in a random order. Solid limited card for these decks. You at least get a land if nothing else on a 3/3 Reach for 3 mana. Again, solid. So I'll go 3.3 for that 3/3. Proctor's Gaze is 2, a green and a blue. Really nice art by Danny Schwartz on this. I like the style. But this is a 4 mana instant. Check this out. Return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand at instant speed. Search your library for a basic land. Put on the battlefield, tap, shuffle. So we get a ramp spell stapled to like an unsummon effect, but it's non-land permanent. That's much better than just regular unsummon. I don't know if this is worth 4 mana, but I like it. You know, we saw a card in Silver Quill that was like 4 mana, look at their hand, they have to pitch a card that you choose, and you get 2+1/+1 counters on a guy. So it feels like they just slapped 2 spells together. They did the same thing with this. They just smacked 2 spells together, made him kiss, and I actually kind of liked the effect. At instant speed, right? Not bad. And yeah, you can bounce your own stuff. Somebody else mentioned Storm Chaser. Yeah, taking over for Jason now that he's left the stream for the night. I'm sure he appreciates it. But yeah, it's not bad tempo and it's ramp. And I just really want to like this card, and I'm going to give it a 5. I'm going to give this card a 5. I don't think this is bad. Not at all. Terra Fractal is X green blue for a 1/0 dinosaur fractal with flying that enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, and when it enters, you gain 2 life. Did you know that you can just pay 2 mana? You just pay 2 mana, this guy immediately dies, but you gain the 2 life. It's something, I guess. But yeah, I like this in limited a good bit, especially on a common. I think it's all right. For a flyer, like sure. It's a 2/1 flyer for 3 mana. That's, you know, you can do worse than that. And it's like a 5 power flyer later on in the game. Just good to rip off the top. Fantastic common. I'd play 2 copies of this if I got them in pre-release. And I was in Quandrix. I'm going to give this a 3.5. Sure. Quandrix Charm. What a good charm. This is green blue for an instant. Choose 1. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. Or destroy target enchantment. Or target creature has base power toughness 5/5 till end of turn. Oh my god. Okay. So Simic Cub, first of all. Simic Tifa. Let me throw that out there again. The Tifa decks with Mossborn Hydra, Tifa, and Saza's Chocobo and stuff, they can really take advantage of this bottom mode. Base power toughness 5/5 on Tifa, and then drop a land, let's go, I win. Like, you just literally win when you do that. So the bottom mode is not useless. Like, not at all. And Boroid. Yeah, somebody else pointed out Aura Boroid, so I base power toughness 5/5 Aura Boroid, move to combat, everyone gets friggin' huge, you know? But also the fact that it's just Quench. It's just Quench. Like, Quench with upside. I mean, the downside is that you have to pay green mana, right? But dang, man, Quench plus destroy an enchantment sometimes, like, you know, against Monument, this thing slaps, right? Like, sometimes it counters a spell, sometimes it blows up Cool but Rude, sometimes it blows up Artist Talent. Sick. And then sometimes it just, like, sends your Tifa through for the dub. Like, this might be the quenchiest. You're right. It'll quench you, for sure. Like, what a charm, dude. I don't think it's better than Prismari, but I think it's probably second best or tied with Witherbloom for second best. So I'm going to give this like a 6.8. I'm serious. This card's so good, dude. Like, it's going to go in like every Simic deck. It's better than Simic Charm. It just is. Quandrix the Proof is up next, though. Crazy commander, dude. 6 mana, 4 blue-green for a 6/6 legendary Elder Dragon with Flying and Trample and Cascade. Instant and sorcery spells you cast from your hand have Cascade. Now, I think it's easy to look at this and be like, oh, this isn't standard playable, costs 6 mana. No, dude, this has Cascade, dog. It's like a better Discover, mostly. This card's insane. Like, I think this might actually be... Okay, so we looked at Berta earlier. I was freaking out about her. She does all the +1/+1 counter stuff. She gives you mana when she gets a counter. That's the better commander. Worse standard card. I think this is the better standard card, and Berta's the better commander. I really think that, again, 6 mana, dude, we're in Badger Mole Cub standard. We made that on turn 3. You can get this guy on turn 3. And can you imagine if you played Quandrix on turn 3, you get a 6/6 Flample and Cascade into something else? That's insanity. This card's playable. Like, I promise you can try this card in standard. Seriously. This card is like, this card's like a 7. This is crazy, dude. Yeah, then you Nature's Rhythm. I don't know if you can you? Hey, how would you Nature's Rhythm off of this? But, I think the card's good enough, dude. I really do. I say that about some 6 drops from time to time, but dang, dude. Cascade, bro. You talking about Cascade, son? With 6 mana Harmonized Reduction, then it cascades. Yeah, it's from hand. Yeah. So, I'm not too sure about like those tricks, but I do think it's good enough. I think this is good enough. I really do. I'm going out on a limb. I think this is the most standard playable of the Elder Dragons in the set. For sure. Straight up 7. Tam, Observant Sequencer is 4 mana. Oh, we're almost done. This is 2 green-blue for a 4/3 legendary Gorgon Wizard. Cool creature types. She has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, Tam becomes prepared to cast Deep Sight. Green-blue sorcery. You draw a card, gain a life. Pretty good in, like, you know, Tamiyo decks and stuff like that. Did I say Tamiyo? That's not what. Tatiova. Good in Tatiova decks in the 99, but I don't think you would put this. I don't think you would make this your commander. I think you just make Tatiova your commander. But still decent in those decks and kind of neat. You know, I don't think it's standard playable, but it's not too bad either. I'm going to give Tam a 3.9. Yeah, she's close. Here we go with the artifacts. Biblioplex Tomekeeper is 4 mana for a 3/4 construct artifact creature. When it enters, either target creature becomes prepared or creature becomes unprepared. Pretty limited thing here, but I guess it's good to reset your prepared guys. I'll give this a 2.3. Haven't done one of those in a while, you know. I think you gave Cauldron a 6.7. It was a 7. I think Cauldron was around a 7. But no, I think my actual score for that card was like a 6.3 or 4, right? My personal score was like an 8. We'll see. We'll all see. You'll all see. Diary of Dreams is cool, man. 2 mana for an artifact book. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a page counter on this. Pay 5, tap, draw a card, but this ability costs 1 less to activate for each page counter on this thing. So you cast 5 instants or sorceries, you just tap, draw a card. This is very borderline commander playable, but it is, you know what I mean? Like, I think it is borderline commander playable. So I'll just give this like a 4.2. I think we're getting there. I think there's better options for your Spellslinger decks, but in Spellslinger decks, this will get to draw on a free card every turn, like within a turn or two, like pretty quickly. Mage Tower Referees 2 mana for a 2/1 artifact creature. It's construct. Whenever you cast a multicolored spell, this guy gets +1/+1 counter. He sure does look cool. He looks like a funny little guy, but he's not that great. Not really. I'll give him like a 2.5. Page Loose Leaf. Just like last time, we get a book that's alive. This is 2 mana for a 0/2 legendary construct artifact creature. Tap for a colorless. That's good. Grandeur. Discard another card named Page Loose Leaf. Reveal cards from the top of your library till you reveal an instant or sorcery. Put that card into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, they haven't used Grandeur since like Future Sight. It's been a very long time since they used this ability. It's good to see it again. Or at least since they use it in like a standard legal set, I think. But yeah, so this is just better Ironcrag, right? I mean, it's a 0/2, so it dies to removal. Ironcrag doesn't die to like creature-based removal. But just a 2 mana guy that any deck can play that taps for a colorless and incentivizes you casting or playing 4 copies. Because if you play 4 copies, you don't even have to pay mana. You get that, right? You don't have to pay mana. Just discard the card and reveal cards until you hit action. This card is extremely good. And yeah, it has Summoning Sickness. I should point that. It can't just tap for mana the turn it comes out. But it can discard the other page in your hand the turn it comes out. That's cute. But yeah, just if you happen to draw another copy, draw into a draw spell. Draw into a removal spell. Draw into a sweep even. You know, it'll kill the page, but whatever. I think this is very good. I think this is very, very good. And note, by the way, this is a common. This card says that it is common. Best card in the set. I wish they juiced Page a little. Dude, it's so juiced. The card is insane. Reveal cards into no mana. 0 mana. None mana. Trigger your monuments. Trigger your Kulbit Root. Trigger your Shark. Discard. You're discarding a card. Grandeur. 0 mana whatsoever. Just draw a sorcery. Just draw a removal spell. Guaranteed. Like, that's pretty good. that's all right. Incredible at common. This card's playable in Pauper for some reason. I do not understand why this card's common. I do not get it. Should have at least been an uncommon. But I'm glad it's common. I'm very glad that it's common. I love this card, and I'm going to give it a 6.7. I'm so serious. That's too much. That's too much. Or is it? Seriously, or is it? 6.5. The lowest I'll go is 6.5. I think this Grandeur ability is insane. I really do. I think this Grandeur ability is crazy. And it's common. It's, again, common. In limited, you can have multiple copies of this super easily. And then you just go, you just get a card to trigger Prismari. you know, like trigger Opus or whatever. You just get a card to trigger the Silver Quill's abilities, Repartee. Like, dude, this is so good. This card is good. I promise. Potioner's Trove over here is 3 mana for an artifact. Tap for a mana of any color, or tap to gain 2 life if you've cast an instant or sorcery this turn. That's cute. You know, like maybe commander decks that care about gaining life. You know, maybe, but even then, it's not like that impressive. See, the difference between a 2 mana thing that makes mana and a 3 mana thing that makes mana is massive. It's huge. But I mean, Page draws you cards. Page literally just draws action if you get another copy. That's so good, dude. But still, Potioner's Trove, I'm going to give a 3.2. Because, you know, it's a rock. It's at least a rock. Rancorous Archaic is 5 mana for a 2/2 avatar with Trample and Reach. Converge enters with a +1/+1 counter for each color of mana. So it could be a 7/7 Trample Reach. That's very limited playable, especially at common. I will give this... What do you have to pay? How many different colors do you have to pay for this to be okay? Like just playable, right? If I'm in a 3-color deck, it's a 5/5 Trample Reach for 5. That's good enough. Sure. I'll give this a 2.7. Strixhaven Sky Coach is the most normal card in the entire set. 3 mana for a 3/2 vehicle with flying. When it enters, search for a basic, put it in your hand, shuffle. It crews for 2. Extremely normal, 2.4. Sundering Archaic costs 6 for a 3/3 avatar with Converge. When it enters, exile a non-land permanent an opponent controls, mana value less than or equal to the number of colors meant to cast this creature. God, such a wordy ability. Whew, exile something. Up to 5 mana value, depending on how much mana you spent. Pay 2, put a card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. That will actually trigger your Lorehold stuff. Remember that? So like especially good in Lorehold. But I think it's just limited playable. Again, if you only pay 3 mana for this, like 3 different colors of mana, then it will still blow up a 3-drop. And that's good. That's actually very good. Non-land permanent doesn't have to be a creature. Not bad and limited. Wants to be like a Meteor Golem, I guess, but isn't quite. But I'll still give this a 3.4. I think in limited, this is pretty good. Dawning Archaic. What a card, dude. 10 mana for a 7/7 legendary avatar. Costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery in your yard, and it has a reach. Whenever the Dawning Archaic attacks, you may cast target instant or sorcery from your yard without paying its mana cost. If that spell will be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. This is potentially the best card in the set. And I say potentially. I really can't be sure, right? But I think that this card is phenomenal. I think it's easy to mill a bunch of cards, right? Or even just cast instants and sorceries. And now, you know, we're used to stuff like Eddie Merc costing 2 mana. Tolarian Terror costing 1 mana, right? We're used to that. This, I feel like even if you pay 3 mana for it, you know, like more than you're paying for Eddie Merc or Tolarian Terror, even if you pay 3 mana for this, it's insane. It's just one of the best cards I've ever seen. It's a 7/7 reach. That's already pretty stout. When it attacks, you just get a free thing. Like, come on, dude. What a phenomenal card. Also, this has a day 1 home in Spelementals. Like, it may not be an elemental, but that is a deck that's trying to maximize like Hearth Elemental, Eddie Merc Crab, Tolarian Terror, all those spells, all those dudes. So I think this goes directly in there. And again, even if you have to pay like 3 or 4 mana, it's good. And there are turns where you will pay 0 for this. You'll pay nothing for this card. It's entirely possible. Usually cards like this are designed where you have to pay something, you know, like 1 mana for Tolarian Terror. But no, just free. It's possible. It's so possible this is free. So, oh yeah, the blue-black sweeper that mills, yeah, Singularity Rupture. Play Singularity Rupture. You probably get this for free if you mill yourself, right? Yeah. That's cute. Super cute. So yeah, I think it's actually pretty easy to get this for free or like reduced enough that you don't care. And I think there's a pretty high chance this is one of the top 3 cards in the set, really. So I'm going to go crazy here and I'm going to give this a 7.9. Second highest score of the night, I believe, but I am of the belief that this card is that good. You know what I mean? Yeah, sweep the board and then play a free 7/7 it's wild. And you can with Singularity Rupture. Ain't bad. But Together as One is, I don't want to give anything away, but this is definitely like on my sleepers list. Or it might be in the like cards I talk about with Power Dragon, you know, the underrated cards. I think this one's not getting enough attention. 6 mana for Together as One. This is a sorcery with Converge. Target player draws X cards. Together as One deals X damage to any target. You gain X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. So, We were talking earlier about how we have, multiversal passage, especially starting town in standard, and a bunch of dual lands and a couple of other things that produce any color mana, plus 3 color lands. And we got a lot of lands in standard. And I think that it would be very easy to put together, like, at its core, a 3 color deck, right? A Jeskai, a Grixis deck, something like that can stretch this into all 5 colors of mana when you play it. And then you are drawing 5 cards. You're dealing 5 to a target and you're getting 5 life, which feels like one of the old school, like, ultimatums, ultimatas, old tomatoes, as they would say. But it feels almost ultimatumy. And drawing 5, blowing whatever you want to off the table, and then gaining 5 life is... I don't know how you come back from that as the opponent, right? Like, yeah, this is the Jeskai ultimatum, basically. Yeah, I feel like, compared to Jeskai Revelation and Standard, Revelation might be better. It might be, but draw 5, dude. Draw 5? You're talking about I get to draw 5 cards, son? I also can Lava Axe them. Like, you cast enough of this card in the game, you can just kill them, right? Cast it 4 times, 20 damage. That should be it. But there are ways to cast it more than 4 times. We used to do that with Soul Feast and the Yawgmoth Bargains decks. You're casting the same Soul Feast 6 times. You know what I mean? How do you do that? There are ways. But, yeah, man, especially if you, like, copy it. Well, if you copy it, it doesn't work. No, I think it does. Yeah, no, judge. Let me know. But either way, yeah, I think just one casting of this card puts you so far up on cards and then behind on board state and stuff that, like, there's definitely a chance this card's standard playable. Like, seriously. I'm going to give this card a 5.6. Transcendent Archaic. The rainbow on this reminds me of the 1996 Topps series. I can't remember what the name of the series was, but, like, their foiling looked exactly. I mean, the rainbow foiling looked exactly like this. I had a Penny Hardaway. That was this foiling. So every time I see this card, I'm like, Anthony Hardaway? Is that you? It's like, no, it's Transcendent Archaic. Transcendent Archaic is 7 mana, 6/6 avatar with Vigilance and Converge. When it enters, you can draw X, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast it. If you draw 1 or more cards this way, discard 2 cards. So you can draw 5, discard 2 on this 6/6 Vigilance. If you can pull it off, it might be good in Limited, but I don't think it's very good in Standard. I will give this just a 3. Anyway, oh my God, we're in the basics. Oh my God. Is there a special land in the set? Oh, that forest or that swamp is nice. Look at this swamp. It's got 2 moons on it. And that's a nice swamp right there. It's not my favorite or anything. That's a nice swamp. There's actually a really nice basic in this set. Where is it? Where is the basic? Storm Carved Coast. Those cards are very good. The Surveil duels are like a 3.5. Stuff like Deathcap Glade, like all these slow lands. These are like literally an 8. These are like crazy dual lands. Oh, Great Hall of the Oh, there are more cards. Great Hall of the Biblioplex is a land that taps for a colorless. Tap, pay a life, add a mana of any color to cast instants and sorceries only. Pay 5. If this land's not a creature, it becomes a 2/4 wizard with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery. This guy gets +1/+0 till end of turn for no reason. It's still a land. So, yeah, good card. Just Great Hall of the Biblioplex is probably the best land in the set that isn't a slow land or something. You don't care that it only casts instants and sorceries. I think it goes in a lot of commander decks, like so many Spellslingery commander decks, dude. And maybe even the odd, standard deck. We were just talking about this card up the friggin', what is it called? I was just looking at it. It's the one I was like, there's a slippery card, draw 5, gain 5, deal 5 to a target, that thing. This thing helps you cast that card. That's what I'm getting at. Not bad. But I'm going to give this a 6.5. A little bit narrow, but decks that play it will play the crap out of it. Petrified Hamlet. When this land enters, choose a land card name. Yes, somebody said Pithing Needle for lands. Are you serious? Yeah, that's what this is. When it enters, choose a land card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they are mana abilities. Lands with the chosen name have tap, add, colorless. Tap to add a colorless on Petrified Hamlet. Just a fine card, dude. This might actually see play way back in older formats, depending on how good them lands are. Good Richard Wright art on this, by the way, too. But I'm kind of obligated to give this like 6.8. even though it might not look like that good, it might look narrow, right? Just the places where this is good are going to make it a fantastic card. Like, seriously. Yeah, they should make it say players can't activate bossing, say. Players can't do a lot of stuff. Players can't do way more stuff than you think. You know what I mean? That's kind of why I'm giving this card such a high score. Like a 6.8, this card is so much better than it might look. And there's a couple of formats where it may end up not having a stranglehold, just like changing the format a lot. You know, you can just play 4 of them. Yep, you can just play them, and they're free to play. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Yeah, any creature land that shuts down. Yep, all that stuff. All that. And yeah, people are pointing out, like, Boseiju, like, stuff with, the channel lands. The channel is, I believe, an activated ability, if I'm not mistaken. So this should also work. It's just kind of cute. Like, again, people are figuring out their very cute active abilities with this. So keep that in mind. You could even name Terramorphic Expanse if you wanted to, which is down here. It's a reprint. Everybody knows Morphic Expanse. I always give this card a 5. That's probably worth more like a 4.9. But yeah, Hamlet, 6.8. It's just very, very good. Sky Coach Waypoint over here. Final card, everybody. Tap for a colorless on a land or pay 3. Tap, target creature becomes prepared. That's cute, but only with like 20 creatures that exist in Magic. You know what I mean? So it's pretty, that's the definition of narrow and parasitic. I'm still going to give it a 4. I'm still going to do it. Target creature becomes prepared could be really good. And that is it. 4 hours almost exactly. 3 hours, 59 minutes is what I've got, plus the outro. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much for watching the entire thing. I don't know if you did it in one sitting at work, security guard at night pretending to be a security guard. Maybe you can watch it all in one sitting. Otherwise, it's really, really difficult. Thank you for the 1,000 bits, Recursive Intrigue. You're amazing. Apollyon, October Wolves, Glindude Cry, Jar of Starlight, Sherlock, Zoko Momo. So many people with the follows and subs. Thank you so much. If you're watching on YouTube, I love you very much. If you're watching on Twitch, stick around for a few minutes after we finish off the YouTube people. Finish off the YouTube. That sounds terrible. Either way, if you're on YouTube, do the YouTube stuff. Like, it's the button shaped like a thumb. Hit the button shaped like the word subscribe. Check out the Patreon. I go through a lot for you people. It's worth $1 a month. I am worth $1 a month. I love you all. I am Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.